This guy is sprinting home, trying to escape the rain as fast as possible. But the moment he bursts inside the building, he freezes. Standing right in front of him is a strange girl. She looks off. Not just unusual, but completely out of place. She appeared so suddenly that he actually drops his keys on the floor. For a second, he's caught off guard, but then he quickly pulls himself together and brushes it off. Just another cosplayer, he thinks. So he picks up his keys and starts heading up the stairs like nothing happened. But then, the girl suddenly jumps back as far away from him as she can, like she's terrified of him. Despite this, he shakes off his thoughts and continues up the stairs, convinced she's just a dedicated cosplayer. Before he can step into his room, the woman calls out to him from behind, telling him to hold up. Zhu pauses, turns back, and casually mentions that this is where he lives. The girl looks a bit spooked and quickly steps back, keeping a cautious distance. Seeing her reaction, he starts feeling a tad embarrassed, wondering if he looks so rough that even a girl finds him a random street molester. Anyway, he heads into his room. He takes a quick peek outside before closing the door, only to find her still lingering outside. After shutting the door, he takes off his soaked slippers and shirt, and after taking a steamy bath, he grabs a can of cola, and also picks up the bag of cat food, calling out to his kitty, Melon. Right on cue, the little furball shows up with a sparkle in her eyes, and eagerly digs into her meal. Meanwhile, our hero starts chugging down that refreshing cola as well, relishing that fizzy madness with every gulp. He takes another glance outside and sees that the rain shows no signs of simmering down. After a moment, he decides to check through the peephole in his door, and surprisingly, the girl isn't there anymore. While opening the door cautiously, he wonders if she's left, but as soon as his gate is wide enough, she appears right before his doorsteps. Feeling a bit awkward, he offers her an umbrella or assistance getting home if it's not too far. However, the girl doesn't respond to either option and instead asks where they are. Shuqing points out that they're in his neighborhood on Beiwang Road. The girl goes silent for a moment, unsure of what to expect. Then she asks who our hero might be. Well, that's another simple question our hero doesn't have a clue how to answer. So, with a bit of confusion, he lets her know that he's just some random guy. He then tries to offer her his umbrella, but she just stares at this ordinary umbrella like this is some alien thing. After a moment of silence, she introduces herself as part of the Yan clan and confesses she has no idea how she ended up here. Her admission leaves our hero scratching his head, wondering if she's just a girl caught up in some cosplay fantasy. He sighs out of exhaustion and motions for her to come inside while he tries to call for help. As he dials Guard Cho's number, the woman's eyes lock onto the TV. An ad starts playing, and without hesitation, she slices the TV with her blade. Her face goes white as if she's seen some kind of dark magic that needs immediate vanquishing. The boy stands there, stunned, while the guard asks about the weird noises in the background. The girl turns to him with her bloodshot eyes, giving him an intense glare. Once our clueless hero is not in the position to utter a single word, the guard abruptly hangs up, thinking maybe our hero is tied up with something urgent. Shuqing scratches his head, looking puzzled, and asks her where she came from. Meanwhile, the lady wants to know if the people inside the weird glass thing are dead, and she's curious about the folks he was chatting with on his brick. Seeing her those straw sandals she is wearing, the boy wonders if this quirky lady could even afford to replace the fancy TV she just sliced. Finally, he raises his hand in a calming gesture, reassuring her that he's a decent guy, and suggests she puts her sword down. After she retrieves her sword from the TV, the boy asks her name and where she's from. She promptly replies her name is Jiang He, and she's a disciple of the Yan clan. He compliments her for coming up with such a cool name and jokes if her Yan clan is loaded enough with cash to compensate him for his broken TV. The lady gets confused and asks how he doesn't know someone as prestigious as the Gusu Yan clan. The boy simply shakes his head, admitting he's never heard of them. Her silence speaks volumes, as if she's offended by this guy who doesn't even recognize her clan. Seeing her tense expression, the boy reassures her again that he means well, and gives her the green light to ask any questions she wants. The lady timidly admits she just wants to find her way back to the Yan clan. Our hero, still clueless about where this Yan clan might be, reminds her that they're in the city of Jiangcheng and asks if she knows it. The woman stays silent, and now our clueless hero is starting to rub his head in frustration because he really doesn't want to entertain the idea that she might actually be from ancient times. So he asks her who is her emperor, but the puzzled lady insists that her emperor is one everyone should know about, which leaves our hero scratching his head at her cryptic response. She stares at him in confusion, wondering why he doesn't know about the emperor. She then asks our hero if it's the 16th year of Kaiyuan. Her answer shocks him, prompting him to pause and immediately start scrolling through his phone for information. He's amazed to find out that in the 16th year of Kaiyuan, it was during the reign of the 7th emperor of the Tang dynasty, known for the longest reign in the dynasty's history. To confirm if she's truly from the past, he asks if she knows Li Longji and mentions other famous figures from that era. The lady lights up with joy to realize he knows these names and eagerly asks where she can find them. With an anxious smirk, Shuqing jokingly tells her she might find them in a Chinese mobile game. Suddenly, a delivery man calls from the doorstep, and the lady instantly grabs her sword to confront the intruder. The boy rushes over, urging her to calm down because it's just someone delivering food, not a threat. Lady Zhang asks if the man is a servant, but our hero explains this man is just here with a food delivery. As he accepts the food, the lady watches in confusion and amazement at this whole process of this takeout. The boy then asks if she's hungry and wants to eat something, but the girl nervously declines. Standing by the door, she asks him why everyone she's seen here has short hair, wondering if they're all exiles. Our hero reassures her that's not the case, but then he starts losing his shit and fears she might have already slaughtered someone when she first arrived here and saw those people. She quickly assures him she was just hiding in the dark. After that reassurance, he gladly proceeds to take a bite of his burger. But then, the girl creeps over his face once again, asking about the short hair once more. With a mouthful, he explains it's just a local style, nothing special. Her eyes fixate on the juicy wrap, filled with meat and veggies. She can hardly resist the temptation, but she snaps herself out of it and declines eating again. He suggests she quench her thirst with the soda if she does not want to eat anything, telling her it's super sweet and probably unlike anything she's ever had before. Lady Zhang gets angry, feeling insulted by his comment, and accuses him of looking down on her. Our hero quickly clarifies that he was just trying to offer her something to eat. As their argument heats up, they start bickering like an old married couple. In the midst of their squabble, our hero accidentally knocks over his can of Coke, spilling it all over the place. The fizzy drink starts bubbling on the floor. Seeing the strange liquid spread, The girl stares at him in disbelief, thinking he was trying to force her to consume this weird, black, and disgusting substance. The poor guy sweats nervously, insisting that it's not poisonous and attempting to explain the concept of a carbonated drink. But these modern concepts make no sense to the girl from ancient times. In a fit of rage, she pins our hero down and glares at him with fiery eyes before she can slice his head off. Shortly after, she calms down a bit when he proves the drink isn't poison by chugging it himself. The girl finally gets it, and our hero tells her to stop drawing her sword every time, mentioning how she freaked out his cat, Melon. He then looks at her and realizes there are only 3 options to get rid of her. Option 1, trick her into going outside and let her freeze or starve, but he knows she'd end up on the news. Option 2, call the cops, but she might go berserk and make a mess for him by killing those officers, and just thinking about it gives him the creeps. The third option is to keep an eye on her. Since she's from ancient times, he might learn some neat stuff from her, but he's also worried she might chop him in half if she keeps brandishing her sword. Instead of regretting it later, he decides to take her in and see how things go. With that settled, he offers her the burger. Although she's clearly tempted by the tantalizing food before her, she stubbornly looks away and asks him what exactly this thing is that he's holding. Deciding to prove it's not poisonous, he takes the first bite, and she agrees, eagerly telling him to go ahead. As he eats, the lady watches him closely, and the boy realizes this amount of food might not be enough for her, so he decides to make a rice bowl instead, thinking her ancient stomach might not handle the burger well. It seems he was just making excuses to eat the burger himself. Seeing him finish it off completely annoys the lady to no end. He gestures for her to sit down, but she cautiously checks the seat by pressing her hand against it before sitting down cautiously. Let's face it, she can't trust this strange guy completely, even though he did offer her his umbrella. His room is filled with oddities, and he eats weird stuff too, so she decides to remain vigilant and careful. She asks about this place again, and our hero reminds her it's Zhangcheng City. The lady then asks if he knows how she can return home. This time, our hero panics when he sees her reaching for her sword again and insists she puts it down before he answers. Once the sword is out of sight, he somberly reveals to her that she might not be able to return because they are really far from her home. The girl perks up at this, and immediately asks how far away they are. Our hero reluctantly tells her it's almost 1,200 years away. The girl asks what he means by 1,200 years, so he explains that it's been that long since she came from her time. Famous folks like Li Bai, Yang Yuhuan, and Lu Shan, all ancient history now, dead and gone for over 1,000 years. She's totally shocked by this news and straight up calls him a liar, but the boy tells her to just look around. Nothing's the same. This world runs on its own rules now. It could be cool if you get the hang of it, but also risky. She's still not buying it and raises her sword to his face. He calmly reminds her that waving swords around is against the law, and she better learn the rules fast. The woman asks why he's bothering to help her out. The boy explains it's kinda like how he rescued his fat cat Melon from the tough outside world. He just felt like he had to help. But our hero needs to pick his words better because she gets ticked off again, thinking he's comparing her to a cat. After a bit of thinking, she figures he's not such a bad guy since he let her in and offered food. So, she asks him again why he bothered helping her. Our hero says meeting a quirky ancient girl like her isn't something he encounters every day, and he's genuinely curious about her. He adds that she'd probably be curious too if their roles were reversed. The lady quickly shuts that down, saying if someone as weird as our hero showed up in her era, the chief would have chopped him down right away. The guy reminds her that this era is all about peace and love. He tells her that as long as she's living here, she better learn to follow the law, never hurt people, and not destroy anyone's belongings. With that clear, he lets her choose whether she wants his help or prefers to wander outside. Before turning away, he reminds her one last time not to hurt civilians, or she'll get arrested. The lady finds herself in a tight spot, not knowing what to do since she can't even leave this place. The boy then says if she wants to stay, he can order her some food, but she has to give up her sword because he doesn't want to get arrested either. With no other options, she reluctantly throws her sword down. With that settled, he starts brainstorming what to order for her that won't be too foreign for her. He briefly considers ordering some mooncakes, but then decides to get her some rice and buns instead. He tells her to take a shower while they wait for her food to arrive. The woman, clueless, asks where she's supposed to bathe. Our hero leads her into the bathroom, which leaves her amazed at the sight. He tells her not to be too surprised because there are many more surprises to come, and reassures her not to be afraid as everything here is harmless. For instance, he shows her the shower, and she looks at it curiously like a puppy. She tries it out herself, and our hero can't resist capturing her curiosity on his phone. He then introduces her to bath shampoo and the concept of toilet. Afterwards, he waits outside while she showers. He rummages through his stuff, trying to find something suitable for her to wear. Inadvertently, he opens the bath door while attempting to knock, realizing she doesn't even know how to lock it. Nevertheless, he informs her he doesn't have any women's clothes, so she'll have to wait for proper clothing. He decides to teach her how to lock the door in the meantime. Shortly after, he is kicked outside, but the lady is now enjoying her first shower in this new world. She even tries tasting the shampoo bubbles, but ends up spitting it away. Meanwhile, our hero is questioning if all of this is actually real. He picks up her sword and closely examines the gleaming blade, deciding to have an expert check if it's authentic or not. The girl emerges from her bath in her new outfit, and while our hero is busy with something else, she asks what he's writing. He doesn't respond immediately, but eventually hands her the paper. It lists out current issues that need addressing, and she starts staring at it intently. There are everyday products written down which she is supposed to utilize in her daily life. She then complains about her current clothes, to which the boy says she looks pretty and clarifies that he's not hitting on her. He's just giving a compliment, like people usually do when someone looks good. But still, she sternly tells him to lay off any flirtatious remarks. Suddenly, he notices her straw slippers and tells her to put them away, promising to get her new ones tomorrow. While he's admiring her cuteness, a sudden knock on the door scares the lady, but Shuqing reassures her it's just a delivery boy with food. Reflecting on it, he can't help but compare her to a wild cat, always attentive and ready to attack. After taking the food out of the plastic bag, he hands it to her. That is when Lady Jiang remembers something her vice captain used to say, that if someone is helping you for free, they must have ulterior motives. Hearing this, Shuqing starts crying, but then she smiles and tells him that she believes he's actually a good person. In a few moments, once she finishes her food, Shuqing decides to have a chat with the girl. He starts by letting her know that she's not in the primitive era anymore and needs to adjust her beliefs accordingly. He tells her that if she were to rely on her sword for survival and ends up killing him, she wouldn't last more than a week before running out of food. So, he advises her to stop playing around with the sword and focus on other things, like using the TV for entertainment. He also points out that the smartphone can be quite useful useful too. Basically, he's trying to reassure her that she's perfectly safe here and no one is going to harm her. Hearing this, the girl nods in acknowledgement and our hero lets out a sigh of relief. But when it comes to the outside world, things get complicated. He explains that while this is a peaceful world, it could be dangerous for her. Curious, Lady Zhang asks why that is, and our hero explains that she might end up accidentally hurting someone. For instance, if she strolled into a royal castle with her sword drawn, they'd likely throw her in jail. It's the same deal out there in this world as well. Not only that, he also explains the concept of an identity card to her, warning that she needs to watch out for cops who might ask to see it. So, the first thing Xuqing wants to do is make her an ID card. Otherwise, she's going to stick out like a sore thumb wherever she goes because she doesn't belong here. After hearing about the ID card, the lady asks if she's like some kind of refugee here. Xuqing tells her it's actually worse because the consequences are pretty serious if she gets caught. The lady gets freaked out, but Xuqing tries to calm her down, promising to help her out because meeting someone from 1200 years ago isn't exactly an everyday thing. Still, the lady remains hesitant, not sure if she can trust him and just wanting to go back home. To which the boy points out that it won't be easy for him to help her in her current situation, and their best shot is for her to cooperate as much as possible. After a while, the lady reluctantly agrees to cooperate and asks what she should do first. Xuqing wastes no time and tells her straight up, first off, never pull out that sword again. As they settle into a moment of quiet, the girl suddenly looks around and asks Xuqing where his wife is because she wants someone to gossip with. But the poor guy, as much as he hates to admit it, says, I'm actually unmarried. It's quite a surprise for the lady, and a sudden silence fills the room. Xuqing quickly reassures her that it's normal not to be married at his age and tells her to make herself comfortable in the spare room he has for her. She nods quietly and follows him as he shows her the new room she'll be staying in. Inside the room, there's a lot of stuff, but Xuqing quickly tidies everything up, making enough space for one person snugly. It's clear the lady isn't exactly thrilled about staying in this place, especially with a weirdo like him. However, Xuqing grabs some spare blankets and neatly arranges them on her new bed, urging her to rest. He understands she must be feeling confused, and he hopes that when they wake up tomorrow, it'll all feel like they were in a dream. He proceeds to leave the room, and before he does, he introduces himself as Xuqing, wishes her good night, and leaves her alone in her room. The lady first places her sword back, and then sits on her cozy bed. Once midnight strikes, Xuqing finds himself awake, feeling a bit restless while reflecting on the entire hectic day. First off, he got rejected in job interviews, and when he came back, it started raining. Somehow he managed to reach home, and then ended up meeting a girl who draws her sword every time she feels like it. But then he says, scratch this, and goes to sleep because there's a lot of stuff to handle tomorrow. When the next day rolls around, he opens his eyes and picks up his phone to find that it's already 10 o'clock. He jolts awake in his bed, remembering the nut job lady. He immediately starts looking around, and when he sees her sitting there, he finally realizes that he wasn't dreaming after all. He gathers himself and wishes her a good morning, asking why she woke up so early, only for her to remind him it's almost noon. He then asks if she's hungry, to which she responds affirmatively, albeit a little. She the starets looking for something in her chest and hurriedly goes back to her room, returning with 2 silver pieces, telling him he can buy food with them. Xuqing is amazed to see the silver in his hands, though he knows silver doesn't fetch much. However, he thinks if she has any gold, he could use that to get cash and possibly help her obtain an ID card. The girl shows another piece of stone, but Xuqing quickly tells her to keep it because she can't go outside yet. He looks at her closely, estimating her height and width, and promises to buy her some clothes later, along with bringing back some food. Afterwards, he heads to the bathroom, brushes his teeth, and freshens up. Then, he heads to the shopping center to pick out some suitable clothes for her. After looking at several options, his eyes settle on a particular dress, and tells the attendant that he'll take that one as well. It seems like he spotted some bras in the distance, but couldn't bring himself to enter that section alone. After an hour of shopping, he finally finishes and looks at the stuff he bought, feeling embarrassed about holding women's cosmetics. He then heads to the bookstore, grabs some books, and makes his way back to his apartment through the bustling city. Upon reaching the building entrance, the guard asks him about his shopping trip, and our guy tries to hide all the feminine stuff he's carrying. The guard also asks about the phone call from yesterday, and he makes up an excuse, saying he dialed the wrong number accidentally. Before he heads off, the guard warns him to be cautious due to recent thefts in the area. He nods and assures the guard he'll remember. Once he's back in his apartment, he finds the lady standing there with her sword almost drawn, ready to chop off any intruders. The boy assures her she's safe and hands over the food box, mentioning he's also brought some essentials. Suddenly, something clicks in his mind. He looks at her with curiosity, and she asks what's on his mind. He awkwardly wonders aloud if she should be thanking him and seeing him as some kind of young hero or a decent guy, or something like that. The lady, not quite getting where he's coming from, thanks him anyway. It seems like it might take a while for her to figure out what this weirdo is always thinking. They dig into the food, and the lady devours her meal like a wild animal, which surprises our hero given the elegant image he had of women from her era. Nonetheless, he's pleased to see her enjoying herself. After they finish eating, he lays out the clothes he bought, showing her the new dresses and shoes. He keeps digging around for more stuff, and meanwhile, the girl spots the bra he got for her. The guy freaks out, like his soul might jump out of his virgin body, and quickly tells her to keep that thing down and promises to send her a video on how to use the bra to cover up her headlights. Feeling embarrassed, he dumps all the stuff he bought and tells her to figure it out herself. Seems like he's picked up quite a few interesting items though. Along with that, he's brought some books to help her understand this world and its culture better. He's even planning to teach her how to use a computer so she can learn on her own. Seeing her looking tired and restless, he suggests she get plenty of sleep before they can figure out their next move. But then she asks about his status in this world. Hearing this, he rethinks things and admits he's a graduate student still on the job hunt. It's funny how despite being unemployed, he still manages to splash out on fancy clothes and cosmetics. So, even the lady starts to think he's some rich kid, but our hero quickly shuts that down, saying he's from a poor background. Then she starts wondering if he might be a landlord or something. Nonetheless, she dives into her books, but when she sees those old pictures from her era, tears well up in her eyes as she thinks about how she can get back home. The boy reminds her he has no clue how to get her there, but asks her how she ended up here. The lady reveals she was chasing a small thief in heavy rain, got lost in the middle of the forest, and wandered around until she spotted these tall houses. Seems like this guy's clueless about how to get her home, but he cleverly changes the subject, telling her she's got to survive in this world before going back. Then, without skipping a beat, he asks about her military ranking and martial arts skills. You see, the reason this guy was asking in the first place was because he was interested in her martial arts skills to begin with, and the lady gives him an exact answer he he likes, saying her Yan clan is considered the most powerful clan around. Excitedly, he asks how high she can jump without getting hurt. The lady confidently steps forward, pointing to the 4th floor of the building, saying she can jump from there without a scratch. This revelation leaves the guy's eyes practically popping out of their sockets. He then gets even more excited, eager to see all the fancy moves she's got under her belt. He starts spouting off a bunch of martial arts skill names he's probably picked up from video games, but it's all gibberish to her. He even asks if she knows Kung Fu and offers to learn from her eagerly. But the lady tells this enthusiastic guy to simmer down because he's past the age for learning, and even with perseverance and determination, he won't achieve much. The boy calms down and asks if these moves are like super strict or something. Lady Zhang shakes her head, saying it's not about being a master, just a few basic moves without all the strict rules. She then gets into position and shows him the first simple martial arts move, focusing on the waist and how to ground yourself. She explains that martial arts training takes time, building up bit by bit, day by day. He then asks if he can practice stakes and literally begs for it. She reminds him that it will take 3 years for him to learn stakes. The guy thinks that in that amount of time, he could become a full-fledged army soldier, so he gives up on martial arts and asks her to teach him sword techniques instead. The lady brings him back to reality once again, saying he's also past the time to perfect his reflexes because his eyes can't keep up with his hands right now. Finally, he throws his idea of becoming a warrior into the dustbin and simply tells her to try on the clothes. Once she's in the bathroom, he wastes no time taking advantage of the moment. He grabs her sword and starts swinging it like he's the second coming of the ninja itself, but this loser can't keep up because the sword is way too heavy for his puny muscles. The lady finally comes out of the bathroom, and when the idiot looks at her, she's looking smoking hot in her new getup. Her clothes fit like they were made for her, and she even walks around to check if they're tight anywhere. That's when Mr. Forgetful perks up, noticing her hair is all over the place and realizing he forgot to buy her a hairband. He tells her to tie her hair back with a band, and once she does, bam! She looks even hotter, a perfect wife material. Overcome with emotion, he starts crying, feeling bad for underestimating her intelligence just because she's from ancient times. He decides to take her for a walk tonight and promises to buy her a proper hair tie while back at home. As dusk arrives, the girl takes a peek outside her room and sees the boy sitting at the desk. She comes out and asks what he's doing. He tries to explain computers to her, like how you can trash talk everyone in the crazy lobbies of Call of Duty, and warns her to steer clear of 4chan if she wants to keep her sanity intact. The boy then asks if she's having fun reading books. She admits that most things are flying right over her head, but she's slowly learning. The dude tells her to take it easy, reassuring her there's no rush, and reminds her she's already brave and smart. He jokes that if he were in her shoes, he'd probably be a lost cause. Lady Zhang looks at our hero warmly, cheeks turning tomato red. While he's chilling at his desk, the lady sneaks up behind him again and asks if he doesn't have to work. He shrugs, saying he's already hustling to make money in this world. But when she imagines someone making money, she doesn't picture a schlub staring at a giant screen. Our hero explains he's trying to make some quick cash online. Since she wouldn't get all the tech stuff, he suggests she start with the basics. His mind is struck with a bright idea as to how to make her familiar with some basic stuff. He asks her how strong her chief's martial arts skills are, and she replies, pretty darn strong. So, the dude plays a video on his computer and asks if these guys on screen are powerful enough. The lady's eyes light up as she watches the intense fight scenes on his screen. He looks at her with the same enthusiasm and asks for her thoughts. With a timid voice, she admits these moves are something she has not seen in her life before, and just imagining fighting these characters makes her nervous enough to pray. He then pulls up another ridiculous video where a guy smashes through an entire wall with just the palm of his hand. When she sees this, she's absolutely terrified out of her mind, trembling as our idiotic hero eagerly asks what she thinks of the video. With a pale face and a voice tinged with fear, she asks if everyone here possesses that kind of magnificent power. Quick to correct her, he reassures her it's all fictional and none of it is real. This just makes the lady angrier, demanding to know if he's telling the truth. The dude confirms, saying once again that the kung fu she just saw was all bullcrap. He then explains to her that in this world, people create things based on their imaginations. For example, the martial arts he showed her is what people here believe it to be, even though everything is blown out of proportion. Looks like Lady Jiang is starting to grasp all these concepts. He reassures her that with time, she'll totally understand about arts and movies. Xu Qing then finally asks his original question if her chief's kung fu is better than what she has seen so far. Well, she reluctantly admits it's not. He then asks about flying techniques. She confirms they exist, but most folks specialize in just one. She points out how unrealistic those movie stunts are because physical strength only goes so far. The boy thinks for a moment, pulls up another video, and asks if she can do that move. She mulls it over for a moment, stands up from her seat, and starts swinging her hands super fast, moving like a blur. Xu Qing is totally thrilled to see her nail the technique and excitedly tells her she's got it. She tells him to hit her up anytime he wants to learn it, promising to teach him. With those words, she heads out, leaving my guy doing a little happy dance, probably dreaming of becoming a warrior someday. As she walks to her room, she notices a fat cat in her way, but she ignores the little furball and simply shuts the door in the poor cat's face. Once inside her room, she lets out a sigh in fear, realizing there's actually no one in this world without ulterior motives after all, and the reason our hero is helping her is to learn some martial arts. This new world is really scaring her. All these weird things do not make any sense. But then, she glances up at the wide ceiling, grabs her sword, and starts practicing. The noise from her room makes our hero curious if she's not going to take a nap. Feeling tired, he also drops down on his bed, finding it unbelievable that there's a woman right next to his room. The thought makes him really happy though, and he falls asleep with those sweet thoughts lingering in his mind. Suddenly, he is jolted awake by heavy voices. He looks outside to see dusk arriving, checks his phone, and realizes he spent the entire day sleeping. He immediately gets up and decides to take Lady Jiang with him to show her the real world outside. As she puts on her shoes, he advises her on the do's and don'ts in public areas, insisting she not do anything without his permission. After laying out all the rules, rules, he asks if she understands everything, to which she meekly replies yes. He also doesn't forget to take a photo of her before they head out. However, in the photo, her pretty face looks more like a molester, who is looking forward to grabbing some peachy ass in the streets. The boy asks her to give him a smile, but her forced grin is even worse than her usual expression, and he nearly faints seeing it. He abandons the picture idea, and decides they should just get going. But before they head out, he tells her to leave her sword behind because he doesn't want any trouble. Lady Jiang immediately refuses, but the boy reassures her that the people on the streets are as weak as he is, so she doesn't need to worry about anyone. The lady reluctantly gives up her sword. While she's standing there, he tries to snap another picture of her. This time, he manages to get a really good shot and cheerfully says, "Let's get going." Once they step out of the apartment building, the girl starts looking around anxiously. Our hero explains that this is a neighborhood where families live. He points out the main entrance and the road outside and mentions the stores on both sides where people can buy food, clothes, or whatever they need. Lady Jiang gets intimidated seeing a guy on a scooter, probably thinking it's some kind of magical ride. As they walk on, they notice some people. A fat woman immediately recognizes Lady Jiang for some reason. The girl hides behind the guy while the woman insists she's seen her before. Meanwhile, a guard asks if our hero has snagged a girlfriend for himself, but the boy just laughs it off and says she's just a friend. But it seems this fat lady isn't letting up. She immediately recognizes Lady Jiang as the sword-wielding woman from yesterday. The guard and the woman start discussing the sword she had, and the fat lady explains everything in detail. Our hero quickly jumps in, yelling that it was just cosplay, where people pretend to be fictional or historical characters. Luckily, the fat lady buys the cosplay story, and our hero seizes the chance, grabbing Jiang's hand and walking away swiftly. Seeing them walking side by side reminds the old man of his own past. Once they're out of sight, Lady Jiang pulls her hand away and starts feeling grumpy. He asks if that woman saw her yesterday. The girl remains silent to this query, and the boy is now sure Jiang must have met that woman on the stairs. Nevertheless, they continue their journey together. The lady is quite shocked to see cars moving so fast. The boy then gives a brief description of cars and how they evolved from horse carriages to these robust, speedy machines. Since she can't understand how these things work, she assumes there must be a horse stuck inside providing the much-needed horsepower to run the car. The boy then introduces her to the concept of cameras and explains how the movies they watch were filmed with these devices. He points out that if he were to misbehave with her here, people from far away would still be watching from that CCTV and could get them arrested. So he reassures her that as long as she behaves herself, she isn't their target. Lady Jiang picks up a few pebbles from the ground, and our hero quickly tells her not to even think about knocking out any cameras. She stops immediately, and he tells her to just put the stones away. He then explains traffic lights and how they work, pointing out that red means stop and green means you can cross the road. I'm narrating this because I want my friends and fellow viewers to learn too. Once they cross the road, Jiang's attention is caught by the bright streetlights and the grocery stores. The high-speed cars are fascinating to her as well. As they walk, the boy picks out a hair ribbon for the lady, but when he imagines her with those cute fur balls on her head, he realizes it might not be suitable for her after all. He starts thinking while looking at all the cute, sparkly things laid out before them. Lady Jiang perks up at the sight, and when our hero asks if she likes a particular ribbon, she immediately says yes. Once she has the ribbon in her hands, she starts stretching it vigorously, but then she uses it correctly and puts it on her head, looking all cute and beautiful once again. Even our hero can't help but admire her beauty. As the sun sets and the city lights up, our duo heads into a restaurant. Our hero orders 2 fried rice cakes with extra spices and a plate of sliced cucumber as a side dish. As they look for a place to sit, the boy reveals to Jiang that this is the same place where all their food comes from. He relies on this restaurant because they serve the best food, and he's been enjoying it since he was a kid. Suddenly, Jiang's mind is totally captivated by the vibrant lights dancing before her eyes. She's so lost in the moment that she finds herself startled when the waiter arrives with their food. The boy decides to start eating and offers her a pair of chopsticks. She looks really nervous, and while he chugs down his lemon juice, he realizes he probably made the right choice by not letting her wander off by herself. She clearly needs more guidance than he thought, but he's confident he can teach her everything step by step. After they finish eating and pay the bill, they leave the restaurant feeling satisfied, especially our hero. They head back home, and once they're there, he asks if she's starting to feel more comfortable. She doesn't respond and just sits quietly on the couch. He tries to reassure her, saying that living in this world isn't so bad, especially with all the delicious food and junk food to munch on. He tells her that once she has her own ID card, she'll be able to enjoy it even more. Despite his reassurances, she still doesn't seem too thrilled about staying and quietly says she wants to go home. But then again, he reminds her that she can't go back home since it's already been 1200 years. It looks like she has to accept reality. She asks how they're going to solve the identity problem. The dude explains he's no government guy to handle this stuff, but there's always a way, and reassure her that he'll help her. The girl gets flustered and feels grateful for his kind gesture. This time she thanks him properly by calling him a young warrior. The boy responds with the same brotherly energy, emphasizing that identity is crucial in this world, and without it, it's difficult to navigate. He then asks her where the list he gave her yesterday is. The girl points to the dustbin. The boy is disappointed by her action and tells her to retrieve it right away. Once she gets the paper out of the bin, the lady asks what they'll do if the ID card issue isn't resolved. Our hero points out that she'll be a criminal and there's nothing he can do. Without an ID, she can't get a job, buy property, or even use public transport, and emphasizes that an ID card is the holy grail in this world. The lady gets a bright idea and asks if, by making money and finding a place to live, the ID would become less important. The boy explains there are still many things she can't do without an ID, like having a bank account, a phone, online accounts, online shopping, the list goes on. He then opens his laptop, searches for unregistered resident certificate, while also telling the lady to approach the authorities directly for help with her ID card. He reassures her that the worst case scenario is they might confiscate her, but he's sure they'll treat her nicely. Lady Jiang immediately reaches for her sword, asking if he's thinking about turning her into the authorities. The boy tells her to forget it and just focus on studying first. He suggests she look at history or something, and once she has a basic knowledge of modern society, she can decide for herself. The woman gets silent silent and seems visibly anxious and sad. She asks if it's a problem for him if she stays here. Our hero reassures her that she can crash here as long as she wants, but insists she shouldn't fight or kill with her sword. He promises everything will be fine. Just then, the cat comes over, and the boy realizes he nearly forgot to feed this furball in all the madness. He plays around a bit with the cat and tells Lady Jiang that if she has nothing else to do, she can do some studying. The girl bows her head and decides to do just that. Looks like the dude found nothing worthwhile on the internet, so he checks his phone and decides to call someone he knows. He's about to call his best friend Chin Hao, who is now a good police officer, though he's not sure if his internship period has passed, and Chin Hao is now a full-blown officer. While texting Chin Hao, he wonders if he should mention that he's met a girl from 1200 years ago, but he decides against it and sets up a meeting with his friend without revealing anything about their meeting. Feeling happy, the boy decides to take a shower to freshen up. After the steamy bath, he feels really satisfied. It then occurs to him that the girl hasn't showered yet, but he decides not to dwell on it. Suddenly, he remembers he's sharing space with someone of the opposite gender, and he knows he'd be in hot water if she caught him wandering around naked. Thankfully, no one sees him, and he hurries into his room. A while later, Lady Jiang cautiously emerges from her room, darts to the bathroom with clothes in hand, and immediately shuts the door for a much-needed bath, just like she used to do in ancient times regularly. Since it's the weekend, the boy grabs a digital writing pad and starts teaching her how to write. She's already good at reading traditional Chinese characters and nailing their pronunciation, so now she tries her hand at writing a few words. Suddenly, Melon pops up, grabbing both their attention. The cat looks hungry, so the boy decides to feed her while Lady Jiang keeps practicing her writing. Watching him dish out cat food, Lady Jiang gets curious and asks what it actually is, to which Shu Qing explains it's food made just for cats to eat. Lady Jiang quickly imagines how they might produce such cat food, picturing pouches hanging from tall trees in her mind. Suddenly, there's a knock on the door, and the boy rushes to receive the food delivery. He hands it to the lady, telling her it's her dinner for tonight, as he's going to meet his friend later to ask about her identity card. The girl immediately starts digging into the food, and our hero assures her he'll teach her how to use a phone and computer so they can stay in touch. While she eats, Little Melon chimes in asking for some food, but the dude scoops up his cat and reminds her to stick to her own cat food. Curious, the lady meekly asks if she can't give this cat some of her food, to which the boy nods and explains that this kind of food isn't healthy for cats. The lady is shocked to hear this, and her mind stops for a moment. If this food isn't healthy for an animal, how can it be good for humans? She even starts feeling like her burger doesn't smell good anymore. Shortly after, he shows Lady Jiang how to use Discord to message him on his phone, making it clear that it will not be him hiding inside the computer, but rather it will be the transmission waves who will carry his voice to her. Leaving his dormitory, he scratches his head, wondering if this is all okay. Eventually, he reaches his destination after a bus ride. Stepping off, he looks around and spots his friend sitting in the distance, waving at him. When they finally meet face to face, they exchange greetings. Officer Chin then pours a cold beer for our hero, mentioning it's the first time he's serving him a cup of beer. They both sit down, and our hero asks his friend how he can drink as a police officer. Chin Hao explains that he's off duty and dressed casually, just here as an ordinary person. The boy then places his order, carefully noting all the delicious items he's about to enjoy. They clink glasses and toast each other. Shu Qing asks his friend how his job is going and what it's like being an outstanding officer. Chin Hao bluntly describes it as terrible, and all the talk about heroes saving the day is nonsense. He shares how he's often pulled into trivial disputes between couples and ends up resolving conflicts with old ladies in the neighborhood. He hardly ever encounters thieves. Instead, he deals with daily disputes and nonsense. But our hero Shu Qing points out the brighter side, mentioning how people are generally living and working happily, which is a good thing. As much as Chin Hao hates his job now, he always dreamed of becoming a police officer when he was a kid. However, he stopped growing after hitting 1.6 meters, knowing that the minimum height requirement was 1.7 meters. He cried a lot in our hero's arms. Fortunately, when the height requirement was replaced by the high jump, he was excited to start practicing every day, eventually achieving his dream. But after dealing with just trivial disputes, the officer is so worn out that he jokes he'd even fight a woman with a sword if he has to, just to make a big show. Our hero immediately tells him not to joke about such things. Suddenly, the boy changes the subject and casually asks about what happens if a homeless person who has lost their memory wants to get an ID card and work without any proof of citizenship. To which the officer bluntly states that getting an ID card isn't easy, and someone fitting that description is likely a shady person. With the energy of an officer, he asks our hero for the person's name and address he is speaking about. The boy tries to spin a tale about how his mother's brother had a son whose friend is in a similar situation. The officer cuts him off, telling him to stop the nonsense and reminding him that without proof of identity, like a blood test or something similar, they can't get an ID card. The boy presses further, asking if the person he encountered was unidentified and strange, like a homeless guy. The officer points out that if their behavior is suspicious, they must be investigated. Seeing his friend's suspicious gaze, the boy quickly tells him to stop looking at him as if he's harboring a fugitive. He insists he's not here to discuss how to cover up anyone's identity. His friend agrees, reassuring him that he trusts him. He suggests asking for basic information from the stranger. They could also use a person's directory or DNA information to verify details. His friend suddenly grows irritated, telling our hero to drop the conversation and starts downing his beer. The boy jokes that he only came here because he needed something to talk about, otherwise they would not have met. Then, he playfully tells his friend to forget everything and jokingly extends his hands, telling him to handcuff himself because he wants to experience what it's like to be interrogated and cuffed. After their banter, our hero brings up the ID card subject again, but the officer's answer remains the same. He gives an example that if it were so easy to get a new ID, criminals would be stabbing people daily and running off with new identities to start fresh. They continue their back and forth, and after drinking a lot of beer, the officer finds himself knocked out cold. Our hero tries to wake him up, reminding him of his duty to resolve disputes between old ladies, but the officer just wants more beer, so our hero tells the waiter not to bring any more. The boy pays the bill while his friend still wants more booze. Our hero then learns there's a 50% discount if you spend 100 yuan, so he decides to get a lot of fish for Lady Jiang. After saying goodbye to his hiccuping friend, he grabs his takeout and heads back home, though he is a bit let down that he got no lead, but he is not sweating it. Once he's back home, he finds the girl fast fast asleep, and he can't help but admire her beauty. His heart and brain seem to short-circuit as he gazes at her, unsure of the feelings stirring inside him. The girl wakes up abruptly, feeling a bit startled to see him back. He shows her the food he brought, and she quietly says thanks. Not satisfied with just a simple thank you, the boy playfully insists she say it loud and clear. Blushing, the girl says, "Thank you, young warrior," which prompts an exaggerated reaction from the boy, claiming it was an easy task and a small contribution. As he unpacks the food, the girl asks if he drank a lot. He says no and shows her a yogurt pack, telling her to lick it before drinking. He starts rubbing his tongue against the sweet and sour yogurt, and she follows suit, surprisingly enjoying it and diving right in. The boy tells her to eat up and not let the food get cold. As he heads into the bathroom to take a bath, he can't help but smile, feeling the warmth of coming back home and seeing someone waiting for him. After his bath, when he's back outside, the girl immediately notices him. He asks if she checked her clothes, which confuses her at first. Then she remembers the bra he brought for her and feels super embarrassed just thinking about it. Apparently, trying to figure it out with YouTube tutorials didn't go so well. Later, she heads to the bathroom to change. She's nervous about trying on the fancy dress, since she's used to plain outfits that match her mood. She wonders what kind of prickly princess she'll look like in this new dress. She lays out the bra and dress on the bed, takes a bath, and dries her hair with a blow dryer. She's really grateful for the kind young man helping her adjust to everything, but she knows relying on him isn't a long-term solution, and she can only get so far with her limited knowledge. The sunshine of the next day leaks through the window, and the girl comes out of her room while rubbing her tired, sleep-deprived eyes. It looks like our hero woke up early this time. Lady Zhang asks him if he's working early in the morning, to which he replies that he's just watching some news. The girl immediately exudes a gloomy aura, asking if he is a government official. The boy reassures her that he's not, reminding her that if he were, she would already have her much-desired ID card. He then asks if she's hungry and offers to buy breakfast, asking if she'd like to come along. The girl declines and heads to the bathroom, so the boy decides to go by himself, telling her she can Netflix and chill in the meantime. Humming a tune, the boy strolls outside. The old guard calls him over, and the boy reluctantly approaches, noticing two more people present. One of the ladies asks if he's heard any creepy, weird noises lately, and the way she is looking at our hero, it's clear she suspects him of being the source of these sounds. It seems like the boy is completely clueless about what the lady is talking about, and he tells them that he didn't hear anything, and slept soundly last night. He wonders if there was a theft, but the old man suggests that they might be haunted because his dog was terrified by something the other night, so much so that it didn't even bark. When the boy asks the old guard if he noticed anything else, the old man takes a puff of his cigarette, exhales the smoke, and confesses that he didn't see anything, but he caught something on video footage. They all gather in the surveillance room where the old man plays the video. In the footage, they see something moving so fast that it appears as just a blur, and everyone is visibly terrified by this mysterious creature. And the reason our hero is also feeling terrified is that he's pretty sure it's Lady Zhang. He facepalms himself, unsure why she's doing that, and decides to go back to the apartments to ask her himself. Well, it looks like now we know why Lady Zhang was feeling tired a while ago. She was probably trying to explore this world by herself in the night to learn new things. The boy then asks the old man if the same had happened yesterday as well, to which the guard says no, noting that nothing unusual happened last night. He awkwardly laughs and decides to entertain the idea that maybe there's a ghost around. The bald guy over there and the chubby lady get curious, wondering why a ghost would be playing around in the dead of night, especially in their place. The old man decides to keep an eye out to see if there's some guy lurking around looking for a chance to steal. The boy finally gets back home and wastes no time yelling at her, asking why she snuck out in the middle of the night before. He stares at her with a mix of disappointment and concern. The girl meekly asks how he knew it was her wandering, which just infuriates the boy more. He facepalms in frustration, reminding her about the CCTV cameras everywhere that caught her. The girl looks a bit scared and worried about him. So, she quickly explains she was wearing a mask. Relieved, the boy sighs and figures as long as she keeps her face hidden, they're probably safe. He tells her from now on, if she wants to go out, she has to take him along. No solo trips allowed while she's staying here. He stresses how dangerous her situation is, so she can't just wander around freely. The lady timidly asks if she caused trouble for him, and he reassures her that luckily, no one recognized her, because everyone thought there was just a ghost haunting the place. Looks like the lady had no clue what haunting meant. Seeing her clueless face, my guy gets agitated once again, and quickly tries to Google a movie about someone from ancient times who ends up in the future and gets into trouble because of their wild behavior. He wants to emphasize how dangerous her actions could be if she's not careful, and he is pretty sure what he just imagined perfectly fit the description of her character. The girl looks timid and promises to quit causing trouble if it's a bother to him. The boy then tells her to calm down and suggests ordering takeout later, asking what she'd like, whether hamburgers, chicken rolls, or anything else. The lady responds with a charming smile and thanks him for the healthy food he is ordering for her, but the boy teases her by reminding her that if she wants to eat even healthier, she could try the cat food. After their playful banter, the boy takes the laundry and puts the clothes into the washing machine. He also takes the opportunity to educate her about how the washing machine works. Upon seeing this, the girl quickly rushes to her room, retrieves her clothes, and returns to the laundry room to add them to the washing machine. While Shu Qing is looking at the laundry, he notices something tucked inside her clothes. Curious, he pulls out the item and holds it up in the air, leaving the girl completely embarrassed. She hurriedly snatches the item back from his hand and rushes back to her room. Zhu Qing is surprised to realize that it's a foot binding, which does not make sense as how she was moving around the neighborhood with her injured feet tied up with the binding. He glances at her, recalling how her feet seemed perfectly fine when he last saw her in those shoes, so it does not make any sense for her to tie her feet with clothes. He then decides to search online to see if martial arts enthusiasts have any interest in some sort of foot binding practices, but by the looks on his face, the search results don't align with his expectations. Turning to her, he casually asks if he can take a look at her feet. She stubbornly pouts and shakes her head, clearly uncomfortable with the request. The boy asks why is that, to which the girl just gives him a silent treatment. Well, it looks like this clueless guy has finally caught on that those bindings weren't for her feet, but for her chest. It's no wonder why she didn't bother with the undergarments he brought earlier, and he thought maybe her hooters were big enough already to fit anything. His soul nearly jumps out of his body as he realizes his foolish mistake. She shoots him an angry look, sword drawn and eyes blazing, seemingly ready to chop off his head. However, she manages to take control back to her nerves and turns around, leaving this weakling utterly terrified after getting scared to death. But since she's already already mad at him, he tries to lighten the mood by calling her out and singing in his terrible voice. The lyrics are all about Lady Jiang, describing her modest stature, natural beauty without makeup, and how beautiful she is from head to toe. He even sings a song about a man who loved an ugly woman but had 5 children with her. He claims that only a Giga Chad with a Sigma male mentality could do such a thing, and he desperately wants to become one of them. Despite his attempts at banter, he ends up getting yelled at by the girl once again. Afterwards, he gets back to the main business, and tells her to watch some tutorials on how to wear these undergarments, and he will be back in 5 minutes, hopefully with fewer jokes this time. Exactly 5 minutes later, he returns and checks on her progress, but to his surprise, she looks utterly spooked and asks if this is how everyone lives here. With a trembling voice, she mentions that while these undergarments might seem comfortable, they make her feel like a harlot. The boy tries to reassure her that there's nothing wrong with feeling comfortable, but she persists, calling it shameless. He challenges her perspective, asking what there is to be ashamed about. After a moment of contemplation, she falls silent. He launches into a humorous tirade about how she's stuck in the past while modern women flaunt their assets in anything they like. He even throws in a jab, saying if a man can wear half underwear, so can a woman as well. But she sticks to her guns, immediately rejecting what she calls immoral thinking. Seeing he couldn't reason with her, the dude decided to switch gears and calm her down. He revealed that besides studying and working, computers are also great for gaming. He warned her about the toxic fanbase in games like Apex Legends and instead introduced her to a game suspiciously similar to Super Mario. After seeing it for the first time, she became engrossed in the cartoonish world of jumping plumbers. While the lady was busy beating Niftsky's speedrun record, our hero quietly slipped away, thinking it's best to keep her occupied indoors. Later on, when he returned home, he interrupted her game to teach her how to defeat the final boss. After their gaming session, he felt exhausted and decided to take a nap while she continued playing on his laptop. Once he settled into his room, he reflects on how lucky he was not to land a job on that rainy day. Otherwise, even if the interview had gone well, managing a 1200-year-old ancient girl would have likely forced him to quit. As dusk casts its yellow hue across the room, our hero returns to find the lady. He suggests they eat out and tells her to dress nicely this time instead of looking like a slob. He even advises her to try a different hairstyle. She looks at her options and emerges in a new dress, blushing as she adjusts to the modern style, albeit a bit too modern for her standards. The boy blushes too, struck by her beauty, but quickly urges her to change back to her original dress to avoid drawing attention in public. This sends the girl into a fit of agitation and frustration beyond measure. As they wander outside, the old security guard jokingly asks if he's taking his girlfriend shopping again. Our hero clarifies that they're just friends, not dating. The old man then reveals he's holding onto a talisman to ward off ghosts temporarily until his mahogany arrives. When asked if he resembles the god from the New Year's festivities, Shuqing gives a thumbs up and hurries along, noting it's getting late. Meanwhile, Lady Jiang is already occupied with her own thoughts about something. Once they're alone, she can't contain her curiosity any longer and asks Shuqing what girlfriend means. He explains it's just a female friend. Perplexed, she wonders why he denied she was his girlfriend earlier. He tells her to be patient and promises he'll explain later. Shuqing is pretty sure that if Lady Jiang figures out the true meaning of girlfriend, she might just pack her bag and bolt away from his place. As they start walking once again, the boy suggests she watch videos about her kingdom's history, but she expresses reluctance, noting that revisiting her past is painful. As they walk, Lady Jiang notices the absence of curfews, street vendors, and muddy potholes in this peaceful environment. Everything feels surreal and dreamlike to her in this prosperous world. Their stroll halts at a tea stall where Shuqing orders bubble milk tea and other treats and urges her to try it. She observes curiously, but hesitates to drink. Looking around, she asks if people make money this way in this world, and if she could learn to do such work. Shuqing bursts her bubble gently, explaining she can learn the skills but can't earn money without an ID card. While she sips on her tea somberly, the boy reassures her that the identity card issue will eventually be resolved, so she shouldn't lose hope. He encourages her to enjoy the tea at the moment. As she drinks, he asks if she finds it tasty, but it turns out she doesn't really like it. She mentions the taste isn't quite to her liking, and the pearls are difficult to chew. The boy readily agrees, stating he feels the same and doesn't understand how people enjoy drinking this piss-like stuff. The girl gives him a cold stare, likely not appreciating being the subject of his taste critique. He quickly reassures her that he thought girls liked sweet things, which is why he ordered it for her, while his own drink is a bit sour. He invites her to try his drink instead. She cautiously sips his drink through the straw, and as the delicious flavor hits her palate, her face lights up with joy. So the boy exchanges his drink with Lady Jiang's pearl tea and gives her a gentle smile, genuinely pleased that she enjoys it. As they continue their outing, Lady Jiang starts to feel that something isn't quite right, but decides not to dwell on it, focusing instead on sipping her drink once again. After finishing their meal, the boy shamelessly burps, indicating his full stomach. He suggests taking a quick tour before heading home, and they stroll through the vibrant city in the middle of the night. Suddenly the boy decides to stop at a bus station and suggests taking her somewhere good. Since this is her first time hopping onto the bus, he tells her not to panic and just follow him. The boy proceeds to put a coin in and enters the bus, guiding her to a window seat so she can enjoy the ride to the fullest. As the bus starts moving through the busy streets, the girl is amazed by everything she sees outside. The boy is a bit surprised that she isn't overreacting, considering it's her first bus ride. She reveals that she has ridden horse-drawn carriages many times before. Once they reach the Lanjiang bridge station, they exit the bus, and he introduces her to this new place called Lanjiang. He eagerly and proudly tells her that in her era, this place might have been desolate, but now it's the heart of the city's nightlife. As she takes in the sight before her eyes, she wonders if this is even possible. The boy encourages her to find her own answers by studying history, if she finds it hard to believe. While they stand by the river, the boy takes out his phone and doesn't waste a moment before capturing a memento. The girl happens to be looking in his direction, creating a perfect pose for a picture, and our hero captures that moment with a single click. At that moment, he also promises her a trip on a plane once her identity card issue is sorted out. The idea of soaring into the sky is completely new to her, so he reassures her once more and says that for now, she can stay in his cramped little room and learn about the world. Curious as a child, she asks what comes after understanding the world. The boy pauses, thinking for a moment, and explains that she'll achieve true freedom, gaining a clear sense of what's right and wrong for her, and she can fully enjoy this future world. Checking his phone, he announces that the time has come. Right on cue, fireworks burst into the sky, painting it with vibrant colors and light. She can't help but wonder if her family would be amazed by such a magnificent sight. He smiles at her and encourages her to enjoy this time here, on behalf of her relatives as well. The next day arrives, and the news our hero sees is rather unpleasant to say the least, because Lady Jiang can be seen doing her ninja moves outside by the lightning poles. Of course, the dude's face sours at the sight, but it's also kind of reassuring. Since she played ninja at midnight, the guards have been on patrol more frequently, so there wouldn't be any real thieves around for a moment. Suddenly, Lady Jiang notices people gathered outside and curiously points her finger towards them, asking what's going on. Shu Qing gets creeped out as he realizes they've started to perform rituals to ward off the ghosts in the area. Shortly after, they dig back into their meals, and the lady points out that Shu Qing's lifestyle feels like being in a prison. He chuckles and reminds her how they went shopping earlier, watched documentaries, had lunch, shed a few tears over some anime, and then had dinner. He tells her that it's called having a home and an otaku's lifestyle, but the girl does not seem to understand anything. So Shu Qing explains that staying at home means having the freedom to choose what to do and where to go. He compares it to an ancient landlord who spends his days in the mansion with his family and a cat. The lady then decides to go for a little walk, and Shu Qing asks if she wants to go out on her own. She stays silent, which is all the confirmation he needs. So, he goes on a tirade, listing all the dangers and her shortcomings she has, effectively shutting down the idea and telling her to just stay here for now until she is not fully aware of the world. He tells her that even if he gave her money to eat at restaurants, she still has to figure out how to earn money. Otherwise, she'll just be on a spending spree. He reminds her that she can either commit crimes to get some quick cash or do some hunting, but since there are no hunting forests around, she'll end up going through garbage. Finally, the girl gets silent and just eats her burger, thinking that without that single ID card, she can't even go out for walks on her own. Seeing her sad face, Shu Qing then puts his hand into his pocket and offers her 2 coins, reminding her that she's at least learned how to take the bus so she can experience it by herself, which will be her first step forward. But the girl refuses to take the coins, saying she hasn't learned anything. Shu Qing, however, forcibly gives her the coins, telling her to spend some time outside and assuring her that she's learned a lot in the first month she's been here. Curious, the girl asks if there are really ghosts out there, so he points at the people outside doing their ghost-busting routine. He assures her that once she starts making money, she can pay him back. When she wonders aloud what happens if she doesn't earn anything, he assures her they'll figure it out. Once again, she thanks him, calling him Young Warrior. The boy then runs a game on his computer where she can play a character, explore, and learn how to make some cash. He suggests she give it a try to see if she gets the hang of it. When she asks why she can't just do what he does and work online for money, he explains it's pretty complex and she should start with the basics. Suddenly the doorbell rings and the boy freaks out, telling her to hide in her room. But the person at the gate gets all antsy and yells at the boy to open up. When he hears that voice, Shu Qing gets even more jittery and hurriedly guides her into a room and locks the door before finally facing his father. There's this grumpy old man staring him down. The boy nervously says hi, but the old man adjusts his glasses and insists the boy call him landlord for now. The old man then looks around, demanding to know if his son has found a job yet. The boy, addressing his father as landlord, assures him that he will pay the rent on time and defends himself, stating that since he can afford the rent and his current lifestyle, he does not feel the need to have a job. The old man gets all agitated to hear this, and just like a typical father, he starts berating his son for how big of a failure he is. But the son tries to cut him off by saying since his father is here for the rent, he'll gladly pay up. When the old man spots some RPG game running on the computer, he gets even more annoyed and makes it clear that if his son doesn't find a job by next month, he's hiking up the rent. No questions asked. Jiang wonders while chomping down on her burger if people are always ridiculously glued to their screens in this era, like a jail, always having a strict schedule to everything, and then using the phone for entertainment. Shu Qing nervously laughs, explaining that this is known as otaku, which is a way of life. Being a woman she doesn't understand, of course the lack of brain cells is apparent. Though the hero further elaborates, flexes his gender roles. He can either choose to stay inside or go outside, no restrictions. So he chooses to rot inside all day long. All Jiang can think about is, he is just like those lazy landlords who have leisure time on their hands, enough to explore themselves. Then, Jiang demands to go outside, but Shu Qing shows offense to that, and throws a million questions at her, mainly concerning what she is even going to do outside. Boy just proved he's after all a Gen Z. Then, Shu Qing tells her that he will give her some money, but she will run out of it one day if she doesn't find a way to earn. He is some manipulator, as he tells her that she'll have to commit crimes to have money. Surely he hasn't heard about OnlyFans. Or unless she runs into another super big-hearted person, like him. Classic gaslighting behavior, the women are going to love to fix him. Further, he goes on to say that since there aren't any woods around for her to hunt, she will probably end up lurking through the trash cans to eat. Though she knows without an ID she can't really go anywhere. Then he pulls out some money from his pocket and assures that she has learned a lot in a month, and at least she isn't drawing her sword out at him. But Jiang seems hopeless. But he ain't even that bad. He surely is trying to fix her. He tells her that he's going to take her outside after the ghosts go away, and she needs to get some personal experience to understand a couple of things. Jiang really falls for the ghosts thingy. Only if women these days were that easy to get. Anyways, he decides to help her find a job, but the task is a bit difficult since they're in the era of tech geeks, and she's the boomer of the boomers. But he ends up finding something which matches her qualifications, a game of runners in an ancient style. But she wants to do the same thing as him, that is, watch people through surveillance cameras. Wanting to be a stalker in 2025 is so edgy, but he denies it, knowing that she has to learn a gazillion things beforehand. Suddenly there's a knock on the door, and Shu Qing panics and guides the ancient girl to hide in his room. After she hides herself, he opens the door and it's his dad, aka the landlord. He steps in and questions quickly if Qing has landed a job. He assures him that he's going to pay off the rent soon, and he doesn't have to worry about him having a job. Of course, since he wants to be treated as a princess, why would he need a job anyways? His dad scolds him that he's not had a stable job ever, and he's always playing with weird things. God forbid if a man has a hobby or OnlyFans. Shu Qing gets annoyed and tells him that he's sending his money to him right now, or if the landlord just came to see if he's going to work on the National Day holiday. These millennials and boomers hate seeing gens knowing their rights. So, his dad gets gets mad at him and threatens him to find a job or he will increase his rent. But of course, he's a man with brains. He tells him to lower the rent since the place is haunted and has a terrible environment. Annoyed, his dad begins to leave, when out of a sudden, the OnlyFans allegations are proving themselves to be true. His dad sees women's gowns hung in the bathroom, and before he could explain, Shu Qing's dad is very sure his son is soon about to become his daughter, getting backshots by some closeted black American. As his dad waits for an explanation, Shu Qing knows that he'd better tell him the truth rather than being known as the gay disappointment who bends over and dresses up as a woman. Other than that, the neighbors would end up telling his dad that there's a girl living with him anyways. So, he makes up a story that it's his friend's sister who has come to stay with him for a couple of days. He knocks on the door and urges Jiang to step outside. She does so, and he introduces her to his dad, hoping she doesn't do anything weird. Jiang wonders what to call him, almost calling him dad, and the dad notices that. But she calls him uncle and bows down in respect. Shu Qing's dad grabs his hand and takes him outside to have the talk, though the dad assures Jiang that they'll be back. Outside, the dad asks for an explanation, to which Shu Qing says that it's just a friend's sister who is there to spend a few days at his place. He further asks his dad to not come over and hand over the spare key so he can give it to her. Although he just wanted the spare key because he doesn't want his mom or dad to find her alone, that would be way more unexpected and complicated. But his dad wonders if that's his girlfriend and he denies straight away, but his dad ain't that dumb. After all, he was 17 once too. That's how he got Shu Qing's mom to spread legs for him. The dad asks how old the girl is, and Shu Qing admits she's 18. That's what 14-year-olds these days lie about too, so they can end up being baby mamas to men who don't even want them. The dad sounds unconvinced, but that annoys Shu Qing, to which he says that even if they are in love, what's there to be surprised about? Well, probably he's unable to believe that someone could love his dusty son too. Well, the dad came down to check if he can pay rent and have a job, only to find a chick in his apartment. His dad once again points out he doesn't have a job, to which he bursts that being a content creator pays off well too. Well, his dad ain't even wrong. It's high time he finds a real job being a McDonald's cashier. Being annoyed, he asks his dad what the rent and utility bill is, and then transfers it to his dad right away. He urges his dad to give the spare key because now he's properly renting out the apartment. Shu Qing's dad tells him to pay on time every month, or else he will have to pay more than others, and if he has a problem with it, he can find some other apartment. But the boy is smart. He knows whatever his dad owns will be his someday, so he continues to stay here. The economy got him excited about his dad's demise. It's really that bad. Anyhow, before he leaves, he tells him that he has to be back for dinner and looks at Jiang. Annoyed, he yells that she isn't his girlfriend, but the dad's really not a fool. Of course, being his dad, he guides him that starting a relationship that early could lead to problems, and he should also find a job. He begins to leave, but he turns back to Shu Qing and tells him to take all the safety measures, and Qing gets embarrassed. Suddenly, Qing stops his dad to have a look at Jiang's sandals. He asks him the value of it, since it's from the Tang dynasty. Hero knows that his dad has been studying archaeology for almost half his life, and he is an expert in this field. He also elaborates that these sandals are from the time of Li Longji. His dad thinks he's crazy, and suggests a mental health institution to attend, which all the kids in this generation need. Though, his dad is about to test out his skills to have another kid, it's never too late and leaves pretty quick. The wife better be in an apron. As Shu Qing's dad leaves, he thinks to himself that he made a son who is nothing more than a retard who is stuck to his computer all day long. He sighs, with no hope of becoming Elon Musk overnight. He knows that these shoes are said to be from Kaiyuan period while also being from a week ago. Both statements are correct. Since there's a thin line between the past and present, once it's punctured, anyone could fall through it. Anyways, the boy urges his dad to take a closer look and doesn't let him leave. His dad gets angry at the disappointment he created named Shu Qing and yells at him to get realistic with his life. He compares his son with his cousin, who became a police officer. How? Shu Qing tells him that he's a freelancer while he hides Jiang's shoes behind him before she thinks he's a creep. His dad doesn't get what a freelancer is, so he scolds him again, giving him daddy issues. Seems like he's about to give him a premium package of daddy issues, as he takes Jiang's sword to hit him. The sword hitting the hero doesn't scare him much, but knowing Jiang would go crazy is what concerns him more. He begins to take it away from his dad, but Gramps definitely got a good grip. But our boy, being clever, tells him that this is definitely not an antique but a toy, and his dad falls for it and gives him back the sword. He begins to leave, while again telling him to get a job or take a civil service exam. As his dad finally leaves, Shu Qing looks at the sword and sees not a single mark of oxidation, which makes it look pretty recent. He notices Jiang peeking at the sword, and he tells her to take it away and not take it out often. Then, he wonders why she wants to call his dad dad. He clarifies that if she ends up seeing his mom, she's supposed to call her auntie and she listens. Then, Qing asks Jiang if she wants to keep martial arts in practice. So badly, he wants to become a master in a quicker way, someone whose stamina is so low that they bust just seeing a woman. Having no way to become a master overnight, but he does know that it's useless in this era. So, he brushes off the thought and takes Jiang to play the game with him. Qing thinks that he has to treat her like a child and teach her everything step by step. Kids mostly learn through toys and games, and online games are considered games too, having the same nature. Then he guides Jiang how to play the game. She wonders how they make money off it, and he explains that once she learns how to play it, she can play it for others, and they'll pay her. Qing explains to her in detail, so she might not think that he's deceiving her. So, he explains to her that this is sort of an entertainment for jobless people who have nothing else to do, like a hobby, but there are still many people who don't have the time to play, since not everyone has as much free time as he does, so that people like him who have more free time can play for them. Jiang still doesn't get it, asking if they don't have enough time to play, so would they hire others? That sounds absurd to her, but he elaborates that they already spent money to purchase the game, so they won't spend their time playing, with an example. He knows that she's safer being an internet addict rather than coke addict. I mean, running out of the house. Shu Qing doesn't want to think about the future right now, just the present for her survival. Suddenly his fat-ass American-coated cat begins to rub itself on his feet and he tells it to shoo off. So, the cat goes and jumps on the computer table and then sits on Jiang's lap, making her blush. In the police station, one of the police officers wants to order a meal together, and they ask how as well, but the soft boy politely declines. He sighs and says, they have nothing to do today, which is boring him. Suffering suffering from success. As soon as Hao says that, all of the police officers look at him, confusing him. One of them asks if his master didn't teach him not to say that. Suddenly the phone begins to ring and it's a work call, and now they gotta work all night long. Later on, Hao is taught to never say by the old police officer in the car, "We have nothing to do today." As soon as anyone says that, they get tons of work for the whole night. It's something metaphysical and they don't have any explanation. Hao thinks if this is the same thing Zhu Qing mentioned, speak of the devil. Then, they both reach their destination, and they headed towards the 6th floor of building number 14. It was late at night in the residential compound, and suddenly they spotted an old alcoholic man. They ask him what he's doing there. Definitely not rehab. The old man yells what took them so long to reach, because he wants to go inside to his wife. He's smelling so strongly of alcohol, like the way a ran-through smells like a can of sardines, which makes Hao nauseous. The police officer knocks at the door, and the wife opens up. She wonders what the police are doing here, since she didn't call the police on her husband. It was the husband himself, who wanted to go inside since she locked him out. She apologizes to the police for inconvenience and promises to teach him a lesson. Lucky old man is about to get some spanking tonight. But, it seems like the old man doesn't like the idea of getting a lesson, so he screams at her that she'll be the one getting the lesson. Would love to see what happens between them. As soon as the police see the man angry, they threaten to arrest him, so they can sober him up by locking him up. The old man gets sobered up by the thought of it, and hence another case gets solved. Then, as they are leaving, they get another case. The curse that Hao is putting the rest of his coworkers would have had us bawling. In the middle of the night, Qing wakes up and goes to fetch a glass of water. Suddenly he sees Zhang trying to sneak out to scare off people again. But his vision is sort of blurry. As soon as he realizes it's someone else, he screams, and Jiang was behind Qing this whole time. It was a thief who sneaked in, and he began to run away from the scene. Well, we got a little Bruce Lee from the Tang dynasty here. Zhang slams the thief's head on the floor and begins to press it as hard as she could. Xu Qing quickly realizes that if she doesn't let go of his head, his skull will crack open like a coconut. He urges her to stop and she does. Then, Qing takes off the veil, and the thief has a North Korean haircut. He sits nervously and embarrassed that he got Undertakered by a girl. Meanwhile, Xu Qing slaps his head, wondering what just happened. The protagonist realizes how powerful her grip must be, because the thief almost got choked to death. Personally, I think that's an honorable way to die, getting choked to death by a hot chick. There's literally a mark on his hand. Anyways, Qing goes to make a call to Hao since he's also a policeman. The thief begs him not to call him and spare him, and he's already gotten beaten up, so he promises to learn from his mistake. Coldly, Qing says that he deserves to be beaten up because people's hard-earned money isn't his, and he should instead find a job. Yeah, projecting his daddy issues on the thief. But the thief admits it was his first time stealing. He explains that he knew the building was haunted, so he tried to take advantage of it, but he got beaten up to death instead. Not just that, he's hella scared of Jiang. Her aura is something to be scared of. Qing asks for an apology, and the thief apologizes right away. However, Xu Qing thinks that the apology is not sincere enough, so he turns back to call the police again, and the thief begins to cry to let him go. Qing notices how scared the thief is and realizes this actually is his first time. Well, there's certainly a first time for everything. Qing, being kind, lets him go from the same way he came inside. The thief runs as quickly as an American man runs out to get the milk. As the thief runs out, Xu Qing is hoping that the neighbors didn't hear the screams of the thief, or else the gay allegations would have come true. But Zhang wonders why'd he let the thief go like that, to which he explains that they can call the police because they will hold her accountable for hitting him. Further, he says that if the police follow the process and find her suspicious, they will have to investigate her, and if they find out that she is an unregistered person, she'll be in trouble. That leaves Zhang confused, wondering why she'd be in trouble when she's not the thief. Qing explains that's because she also hit him. Suddenly, he sees and wonders why she's wearing an outfit which she's supposed to wear outside, and she answers that she heard some noise, so she got out to see what he was trying to do. Qing mocks her by saying that not everyone likes to go out in the middle of the night like her. Then, he goes off to sleep, knowing he'll get someone to fix the window tomorrow. The next morning when he wakes up, he sees Zhang all sweaty, as she practiced all night long. God knows what kind of practice. She opens her hair and he's mesmerized and begs her to keep the door open so he can see her practice. He should have reported himself to the police for the creepiness. She agrees to it, while some women charge $5.99 monthly for it. He's surprised to see her agree with him so quickly, but she tells him that whether she agrees or not, he'll still be unhappy. That pisses him off, but he chooses not to have an argument. Then, Xu Qing suggests they go out for breakfast while someone fixes the window. The night before, he thought about how it's not enough to stay at home and live without seeing anything, so he steps out to have some personal experiences too. As they walk outside, Qing guides Zhang how to learn from the life all around them. She wonders how that could be, and he explains that she must abandon all her past thoughts and beliefs and start a brand new life and make new experiences. While mansplaining, Qing tells her to not be too harsh to people, like the way she was to the thief the night before, because the way she was holding him down, it looked like she wanted to snap his neck. But she denies, because she reduced the amount of force. Further, he elaborates that hurting someone in this era could bring upon trouble on them, so he guides her to not kill anyone. That leaves her confused. To what extent can she beat up someone? Well, I'd say if it's a man, better not hold back, but Qing guides that it depends on different factors. Zhang follows up with a second question. If he sneaks into her room at night, how hard should she beat him up? Hopefully he's not into that. He yells that she can't just beat him up because he's not some creep, but Zhang tells him he is the spitting image of a creep. Posing, he stands and defends himself, calling himself a hero of high moral standards. She's still unsure, to which he wonders why'd she even think he'll sneak into her room. He has picked up her shoes from the trash bin, but that's literally it. But he remembers that she's called him a douchebag before. Further, he defends himself that even if he sneaks into her room, she quite literally will end him and his bloodline. Still, he's curious what she would do if he does that. A man of culture. She asks if she could punch him, but surely that's enough to send him back to his mama's womb. In a bit, they reach their destination and they sit inside while Shu Qing orders breakfast for them. He tells her to remember this day and experience life from now. She looks at her hands, while thinking that this is a world where no one needs to kill anyone. A while later, their breakfast is served. Jiang likes the food, while Shu Qing smiles as he looks at her that no one here knows that she's an ancient girl, which makes him think if all ancient people eat like there's no tomorrow. So he assures her that she could definitely have some more food if she doesn't find it enough. But she wonders if it's expensive, but he explains that breakfast is the cheapest, and she doesn't need to worry about food in this world, because food is cheap here. As he chomps down on food, he thinks about how it feels like he's raising a baby. Then Jiang gets up to order 15 more buns, almost making Shu Qing spit out his food. Seeing that, he tells the waiter that the order is to go. He asks her if she can even eat that many, and she wonders if she ordered too many, but he just guides her to not eat that much in public, and tells her to pack it up and eat the rest at home to save themselves from suspicions. While Jiang eats, she assures him that she'll pay him back when she earns, though she could definitely use another way to pay him back. Then he gets the check and they leave. They pass by a hot pot buffet, and the lover boy promises her to bring her to eat some buffet next time. Jiang wonders what that is, and he elaborates that in buffet, they can pay a little money and eat whatever they want until they are full, and there are plenty of other dishes. That makes Jiang think that it's like charity, but Shu Qing clarifies that it's nothing more than a marketing tactic. Then, he says to her, that mostly people in this era work through the brain, and since they don't do anything physically much, they don't feel hungry either. So, her eating like an American fatty would get eyes on her and everyone would end up knowing who she is. Basically, the buffet thing makes the owners profit more, because people don't eat much anyways. He highlights that girls and children are prime victims of this marketing tactic, as they would pay 100 yuan and only eat food worth 30 yuan. In other ways, people with bigger appetites can eat more because restaurants can earn it back from people with smaller appetites, as explained by Jiang. Hearing her grasp the concept, Shu Qing shares a story where he thought as a kid that the buffet owner was very generous to let anyone eat how much they wanted. Jiang wonders why do people with smaller appetites even bother going. He answers that it's more convenient and affordable for people. Later, he thinks about how she's been learning about the world bit by bit, and how she could connect all the dots and one day suddenly learn about everything. It seems like Jiang no longer feels like an outcast in this era. A few days later, the lover boy gives his lover girl a phone, and she wonders if Shu Qing is her sugar daddy now, considering how expensive a phone could be. But anyways, gamer guys are usually broke, and he got it from a giveaway too. Well, he went to get a sub card and top up, and they gave him an Android phone which is worth over 1,000 yuan, and he decided to get it for his heroine. She's so happy and thanks the hero. Then, he urges her to follow the instructions and give him a call. He feels at ease that she is a smart girl, and she could learn it really soon. A realization hits him that he feels like an NPC, but it's more convenient for him that she learns quicker. Then, he gets up and tells her to have dinner by herself since he won't be home, and if she feels bored, she could learn how to use the phone or watch other videos. Shu Qing thinks that since she has learned that she can earn money through playing games, she has turned into a game addict, and it is worrying at this point. Before he leaves, Jiang asks if it is really a job to manipulate the characters running around, and he replies that if she continues to play afterwards, she is working overtime, but since she is already in an internship, there won't be extra pay for overtime. Then he reminds her that she should eat, and if she needs anything, she needs to call him. He leaves to go see his parents. He hasn't visited them since Jiang came. King steps inside and sees his dad. His dad tells him his mom is out playing mahjong. Then he asks where his girlfriend is, talking about Jiang. Shu King gets annoyed and explains that she's just a friend who will stay with him for a while. The dad utters that he wouldn't let a man stay, but Qing defends himself that Hao has lived with him, but he's considered an exception by his dad. As the dad thinks that Hao could really be his girlfriend if he wasn't a man, Qing knows there's no winning from his dad and calls his mom instead, who is a mahjong addict. They wait for her to come back home, and Shu Qing informs his dad that his apartment was broken into by a thief, though he fixed the window, but can he reimburse him for the cost? His dad mocks him that there isn't anything worth stealing at his place, and the only thing that is worth stealing is the computer which he sleeps with, so nobody can really steal it from him. He's committed to his computer, can't really judge the gender of the computer, will end up getting me cancelled. His dad asks if he was hurt, but Shu Qing explains that the thief was beaten up and chased away, of course not by this weeb. Then, his mother returns from mahjong and begins to cook right away. She seems happy, which makes them think that she probably won more than usual today. As she cooks, she wonders where her son's girlfriend is, and again he protests that he doesn't have a girlfriend, and his dad is blabbering false news. His father wonders that they live and eat together. That sounds pretty much like a relationship. His mom didn't know that, and she is surprised at that news, and she urges to show her the picture of Jiang, though she was trying to go and look at her by herself, but her husband stopped her because it's not considered respectable to go without telling these days. He doesn't show her picture, and says that she is just his friend, and nothing special, while he thinks that his mom has always been persistent, so she won't let them go until she sees it. So, he ends up showing a picture of her, and she thinks how pretty Jiang is. Of course, being a boomer, she starts swiping through the album and wonders why he has so many pictures of his just friend. He snatches back his phone while thinking that this is his record of observing antiques and wonders why has his mother started discussing her so much as if she is her daughter-in-law. The thing about Shu Qing is, no matter what Jiang is doing, he always quickly takes random pictures of her. Even though they aren't officially dating yet, he definitely feels something for her, and she quite literally stays with him. Anyway, back at dinner, his mom asked him which school she goes to, but he replies that she doesn't attend school. His mom wonders why a pretty girl like Jiang wouldn't go to school. He doesn't understand what being pretty has to do with going to school, because to him, it's normal for someone from a poor family not to attend. His father mocks him, questioning why a girl who's good at her studies would even consider dating a loser like him, because all he does is sit at his computer all day. The only difference between him and a Discord mod would be the weight. Both parents feel bad for Jiang, and their son insists that he's stable and not a freeloader. His mother then wonders how they even met, and if Jiang isn't a local of Jiangcheng. He dodges the question again and redirects the conversation to his joblessness. Meanwhile, he reflects on how Jiang hasn't even figured out how to survive in this world yet, and his parents are already trying to ship them together. Later on, after the dinner, he gets up to leave and tells them to rest. He also points out to his mom that she shouldn't play mahjong every day because his dad is practically starving like the African kids. His dad gets slightly annoyed at his mom, saying she's even more stubborn than his son's joblessness. Suddenly, she remembers something. She hears that Shu Qing's neighborhood is haunted and recalls the sound of a woman's cry in the middle of the night. She wonders if everything is okay. Xu Qing demands that his dad cut the rent in half, or he'll stop renting the apartment because it's haunted. His mom agrees and says the rent should be reduced now that he has a girlfriend and more things to spend money on. His dad reminds her that Jiang isn't actually his girlfriend, but the deal sounds so solid that he ends up agreeing Jiang is his girlfriend anyway. Later that night, when he returns home, he sees Jiang holding her sword. He wonders if she was practicing, but she runs off to take a shower, and he's confused about why she would take her sword with her. He asks if something happened while he was gone, but she denies it. He's left wondering who exactly she feels the need to defend herself from, but then again, as long as it's not him, he figures it's fine. He sits on the sofa and his imagination runs wild thinking about her. Of course, she probably does need protection from him, but he brushes off the thought. Then he notices his computer had been on standby the whole time, and decides he'll start working tomorrow. Meanwhile, she comes out of the shower, shining like Aphrodite. Looking at her, Xu Qing wonders if practicing martial arts makes her prettier. Back in the day, she would have been exposed to extreme temperatures, but her skin is still smooth. She reminds him that she once asked him to learn martial arts and he refused. He yells back that he can't learn just by standing in a stance. An idea pops into his head. She could start a beauty class through martial arts practice. But that would probably flop since people these days don't even exercise to lose weight, let alone take up martial arts. Jiang sits down and, while trying to use the hairdryer, asks if the Taoist caught the ghost. In truth, there never was a ghost. It was just her sneaking out by mistake, and people assumed it was supernatural. She gets mad because she's a human, not a ghost. The lover boy realizes she isn't used to using a hairdryer, so he takes it from her and helps dry her hair. She hands it over, and he continues the conversation, affirming that yes, she is human. But the problem is that no one in this era has ever seen a real martial artist. Someone flying across rooftops at night would easily be mistaken for a ghost. She wonders aloud why people don't practice martial arts anymore. He explains that living conditions have improved. People no longer worry about food or clothing and want to live more comfortably. Martial arts just aren't necessary anymore. People today have better options for enjoyment. He starts telling her a historical story, but she interrupts, saying she doesn't know those people. He explains the story was written by Mr. Jin Yang. He concludes that martial arts is basically dead now and people can only rely on technology to live comfortably. He tells her to put her sword down. There's no one to defend against anymore, but she screams that there is a ghost and she has to protect herself. He tries to dismiss it, but she shivers and finally admits, when he was away, she actually saw a ghost herself. With terror in her eyes, as if she's seen Elon Musk without a shirt on, she informs him that when he went out, she saw a ghost. He starts to sweat as he hears her words. He thinks to himself that she probably just saw an old lady taking out the trash while wearing a mask, but then she begins to describe what the ghost looks like. She says its hair is longer than hers, and she elaborates on how it looked at her. It is pale white and wears an odd blue robe with long sleeves, which unnerves him. He begins to wonder what kind of thing she actually saw. He can't help but consider if there really is a ghost, but he brushes off the thoughts by telling himself that ghosts don't exist. Science can't prove their existence. According to him, she might be having hallucinations due to stress. Jiang frowns and says that in her era, ghosts are something to be feared, but the hero assures her that they don't exist, all while blow-drying her hair. She emphasizes that she saw it and admits that she's scared, that even her sword can't protect her. Though he starts to wonder, if time travel is possible, then the probability of spirits existing might be real too. He tells her that he'll borrow Mr. Zhao's mahogany sword tomorrow. She thanks him, and he tells her to go to bed while he wraps up the hairdryer. He decides to take a shower as well, but his shower time is shorter than usual, which makes him realize there's a big difference between living alone and living with another person. He can't help but feel creeped out too, and he can't fall asleep with that feeling lingering, so he sits down to work. Suddenly he looks at his laptop and is shocked. On the other hand, Jiang looks at the clothes the young hero bought for her. She compares them to the clothes worn by other people and finds the ones he got her to be more acceptable, which makes her feel warm. Then she takes out the clothes she was wearing when she came to this era. They have narrow shoulders, short sleeves, and rougher fabric. If she were back in her old world, Ernyang would probably make some changes to them. That takes her back to old memories, where the chief teaches her martial arts to make her stronger, but Ernyang urges her to act a little more girly so someone can marry her in the future. She thinks about that, begins to cry, and resolves to practice martial arts enough to fight the ghost she saw. Suddenly, there's a knock on the door. When she opens it, it's Xu Qing with his laptop open, asking if that is the ghost she saw. She pulls out her sword, yelling that that's what scared her. It turns out it's just a horror movie playing halfway through, and that was the ghost she saw. He tells her to go back to sleep, and that they'll talk about it tomorrow, but she's still really scared. So he shuts the laptop and shows her the baby girl sealed inside the laptop, assuring her that she can go to sleep peacefully. The next morning, when Jiang wakes up, she realizes that the ghost really doesn't appear anymore. Then she gets up to practice her martial arts and leaves the door open so he can watch her. Even though he hasn't woken up, she still continues to practice. She knows that in this era, she can only protect herself by practicing martial arts. Crawling out of his pit hole, Xu Qing, wakes up and goes to see Jiang. She is feeding the cat while he thinks that everything is going well, and that if there's a street check, she will be able to hide her ancient personality as long as she doesn't go crazy. Not just that, she is a woman with women's privileges. If someone who time-traveled were a chief with a bearded face or tall or muscular, the neighbors would probably report him to the police right away. While he brushes his teeth, he wonders what the chief looks like, and she explains that the chief is a little taller than him and has a beard, which makes her wonder why Xu Qing doesn't have a beard, to which he replies that he's one of the literati and not a roughneck. She holds her face in shock, saying that even the literati in her world also have beards. His male ego is hurt, and he says that they use razors now, which is why he doesn't keep a beard. Then he angrily tells her that they have to go out for breakfast. She keeps her voice down while she tells him that the cell phone he gave her yesterday hasn't been working since morning. He realizes that the phone is probably not charged, and after that, they go out. As they're outside, he tells her that she doesn't need to work today because it's the weekend, and she should focus on learning how to use a phone. He explains to her the concept of Wei Chun, which she can use to make and spend money. He opens the bank app and shows her that her balance is 0, and he transfers 100 to her so she can spend it however she wants to, and she can pay him back later. It makes him think that he has never lent anyone money, and the ones who usually need to borrow money have never borrowed from him, so this is the first time in his life that he is ever lending money to someone. On the other hand, how Hao reaches back home and asks his dad if there's anything to eat since he's as hungry as an African child. Later on, while he's eating, his dad wonders how many thieves he caught last night, to which he responds that they live in a peaceful time and there aren't many thieves around. Even beggars earn more than thieves now. Side hustle. His dad gets annoyed that Ching isn't even in the police, yet he caught a thief, and Hao exclaims, "When did that even happen?" His dad responds that Uncle Shu said Shu Qing's apartment was broken into, and he beat the crap out of the thief, and then let him go. Hao is mad and wonders why he let the thief go. What pisses him off is that he becomes a police officer just to do something good for society, but instead, Shu Qing, just by staying at home, catches a thief. His dad taunts him that the thief is already on the loose, so he doesn't have to waste time asking about him. He tells him that apparently the lover boy also has a girlfriend who is living with him. Hao doesn't find that surprising because Shu Qing is conventionally attractive, and his dad gives him a death stare because his own son doesn't have a girlfriend. But Hao makes an excuse that he's not in a hurry, and doesn't even have time for that. He would rather get married directly, so he won't have to break up like Qing and his ex-girlfriend did. That's one more point for his dad to taunt him, that his cousin already had 2 girlfriends, but he doesn't even have one yet. Hao tries to defend himself, saying that he's just trying to catch thieves right now, but still he's unsuccessful in both things, finding a girlfriend and finding a thief. At least what he says is that he wants to find a girlfriend when he becomes a detective, but his dad knows he really can't find a girlfriend. Hao takes that as an insult, as if his dad is looking down on him, and he assures him that one day he'll bring the most beautiful girlfriend to him. When his dad hears him boasting in front of him, he picks up his sandal and gets ready to give him the Asian treatment, telling him that he has to get a girlfriend no matter what. With the rice cake in his mouth, Hao says that he can't start a family without first making a career, but his dad is not willing to understand and runs after him with his sandal. Hao wonders after getting spanked by his daddy, what did he even say wrong? Surely his dad wants more from him rather than rotting away his life alone living with an anime pillow as his wife. As Hai gobbles down his food, he gets a call to hang out later on, but he denies as he has to be at his job. He feels sleepy after the night shift and goes to sleep, while he asks his dad to wake him up at 4 p.m. Coming back to Qing, he gets a call for a party too, and he knows Hao must be busy later at night, definitely not banging chicks. Qing and Jiang enter the apartment while he's still on the call, confirming the dinner and wondering if he could bring Jiang with him too. After the call ends, he informs her that he'll be taking her to a party tonight. He asks her not to mess around and just listen to what he says. She agrees and then questions him if he meant that all the ghosts in martial arts are fake, because that's strange for her. Patiently, he explains to her that it's not strange since all the basic survival needs are met. Humans develop a spiritual need. It could be anything, from pets to games or movies. He wonders if she doesn't have novels in her world, but she isn't aware. Qing gives her an example of tea houses having storytellers, who tell interesting stories. What he's trying to explain is, where there's demand, there'll be supply. People solve each other's problems in return for some money, and hence a workflow is created. Giving another example, he explains that when everyone is seeking solutions from others, they are also helping others solve their problems, and that's how they earn. Realization hits Jiang, and now she understands how Qing can live like a landlord without having to go outside to work. She gets the concept of it, the concept of watching movies in leisure time, and he approves of her smartness. He tossed her a can of soft drink as a reward, but she wonders why he took her in. Was it for his spiritual need? He thinks and smiles at her, and says he did what he wanted to. As he continues to play with the truck of a cat, she thinks that the young hero is really just a person with a big heart. She opens the can, and the entire soft drink fizzes up and spills on her. He hands her over a tissue to clean up herself. The world would become a boring place if everything was to be done with a purpose. Later at night, as they're making their way to the party, he guides her that she can eat and drink whatever she wants except for the alcohol, and there might be a lot of people coming to the party later on. They reach the place. He tells her that it's a place for her to experience newer things. As they step inside, he makes sure to let her know she can stuff her mouth with as much food as she wants. Jiang finds the music too loud, and by her looks, she looks uncomfortable, as if her uncle touched her. As Qing enters, they all seem happy for Qing to join. His friend informs that they all were waiting for him to arrive, and he should start singing now too. But Qing takes Jiang and decides to sit for a while. Jiang observes the place with uneasiness apparent on her face. Jiang is visibly uncomfortable. Her body language is awkward. Qing urges her to have some snacks before everyone arrives and they can eat properly. Handing her over some hazelnuts, he guides her how to crush them, but she can barely hear him because of the music. He realizes he has to speak louder, so he gets nearer and teaches her how to crack open a hazelnut. Then, he wonders if she has had these before, but she hasn't. When she eats it, she finds them incredibly delicious, to which he apprises her to eat more. He isn't worried about how she cracks up the shell, because in a place crowded like that, no one would probably notice, and even if they do, they would probably only think how strong she is. Then he laughs and cheers while passing on a drink to his friend Zijun. He begins to party with them and drinks beer. Seeing him drink beer, Jiang wants to try it too, and he denies that a girl should know how to protect herself, and she's out, but she urges that she has had alcohol before, and she won't get drunk. He definitely has double standards because she just wants to have a taste, but he's not letting her. So, after she insists a lot, he lets her have one of which brightens up her face. As she drinks it, he wonders if she likes the taste of it, and she ends up disapproving of the taste. On the other hand, his friend Zijun thinks that they are doing something fishy and stops them, but Qing tells him to mind his own business. Zijun hops over to him and questions whether Jiang is his girlfriend, to which he denies that they're just friends. Qing turns to Jiang and introduces his friend to her as a real nouveau riche. However, this friend of the young hero doesn't have good intentions with her, but Qing stops him. Zijun wonders if he's not good enough, to which Qing doesn't even deny that. But what Zijun brings to the table is his money. Anyhow, he walks away, while Qing wonders when they're going to eat because he's really hungry. Zijun tells him to hold his horses, because some people have yet to arrive. As he goes over to party again, he talks about Hao being on duty, and how it's so life-sucking. Qing gets angry, knowing that Hao is doing a great job. On the other hand, the party is going on, which is making Jiang uncomfortable, and she wonders why are there so many people around here. He knows that there is a need to help her integrate into modern society, and this is a way for her to experience new things. Qing urges her to take this as a form of celebration, because it's his friend's girlfriend's birthday. After that, he asks her to break some hazelnuts for him, and she does does so, and he thanks the heroine. He wonders if she can sing, but she has never tried singing before, though he's a little controlling and says he wouldn't even let her sing and he'll show his singing skills sometime later. Suddenly, he sees a guy with a white outfit come too, and he catches his attention, leaving him wondering what he's doing here. The guy and Ching look at each other, and the guy coldly passes by him. Ching gets busy on his phone again when, suddenly, he hears the constant sound of nuts cracking, only to find out that Jiang has eaten all the nuts out of hunger. He wonders if she's hungry, and she admits to it, so he assures her that in a little while there will be a supersized cake. Her mouth waters just thinking about it. She comes to think of it, she hasn't had any bad experiences with food over here. The worst food she had was the half-eaten bun and the hamburger when she first arrived. They were a little hard and tasteless, but even those were better than the pancakes and the gruel. Zijun gets Ching's attention and urges him to sing, since Hao isn't here, and he agrees to sing just one song. He takes the mic from Zijun, and Jiang, out of curiosity, leans over to see what that is. Suddenly, hearing her own voice being extremely loud, she gets scared. Ching tells her to relax and explains that it's a microphone. Well, now at least she'll be prepared for the speakers she'll be hearing the broadcast from. He looks over at her face. She looks extremely adorable, and he wants to pinch her cheek but brushes off the thought, knowing that someday he will try it. Then he begins to sing with his friend. Zijun looks around and sees that everyone is here, so they're about to get things started, and then the cake arrives. He holds the microphone and says that it's his girlfriend's birthday, only to suddenly realize that his girlfriend is missing. Someone informs him that she went out earlier. Ching smirks, joking that his girlfriend isn't even around, and he was about to cut the cake because he thought the girlfriend was the girl who was singing with him earlier. Zijun looks around and finds her nowhere, so they just decide to keep on partying. Ching wonders if that's his new girlfriend, but Zijun says they've been together for over a month and she is his true love. Jiang listens to them and questions the hero, asking if girlfriend means wife. He explains that girlfriend is just a term of endearment, while Zijun looks at her, wondering how she doesn't know what a girlfriend is. Ching mocks Zijun, giving an example that his girlfriend would one day be someone else's future wife, and to some extent, his friend agrees. Zhang then wonders who Ching's wife is, giving him a deadly look. He explains that he's an otaku, and for him, a girlfriend can be everything, which makes his friend laugh. Although Zijun wonders if the two of them are really just friends, Ching quickly changes the topic, saying they haven't talked like this in such a long time, and that they should have a few more drinks, mainly because he has to hide the fact that he was just explaining the concept of a girlfriend to an ancient person. Suddenly, Zijun looks at his watch and realizes how late it is, so he goes off to find his girlfriend. Ching and Jiang sit down, and suddenly Ching hears a voice he was expecting, asking him if Jiang is his girlfriend. He tells him to mind his own business. It's the same guy, who's curious to know how Ching finds so many beautiful girlfriends all the time, hoping to learn something from him. But Ching shuts him down, saying he's too ugly for that. It seems like Ching and his rival are standing face to face while he actively harasses him to have a drink with him. Ching stops Liang from being weird because he doesn't want to talk to him. Suddenly, Zijun enters the room again and is scared to see that the two of them are standing face to face. He begins to panic because they had been roommates for a few years, and now they are enemies. This is the reason why Zijun called Liang over, but it seems like the situation is completely messed up. So Zijun stands between them and tells them to talk nicely and not to fight. Turning to Liang, Zijun wonders why he had to provoke Ching, to which he says that he was just trying to have a drink because it's been a long time and they haven't caught up at all. Ching looks at Zijun and questions if he invited him over, to which Zijun panics and says he thought they could talk about it. Smirking, Ching says that he never considered this to be that big of a deal, to which Liang agrees, adding that he never thought of it as a big deal because the past is the past. Liang admits that he was just asking for advice and trying to have a toast with him, to which Ching says that he just despises him for his weird tone. Liang had been waiting for the right moment, and then gets reminded that he wasn't beaten up hard enough the last time, and everyone starts to gossip that they are about to fight. Zijun has no idea that it even happened, and wonders why they both have to act like children. So, he tries to make Liang calm down so they can celebrate his girlfriend's birthday. But it seems like Liang really wants to have a toast with Ching, yet he denies him again. Liang now wants to have a toast with his girlfriend, talking about Jiang. Angrily, Ching says she doesn't drink, and advises Jiang not to talk to Liang since he's a bad guy. Finally, Zijun takes Liang away to put an end to the fight. He returns and sits with Ching, questioning when they even fought. Ching admits that if he had known Liang would be here today, he would not have come. Zijun clarifies that if he had known these two were on bad terms, he wouldn't have invited him over in the first place. Jiang wonders why Liang called her Ching's girlfriend, to which he explains that Liang is ugly, and that's why he thinks they are dating. Both of them, Jiang and Ching, are pretty, so brainless people automatically assume they're dating. Hearing the term brainless, Zijun yells because, at first, they also thought Jiang and Ching were dating. She wonders why anyone would think a handsome guy and a pretty girl are dating. She isn't even wrong. These baddies end up with guys who look like only their mothers would find them attractive. Then, Ching advises her not to talk to anyone, including Zijun, to which Zijun screams that he already has a girlfriend. Finally, Zijun's girlfriend returns, and he happily goes to the waiter because it's time to cut the cake. As the cake is revealed, Jiang is mesmerized by the size of it and wonders if it is all edible. Ching admits that it is edible, yet he finds the situation a bit weird and off. Ching takes Jiang and hides her under the table, beside the sofa, guiding her to keep hiding until he gets back, promising her a huge slice of cake. She waits for him as he leaves and wonders what the cake will taste like. She's curious whether eating cake while hiding is some sort of rule. She waits excitedly. Meanwhile, at the party, everyone is smashing cake on each other and enjoying it, and she feels a little terrified. Surely I'd be terrified too. It looks like a Diddy party. Suddenly, he returns with the cake. He sits down beside her and tells her he knew Zijun only got that humongous cake for smashing, so he took a slice before they started just for her to try. A man giving princess treatment in this era was rather unexpected. Still, her eyes look really sad. She takes a bite of the cake, and when he asks if she likes it, all she can think about is how much Ernyang would love the taste, but she could barely eat something sweet for long. Feeling sad, she wonders why they have to toss around something so delicious. Ching hears her and promises he will get her a better cake, and they'll eat it together without wasting any. She thinks about it deeply. quickly. Is this the era people dream of, where they get their clothes dirty and waste food and be happy about it? When everyone is done playing, Ching gets up and assures her that no one will be playing anymore, so she can come out now. He goes to the bathroom, and afterward, he tells her they'll be leaving soon. She stays there, waiting for her hero to come back, when Liang approaches her, covered in cake, asking her to be friends with a nasty look on his face. She angrily replies that she doesn't want to engage in any conversation with him, but he's stubborn. Seeing her clean clothes, he realizes she didn't participate in the fun, so he tries to smear cream on her from the cake, and she exclaims, backing away. As she defends herself, about to knock him out, Ching returns and punches Liang in the gut for even daring to get close to Jiang. That makes Liang furious, and he punches Ching, who falls onto the table. Hearing the commotion, Zijun enters the room, panicking as he sees Ching and Liang fighting. Ching and Liang are beating each other up as if they'd get a reward for it. The crowd begins to pull them apart, but they are unsuccessful. Suddenly, a hand grabs Ching out of the feud, with Hercules kind of power. It was no one other than Jiang. Everyone who witnessed that just thinks how incredibly strong she is. On the other hand, Zijun regrets putting them together, and Ching laughs that Liang ruined a good party, and he should beat him up a little as well. Ziyun yells that he'd rather punch him. Then, Zijun calls off the party and begins sending everyone back home. After everyone is gone, Ching once again begins to trigger Liang to fight him, though Zijun seems concerned for Ching, as his face is totally swollen. He brushes it off, saying that he's okay and turns back to his rival to fight him again. He talks about having the guts to touch his girlfriend's face, so now they can solve it if he has any other issue, hinting that he is going to beat Liang up. Suddenly there is a knock at the door, and Zijun tries to send them away by saying that they're busy, but it turns out it was the police who got the report of a fight happening here. Along with another officer, it was Hao. Hao feels a little nervous knowing them too well. As the police officer steps inside, they see Liang on the floor, while Ching clearly shows the signs of being beaten up. Zijun tries to explain that there is a misunderstanding and there wasn't a fight. Liang and Ching only fell while singing. On the other hand, Zijun makes sure to tell Hao that he looks super smash in the uniform. Getting back to the police officer, he asks Ching about the situation, and he lies that they just fell while being drunk. The police officer asks him for his ID number, but Ching doesn't have his card. The police officer confirms once again if they didn't fight at all, and Ching tries to assure him that there wasn't a fight. They were just messing around. But Liang decides to back off from the plan, that he hit him, and they did fight indeed. Hao asks if they really fought or not, to which Ching admits that they did fight. Nervously, Zijun still tries to cover up the situation by saying that they're drunk, but the police officer shuts him up, saying that they all are going to the police station to settle it. Ching asks Zijun to help him send his sister back home, and he will go to the station. He was only talking about Jiang, which leaves Zijun confused whether she is his girlfriend or his sister. The police officer wants all of them to go there, as they all are the witnesses of the situation. That really sounds like bad news for Ching and Jiang. Ching urges that it's not necessary to take her because she has to complete her schoolwork, but the police officer shuts him up, asking why a high school student would even come to a place like that. Zijun thinks that Ching is usually smart, but suddenly he sounds like he's spitting nonsense. When he volunteers himself to go instead of her, the police officer angrily says that all of them will be going. They all look at Hao, and he slips off, saying that he can't do anything because he's just a rookie right now. He explains that his cousin just moved out of the village, she hasn't been to a place like that, and she'll be scared. Hao is sure that they're just going to be asked some questions, and that's it. Meanwhile, he wonders if the officer thinks this girl is Ching's girlfriend, as he heard from his father. On the way to the station, Hao asks Ching how he suddenly has a cousin, because that would make Hao her brother. Hao inquires about her name, but Ching says that she is in high school, doesn't have an ID card yet, and is just here to stay with him for a few days. Hao looks at her and introduces himself as her brother. Meanwhile, Zijun complains that Hao didn't come to the party when he invited him, but now he's here after everything is already done. As they reach the station, Ching feels a little nervous and wonders if this is what people call a guilty conscience. However, Jiang is preparing herself for the questions she's about to be asked. She cheers herself up, and seeing her motivation, Ching becomes a little less nervous because they would eventually have to face these problems, so now they're just becoming familiar with it. Ching and Liang sit together in a room with the police, and Ching begins telling the story of how the fight emerged. Liang knows he won't get any benefit out of it but makes sure not to let Ching get out of the situation easily. So he starts to play the victim, saying he was just trying to make a harmless joke when he suddenly got punched in the guts. The police officer asks what kind of joke it was and says he needs to know every detail, urging Ching to go first, but Liang snatches that chance away from him and begins ranting. On the other hand, Ching is worried about Jiang being interrogated in the other room because it's still too early for her to deal with situations in a modern way. After Liang is done telling his story, Ching emphasizes that he left out one important detail. Liang started insulting Ching first. He adds that it was his rival who provoked him in the first place, to which Liang defends himself by saying it was just a joke, but the police officer doesn't fall for it. So, he gets straight to the point. How are they going to solve this? Liang wants Ching to be detained and arrested for the incident, but the police officer says it was mutual combat. If one person falls for it, the other can't get away either. It's not like Liang got beaten up too badly. There's just a red mark, and that's it. All they can offer is going through a medical examination, and then considering detention and compensation accordingly. Ching smirks, knowing that either they can shake hands, both get detained, or go through a medical examination. Liang really thought he could have gotten Ching arrested after getting beaten up. The police officer tells them that Ching will be fined 500 and detained for 8 days, and Liang will be fined 200 and detained for 5 days, or they can simply choose to reconcile or go for a medical examination. Liang's plan really went down the drain. The officer notices the injuries and mentions they'll take time to heal. Since it's getting late, he offers to drop them home, but Ching hesitates, unsure if the officer should leave his post during duty hours. He points out that nothing usually happens this late. Still, the officer warns Ching to watch his words, hinting that there are strange forces moving quietly through the night, ones that shouldn't be taken lightly. Moreover, the officer still insists on giving them a ride, though Ching prefers to take a cab and asks where his cousin is, to which the officer replies that they're waiting outside. He also mentions that he had asked his cousin to wait inside, but she didn't want to. While heading out, the officer remarks that his cousin Jiang seems a bit slow, but Ching quickly defends her, saying she's actually smart. apart. As the night calms down, Ching decides to go home and reminds the officer that they can meet again later. It's getting close to 1 a.m., and Liang has already left, but Ching is still not done, and Zijun and Jiang are waiting outside in the cold. After some time, Ching comes out of the police station and wonders why they didn't wait inside. Ziyun explains that staying in made him too sleepy. Besides, the night has clearly been exhausting. Ziyun sighs, calling the whole day a mess. Despite the trouble, Ching jokes that if he gets another chance, he'd give Liang another beating. Suddenly, Ching remembers and asks about Zijun's girlfriend, the one he's been dating for a month, to which Zijun explains that she couldn't stay awake and went back to the car to sleep. Zijun offers them a ride home, but Ching declines, saying they'll just take a cab since it's already so late. As they get ready to part ways, Ching quietly reflects that with others always around, it's hard to talk to Jiang about the things that really matter. The night grows colder. Zijun comments on how chilly it gets this time of year and jokes that, in a moment like this, Ching should be offering his jacket to Jiang. But Ching doesn't react, and Jiang, standing calmly, mentions that she isn't cold at all. Her response carries the weight of someone used to much worse. While Ching looks like a delicate modern guy, Jiang comes across as someone much stronger, almost like someone from another time. Moving forward, there's a moment of silence when Zijun tries to figure out the connection between Ching and Jiang, but the answer isn't clear. It leaves more questions than it solves because she doesn't quite seem like a cousin or a girlfriend, and the lack of clarity makes their relationship even harder to place. Eventually, they reach home, and the tiredness from the night begins to settle in. King watches as Jiang walks ahead with quiet steps, so light it's hard to hear her at all. Despite the long, messy evening, Ching starts to realize he might have been the only one who actually enjoyed the chaos. Now, walking home slightly drunk and in the dark, the feeling of excitement begins to fade into a strange kind of loneliness. As they walk, Ching asks Jiang to walk beside him instead of behind, joking that it feels like a sidekick is following him, to which Jiang agrees, reminding him that she never saw herself that way. Once they reach home, Ching collapses on the sofa, feeling drained after the long day. But he's curious about her police questioning. He thinks back and learns that Jiang only gave simple answers, mentioning a cousin and a birthday, and stayed silent on the rest. After hearing all of this, Ching admires how well Jiang handled it, realizing her clueless act was just smart thinking. In the end, Jiang feels that the police aren't as scary as they seem. After that, Ching reflects on how the day turned out and feels that, despite everything, they handled the situation well. Also, Ching didn't lose anything from the fight and even managed to bring Jiang out for a bit of fun. Indeed, Jiang also got a first-hand look at a police station. Other than getting home late, Ching considers it a good day, especially since Jiang reacted well under pressure. Later, Ching teases Jiang a bit about being too obedient, but she calmly reminds Ching that she only follows him because she believes he's a good person. Additionally, Jiang admits she's been relying on Ching because she doesn't fully understand the world yet. Also, Jiang trusts Ching because he's been kind, giving her food, shelter, and support. Moreover, Jiang believes that if she couldn't trust Ching after all that, she might as well be wandering the streets. To Jiang, Ching is the only one who has truly helped since she arrived. After the serious conversations, they also joke about the fight earlier, agreeing that if Liang had actually touched Jiang's face, the outcome would have been much worse. Following that, Ching wonders if their fight seems childish from an outside view, to which Jiang, unimpressed, doesn't even consider it a real fight. Jiang asked our boy why he had hit that guy. Xu Sheng replied that the man had deserved it, and that punches were meant for people like him. He explained to Jiang He that if someone ever annoyed her that she couldn't hold back, she can't use her full strength, just enough to make the person feel some pain without actually injuring them. Otherwise, she could end up in jail. He went on to explain that there were many kinds of people in the world. Some wished to wear bougie things, but couldn't afford them. The hero told Jiang He that such people might give her a nasty look if they saw her wearing these things, but they would only act this way toward people they were familiar with, especially those who were out of their league. Xu Qing said that these people found it natural for others to be wealthier or more capable, but they couldn't stand seeing someone they actually knew doing better than them. Zhang He asked if that really happened. Our guy replied that he looked down on people who behaved that way, and on bootlickers in general. Zhang He asked what a bootlicker was. Our boy explained that it was a very common type of person, and, jokingly, someone who deserved to die. He reassured her that she would understand in due time. Zhang He didn't understand much of what he said. Seeing her confused expression, Xu Qing suggested she take a shower, noting that it was late. Zhang He agreed and left. Our hero sighed, leaning against the sofa, realizing that having someone to chat with at home felt surprisingly good. He wondered, briefly and awkwardly, if they could cuddle to sleep once she was done, but immediately realized how weird the thought was. When Zhang He returned from the shower, holding a blow dryer, Xu Qing stood and told her she could dry her hair herself today, as he was going to shower. As he entered the washroom, he sighed, realizing he had been standing a little too close to her earlier. After his shower, Xu Qing returned to see Zhang He holding the blow dryer. She mentioned that many girls had short hair and asked if it was normal for people to cut their hair here. Our hero explained that hairstyle was a personal choice. Even going bald was fine if she wanted. He asked if she wanted to cut her hair. Zhang He said she wanted to trim it a little. Our boy advised against cutting it, saying that long hair was beautiful. He took the blow dryer from her and declared that he would dry her hair from now on, asking her not to consider cutting it short just for convenience. Zhang He nodded, then asked if it was normal for guys to help girls blow dry their hair. Xu Qing smirked and reassured her that it was very normal. After some time, the hero placed the blow dryer on the table and said they were done. He began leaving, reminding Zhang He to go to bed early. He turned off the light and wished her good night. Zhang He replied and typed good night into her phone, playing a song and following along with the lyrics. The next morning, Xu Qing walked over to Zhang He and greeted her with a cheerful good morning. She replied in kind. Our boy admitted he had woken up a little late and asked if she wanted to go out for breakfast. She declined, saying she was at work. Our guy smiled and said he would buy breakfast for them both. As he prepared to leave, tying his shoelaces, Xu Qing realized that living with Zhang He for so long had subtly influenced his life, giving it more routine. Meanwhile, Zhang He searched online about girlfriends and began reading the Wikipedia page on the topic. Zhang He continued reading the Wikipedia page on girlfriends girlfriend. Afterwards, her curiosity led her to search whether ghosts existed in this world. Shu-hing returned home and urged Jang-he to take her breakfast. She replied that she was busy working. Shu-ching insisted, telling her that she could take short breaks even while working. Jang-he said she would eat later, but our boy showed her the food he had brought: light, easy-to-digest buns and soybean milk. Jang-he picked up a bun and mentioned that she had been playing the game for a while. She asked if she could help other players level up. According to our boy, a mining expedition earned her 18 yuan, enough for 6 buns. Jang-he realized that a day of mining expeditions would provide enough for 3 days worth of food. Our boy checked his phone and promised to find a request for her later, reassuring her that she could try it if she was able. He knew gaming was primarily meant to keep Jang-he occupied, preventing her from wandering outside late at night and startling people. Jang-he exclaimed in excitement that she really wanted to help others level. Shu-ching smiled, thinking that once she was more familiar with the modern world, he could give her something more practical to do. Jang-he remarked that the food was really tasty. Shu-hing reminded her that it wasn't her first time eating it, but Jiang-he insisted it was delicious, adding that the cake from yesterday had been amazing as well. The hero chuckled and asked when her birthday was, offering to get her a huge cake to enjoy by herself. Jang-he admitted she didn't know. Our hero smiled and suggested that they could celebrate the day she came to live with him as her birthday. Jang-he, excited, asked if she could eat cake on that day next year. Shu-ching, looking at her happy face, said she could even eat some cake today as a belated celebration and promised to buy one for her later. Jang thanked him joyfully, but then hesitated, worried that cake might be expensive. Shu-king chuckled, assuring her it wasn't, and told her to relax and wait to enjoy it. Later, our boy asked if Jang-he had brought any copper coins from her time, since her era primarily used copper over silver. He explained that if she had some, they could potentially sell them for money. Jang-he said she didn't have any copper coins. They were usually managed by the second miss. She did, however, have some broken silver pieces sewn into her shirt hems for emergencies. Jang-he realized there was no one now to discreetly place money into her clothes. Our boy sighed, thinking that hiding a few copper coins wouldn't be of much use, and if there were too many, she would have used a proper money bag. Looking out the window, he reflected that no one would have guessed that a simple trip outside could lead them here. Meanwhile, Hyozi was riding his motorbike and greeted an elderly lady along the way. He reached home and parked outside, feeling a strong sense of fulfillment from protecting ordinary citizens. Inside, he noticed a puppy and asked his father whose dog it was. Chin replied that it was Wang's dog's son and instructed Hyozi to train it as a police dog. Hyozi groaned, protesting that he didn't even know how to train dogs. The two argued for some time. Eventually, Hyozi asked for the dog's name. Chin hadn't decided yet, but wanted a name that exuded strength and power. Hyozi sighed in annoyance and then asked if Shu-ching had a female cousin. Hyozi's father doubts that he might be interested in the female cousin of Shu-ching. Hyozi's mind drifts to how close his and Ching's family is. Even when they were born, their marriage was fixed, but when it turned out they both were males, the marriage was called off. He explains to his dad that the girl, Ching's cousin, he met yesterday was pretty but kind of odd. Hearing him call a girl pretty, Hyozi's father assures him to talk to Ching's father about the girl and his son. Though Hyozi isn't interested in her yet, he found something suspicious about her. It seemed to him that she wasn't able to understand anything, and the way our boy acted at the KTV, it wouldn't be okay to call it weird, but seemed a little deliberate. On the other hand, outside his apartment, our boy greets Uncle Zhao playfully, asking if he saw any ghosts lately, but Uncle Zhao didn't get the sarcasm, and is really satisfied with the exorcist who came earlier, and according to him, and the people of the building, made that spirit leave. Hearing this, the hero laughs nervously, thinking that when this old lad retires in the future, he will definitely have tons of rumored stories for his grandchildren, and those will definitely go viral if made into a book. As the hero and Jiang Hu stroll down the street, he playfully teases Jiang He, reminding her of how scared the old man was. Jiang frowns, assuring not to do that stunt again, and is upset that they think of her as his girlfriend. Seeing her upset, he assures her that he has clarified to everyone that she is not his girlfriend, but it is on them to assume whatever they want, and to change her mood, he decides to take her for drinking some kumquat lemon. Even though he changed the subject, still Jiang. His mind races with thoughts. She doesn't understand why people assume they are in a relationship. They slept in different rooms, never crossing any boundaries. Though she knows they ate together and he helped her with a few things, it doesn't mean they can assume stuff. She tries to ignore all this by reminding herself that as long as her conscience is clear, everything is okay. While Ching buys them milkshakes, out of curiosity, Jiang Hu questions our boy about what girlfriends do so that she will avoid them. Taking a long pause, our boy explains to her all the signs of what girlfriends do, and it is similar to what they do all the time. This freaks her out. Noticing her uneasiness, our guy assures her that with her, there is an exception, as the situation is different for them. It doesn't really give her that much assurance, but she tries to forget it. While they are drinking milkshakes, Ching picks up the cake from the nearby shop he ordered. As soon as she sees the cake, she realizes that the debt is increasing for her, so she offers to let her help him in whatever way he wants. This makes the hero grin, and he decides to tease her, claiming that the problem he is facing is a lack of a girlfriend, so if she helps him with that, it would be great. Hearing this, Jiang Hu starts to think about it, which makes Ching smile. He wonders if she will agree to be his girlfriend, but he knows one thing: he will never make a move on her. Instantly, Jiang Hu freaks out, declaring that she will never help him to kidnap a lady. At that moment, he's stunned by the realization of just how naive she is, and how far beyond her his thoughts are drifting. Shu-ching admires Jiang for her willingness and open-mindedness to listen to everything he has to say. However, when they witness a couple kissing in public, Jiang questions whether it is even appropriate to do such a thing so openly. Our boy is a lonely buddy, hence he finds it indecent as well, but then references Li Shimin, asking, weren't the people in her era open-minded? To this, Jiang replies that she had heard a little about him. While talking to Jiang, our boy thinks about his father, who had dedicated his entire life to historical research. He worries that if Jiang's information doesn't match the historical records, it would mean that all his father's work was of no use. Our boy wants to inquire more if she has seen anything like that before, but she wasn't bothered much by what the emperor did in his life. Xu agrees with her answer, thinking that historical records often show powerful people, like emperors and officials, engaged in questionable behaviors, and she may not have been aware of it. Our boy then imagines the tales of conquering the world with a sword, feasting on meat and wine, just a part of his vivid imagination. He exclaims that he wants to know about Jiang's life, which sounds fascinating to him. Jiang pauses for a moment, recalling a gory scene, and responds that our boy wouldn't love to hear it all. Xu insists, saying he would love to hear it as a story tale. Later, our boy opens up a cake box and shows Jiang the birthday candles. He explains that he didn't know her exact age, so he asked the shop assistant for candles for an 18-year-old. Jiang is surprised and is told she can place the candles wherever she wants on the cake. Xu also tells her that he's going to turn off the lights, which Jiang questions. Our boy explains that it's part of the birthday celebration. After switching off the lights, our guy excitedly praises Jiang, calling her the birthday star of the night warrior, and tells her to close her eyes and wish for her heart's deepest desire, then blow out the candles in one breath. He tells her that since it's her first birthday in this era, whatever she wishes will surely come true. Jiang closes her eyes and takes a long time wishing, which makes Xu impatient. He asks if she's done so she can blow out the candles. Jiang finds the entire ceremony weird. The hero explains that this is a Western tradition, and with time it will get normal for her. Jiang then wants to use her phone to take a picture of the birthday cake as a memory. Xu helps her take the pictures and tells her that once she's done, she can cut the cake. Since Jiang is new to all this, he politely helps and guides her in cutting the cake. Jiang wants Xu to have the first slice of cake, but he tells her she can have the entire cake. Jiang gets excited, and upon being asked by the hero whether she didn't like the cake, she takes a bite and happily tells him that it's delicious. Our boy shares that he had the same reaction when he first tasted cream as a child, but he's not fond of it anymore, perhaps because he's had tastier food since then. Later, Xu proposes a toast with Jiang using cola, thinking to himself that while it might be just another day for him, she is lucky to be here. He wants to commemorate their meeting, acknowledging that life is short and moments like these matter. Zhonghe and Xu sat in the living room as Jiang started sharing her past. She remembered that in the 4th year of Kai Yuan, a swarm of locusts had devastated the region, but Lord Tao succeeded in wiping them out and prevented a greater calamity. After the disaster passed, the second miss fled into the wild and later arrived in Gusu. The second miss believed she was living in a golden age and regarded Lord Tao as a saintly figure. She even set up an altar at home where she prayed for his long life. She also formed the habit of eating only half as much as others, no matter if the city was thriving or struggling. Although the city's leader considered her foolish, she would simply laugh and say the remaining half of her meal was offered for her savior's long life in this golden era. Xu felt confused and asked how her family, who practiced martial arts, could keep an altar wishing for the longevity of a government official, since stories often portrayed martial artists and officials as enemies. Jiang explained that without Lord Tao, the second miss would never have escaped Lu Di safely, and many more lives might have been lost. In the second miss's eyes, every additional day she lived was a gift, granted because of Lord Tao. Xu then wondered whether Jiang truly came from the Kai Yuan era, and questioned what she would call the Dark Ages if her time was considered a golden one. Jiang explained that her era had suffered through droughts, floods, wars, and numerous other disasters. If there were no human-caused calamities, people would already regard it as a golden age, so the second miss believed their time was especially remarkable. Curious, Xu searched for Kai Yuan online and concluded that the era could be viewed as both prosperous and troubled. He felt fortunate to have been born in a time of plenty and realized how lucky he was compared to living in Jiang's world. He told her not to dwell on it too much and simply enjoy her cake. Jiang thanked him and asked if she could eat the remaining cake from the previous day. Holding a birthday card, she quietly admired the modern world. Food could be wasted just for amusement, people could dress boldly, and couples could even act affectionately in public. Thinking about the second miss's words, she came to understand that compared to her own time, this era truly deserved to be called a golden age. A few days later, while Xu was working on his computer, he noticed Jiang peering shyly from behind the door. He soon realized she had run out of sanitary pads but was too embarrassed to ask. Without hesitation, our boy ordered a box online. He told her he would transfer money to her later and would also teach her how to order whatever she needed in the future, so she wouldn't feel awkward about it. Jiang blushed when Xu spoke so openly about the matter and asked whether it was normal in this era to discuss such private topics. Our boy assured her that nowadays people could talk about these things openly, since there was nothing to hide. Zhang He handed Xu 100 yuan, but he noticed the reluctant sadness on her face as she parted with the money. Realizing she needed something to occupy her time, our boy asked if she knew how to cook. Zhang admitted that she could only prepare porridge and reheat leftovers. Our boy said he would teach her, believing that a practical skill like cooking would benefit her for the rest of her life. In his mind, learning something useful mattered far more than her martial arts skills, which had little value in modern society. Smiling to himself, the hero reassured his conscience that he wasn't exploiting her. He was simply helping Zhang discover abilities that could truly help her. Compared to earning money from video games at home, cooking was a real practical skill that held value in any era. Zhang's eyes sparkled with excitement when she asked if she could really learn. Our boy agreed and brought her into the kitchen to show her how to make stir-fried potatoes. Since he rarely used the kitchen himself, the first step was cleaning it up. Our boy then left to buy ingredients while Jiang stayed behind to tidy everything. She cleaned thoroughly, feeling excited about the chance to learn how to cook tasty meals. When Xu returned from shopping, tired from carrying the groceries, Jiang pointed at the round ingredients and asked what they were. Our guy explained that they were potatoes, a crop known for its high yield. He said potatoes could be eaten as a vegetable or as a main source of carbohydrates, and they were extremely inexpensive. Laughing, he joked that if the Tang dynasty had potatoes, famines might have been avoided, and life would have been much easier. They carried the groceries into the kitchen together. Xu told Zhang to wash the dirt off the potatoes and then peel them with a potato peeler. He added that once she learned to cook, she could also handle the dishes, and he would even pay her 5 yuan for each meal she prepared. Jiang quickly declined, saying it didn't feel right to receive money when she was already staying with our boy and would be eating the food herself. Xu insisted she treat it like a small tip, and reminded her that homemade meals were healthier than takeout. He was confident that, with her discipline as a warrior, Jiang would quickly learn how to cook well. Still adapting to modern life, Jiang found the idea of regularly eating meals at home somewhat unusual. Xu Ching then showed her a photo demonstrating how to slice the peeled potatoes into thin strips. At that moment, our hero received a call from his friend Hyozi. Before answering, he told Jiang to finish cutting the potatoes and soak them in a bowl of water until he came back. When he picked up the phone, Hyozi said he was finally free and wanted to go out for skewers to celebrate. Shu Qing declined politely, explaining that he already had food prepared at home and suggesting they meet another time. Hyozi was surprised to hear that Shu Qing had actually cooked. Confused by the reaction, our boy asked why it was so shocking and added that he didn't have enough ingredients to share even if Hyozi came over. After ending the call, he made sure his friend wouldn't drop by, since he preferred that Hyozi and Jiang didn't meet unless it was absolutely necessary. Meanwhile, Jiang sat with her phone, searching online to find out whether it was normal for a man and woman living together as roommates to cook meals together at home. Shu Qing was showing Jiang the different seasonings in the kitchen. He told her to carefully observe the amount he used and memorize it well. Jiang, however, wasn't fully paying attention. Instead, she kept looking at our boy while thinking about something she had read online earlier, that cooking together can bring two people closer and may even lead to starting a family. Seeing that she seemed distracted, our hero asked if she had remembered the measurements, warning her not to add too much, joking that too much MSG might turn her into a fool. Slightly irritated, Jiang said she remembered everything. The hero asked why she was behaving oddly. Jiang first said her conscience was clear, then quickly changed her answer and simply commented that the food smelled wonderful. Once the dish was finished, Jiang was amazed by the rich aroma. Our boy handed her a bowl of rice. During the 2 months they had lived together, this was the first time they had actually cooked a meal side by side. When Jiang tasted the stir-fried potatoes, she was captivated by the flavor. Curious, she asked whether potatoes were grown in the soil. Our hero jokingly answered that of course they came from the ground and didn't appear out of nowhere. He then showed her a steamed potato and said it was one of his favorites. In his enthusiasm, he accidentally grabbed a hot one before realizing it, then passed another to Jiang. He explained that it was understandable she had never seen potatoes before, since they originally came from the west. Teasing her, he said that if she ever returned to her own era, sailed southeast and claimed some land, she could become famous enough to be recorded in history books. Jiang, however, spoke more seriously. She said she was thinking about finding land in this era, settling down, planting vegetables, and cooking her own meals. Shu Qing thought that was unrealistic, explaining that farming alone wasn't a dependable way to survive in modern society. To him, people from her time seemed overly attached to land as a means of stability, but times had changed. Still determined, Jiang said she could work hard, save money, and eventually start her own farm. She planned to cultivate crops, wait 3 or 4 years for harvests, and repay our guy for everything he had done for her. Shu Qing cut her off, saying that what she needed first was to learn how to live in the modern world, and he told her not to focus on farming for now. Jiang's expression immediately dimmed, so our boy quickly reassured her, saying she could treat his home like her own and that he would look after her. Hearing that made Jiang blush. The hero quickly clarified that he only meant he would take care of her openly, just like he did with the cat, and that anything else was a matter for the future. Jiang firmly replied that he didn't need to joke about such things. She felt grateful to him for letting her stay there and said she would find another way to repay him, but certainly not by offering herself. Our boy was stunned, wondering how such outrageous thoughts had entered her mind. Jiang added that she couldn't truly regard Shu Qing's home as her permanent residence and would only remain there temporarily. Since neither of them had anything to hide, Shu Qing agreed, feeling that the matter cleared their consciences. He reminded her that he had never made any personal promises and asked whether she thought he was a bad person. Jiang answered that he was a good man. Smiling, our hero told her to call him young master, joking that he wasn't actually such a good person. Later that night, Jiang browsed through Shu Qing's social media using his account and stumbled upon some old photos of him. She asked if the person in the pictures was really Shu Qing. He initially denied it, but Jiang kept pressing until he finally admitted the photos were from his flashy younger days. Our boy flushed with embarrassment. He had hidden those pictures in a private folder so he wouldn't be reminded of that past, but somehow Jiang had managed to find them anyway. Jiang asked Shu Qing if he had ever had long hair. Shu Qing replied that his long hair had been for his funeral love phase, something Jiang likely wouldn't understand. He explained that he and his friends had been trendsetters back then. Our boy thought to himself that if he hadn't looked like a bum in the past, his father wouldn't nag him every other day like he did now. Paying rent for a home owned by his family still made no sense to him. Our boy then helped Jiang create her own social media account, where she could post and store pictures as long as nothing went wrong. He helped her set a password using her name in English and created an internet handle, Fly Dancer, reflecting her martial arts background. Shu Qing also joined her in online gaming communities and showed her how to use them. Exhausted, he collapsed on the couch and noticed a friend request notification for Jiang. He wondered if she would become an internet addict at this rate, but he decided it was far better than her ending up as a miner or a vigilante. After just 2 months, the boy realized he had grown used to having Jiang around. He also saw that she was adapting to modern life, slowly becoming a city girl. In her own time, she had been just a grain of sand, but in this era, she was becoming a brick, solid and capable, which made our guy happy to help her. Later, Jiang got up to take a shower. Our boy told her he had bought a high-absorbent towel so she could dry her hair easily. While in the bathroom, Jiang reflected on how Shu Qing had been right. In this era, many things existed for enjoyment, not for mere survival, as in her own time. After 2 months, she could feel how much she had changed since arriving. When Jiang came out of the shower, Shu Qing offered to blow-dry her hair before taking his own shower. He thought that helping her would prevent her from getting annoyed and cutting her hair short impulsively. Jiang suggested that Shu Qing could consider growing his hair long too, as long as he didn't dye it red, so she could return the favor by blow-drying his hair. Our boy was happy with his current hairstyle and told her that helping her was no trouble at all. Blow-drying was a daily task at hair salons. He even added that he would take her to get a haircut so she could look her best, making Jiang smile in gratitude. Jiang wondered if the roles were reversed, if Shu Qing had come to her time, whether he would have survived without modern skills, with her protecting him instead. She thought it would have been a piece of cake. She hoped Shu Qing would never have to experience her era, as things were already good for them in the present. The next day, Shu Qing took pictures of Jiang dressed in winter clothes, realizing that she was becoming a dress-up darling. He wondered whether her martial arts could help her tolerate the cold. Jiang confidently replied that she would manage better than the hero. The hero teased her, saying her toes would freeze in her straw shoes, which made Jiang scowl in anger. Later, Shu Qing left the house, telling Jiang to cook for herself since he would be eating out. As he walked out, he thought about how it was already late November, and he still hadn't paid his rent. He considered transferring the money to his father, but decided it would be better to visit in person. Since Since his father had lowered the rent, Shu Qing wanted to prevent any misunderstandings. He didn't want his parents arriving unannounced and assuming there was a romantic relationship between him and Jiang. Shu Qing sends his mother a message before going to visit her. When he arrives, she immediately asks if he has come alone. Our boy casually asks who else he could have brought. His mother looks around and asks where his girlfriend is. He replies that he left Jiang at home. His mother asks why he did not bring her along. Our boy tells her not to glare at him. Jiang is only his girlfriend, so there is no need to bring her every time. Besides, he jokes that his father would probably complain again about him freeloading off them. His mother then wonders how he and Jiang ended up living together and suspiciously asks if he picked her up off the street. Shu Qing explains that Jiang came to the city alone to search for work and does not know anyone in this unfamiliar place. At first, he treats her like a younger sister, but gradually their relationship changes. When asked where Jiang is from, our boy says she comes from the mountains. He tells his mother that when he first meets her, her shoes are torn and she even refuses to accept a new pair. Her clothes are full of patches, and she is often hungry. His mother finds it difficult to believe and assumes he is exaggerating, since Jiang does not seem as miserable as he describes. Shu Xing insists that Jiang is not like other carefree girls who have everything provided for them. She has supported her family since she was young. In truth, he prepares these stories beforehand to mislead his mother. The topic then turns to their future, since they are living together. The hero becomes nervous and quickly explains that nothing inappropriate is happening. Jiang sleeps in the storage room instead of sharing his bed. His mother still warns them to be cautious. Shu Qing replies that Jiang is only staying there temporarily. His mother tells him to bring Jiang along next time and advises that if they are not compatible, they should separate early. Our hero jokes that if they do get along, maybe his father will stop charging him rent. She then asks whether he has found a job yet, and Shu Qing admits that he is still looking. When his father returns home at 7, the first thing he asks is whether his son has brought the rent. Our hero smirks and says he only came for dinner. His mother calls everyone to wash their hands. During the meal, Shu Qing keeps thinking about what Jiang might be doing at home, which makes his father notice that he is behaving oddly. Later, while helping his mother wash the dishes, the boy sees that she is growing ginger sprouts. When he reaches for one, she lightly slaps his hand away. After he says he wants to plant one himself, she finally lets him take a single sprout. He plans to give it to Jiang, knowing she will enjoy taking care of it. As he prepares to leave, his mother tells him to go home since it is getting late. Our guy hesitates for a moment, then admits with a red face that he thinks he has fallen in love. On the way back, he keeps turning the thought over in his mind. He truly has fallen for Jiang, a girl who comes from 1,000 years in the past. Shu Qing enters the house and asks Jiang what she is doing. She panics a bit, but explains that she is about to play some games. Instead, our guy hands her a small plant. Jiang studies it curiously, confused. Our hero explains that it is a sprouting ginger plant. He tells her she can keep it in her room, or place it in the kitchen. After a moment of consideration, Jiang decides to put it in the kitchen. Shu Qing then asks if she still wants to play games, but Jiang feels tired and plans to go to bed instead. He reminds her to stay warm in the cold weather, assuring her that the weather will get better in a couple of weeks. Before Jiang leaves, our boy calls her over and asks her to sit beside him. After hesitating for a moment, he asks if he can hold her hand. Jiang refuses right away. Our boy says he only wants to check whether her hands are cold. She still declines, but he gently reaches out and briefly takes her hand anyway. As he holds it, he studies it carefully, which makes Jiang feel a little uneasy. When she asks what he is doing, he casually says he is curious whether martial arts training makes a person's hands rough or unattractive, adding that he is thinking of learning martial arts himself. In reality, he is already considering buying her hand warmers for the cold weather. Feeling embarrassed under his scrutiny, Jiang quickly escapes to take a shower. As soon as she disappears, Shu Qing rushes to the computer to check what she had been doing earlier, suspicious about her strange behavior. Looking through the browser history, he discovers a series of unusual searches that leave him puzzled about what she has been thinking. When Jiang returns from the shower, our boy offers to help blow dry her hair again. She notices the strange expression in his eyes and asks why he has been acting oddly all evening. While plugging in the hairdryer, our boy suddenly begins lecturing her. He explains that search engines are not always reliable because they are created and managed by people, and people can make mistakes. He also warns her that some individuals online are scammers, so she should not believe everything she reads on the internet. Jiang watches him suspiciously and asks why he suddenly feels the need to say this. Shu Qing awkwardly answers that it simply crossed his mind and insists it has nothing to do with anything she might have searched. Later that night, lying in bed, our boy reflects that at the rate Jiang is adapting, she will soon fit seamlessly into modern society. Thinking about it makes him analyze everything about her, until he finally decides he needs to find a way to officially make Jiang his girlfriend. The next morning, Jiang is brushing her teeth while Shu Qing stands nearby, staring at her. His constant gaze starts to irritate her. Yet the longer he watches her, the more perfect she appears to him. Unable to keep it to himself any longer, our guy casually asks if she would like to visit his parents' house sometime when she is free. Shu Qing remembers how his father visited the previous month and questioned why he and Jiang were living together. Thinking back to that suspicion, the hero now asks Jiang to pretend to be his girlfriend and accompany him to a meal with his parents, hoping it will stop them from meddling in his life. When she hears the word girlfriend, Jiang looks confused and asks whether that means they would have to sleep together. The hero quickly reassures her that she does not need to do anything like that. She only has to join him for the meal. Then, jokingly, he adds that he would not mind if she wanted to share a bed. Jiang rejects the idea immediately. After some thought, she agrees to act as his girlfriend. Delighted, Shu Qing suggests they should rehearse beforehand. Jiang frowns, not understanding why practice is necessary if they are simply going out to eat. Caught off guard, our boy hastily changes the subject and offers to take her to an all-you-can-eat buffet for lunch. The promise of unlimited food instantly sparks Jiang's excitement. While they are outside, the hero asks if she feels cold. Jiang says her clothes are warm enough. Our boy jokes that if she returned to her own era wearing that coat, she might as well stuff some potatoes into her pockets too. Jiang seriously asks whether she could earn enough money to buy a computer and bring it back with her. Our boy explains that a computer would only be useful if she first downloaded a huge amount of information onto it, and even then, it would make her seem odd in her time. Potatoes, he concludes, would be much more useful. Jiang decides that after tasting them, she will learn how to grow them herself. On the way, Shu Qing notices Auntie Chung struggling to carry a large bag of rice. He asks why she is handling such a heavy load and wonders where Uncle Wang is. Auntie Chung explains that Uncle Wang has been dealing with high blood pressure and asks Shu Qing to help carry the rice if he has time. Our boy agrees immediately and asks Jiang to help lift the sack onto his shoulder. He casually adds that he is just about to take his girlfriend girlfriend Jiang out for a meal, and that it is lucky she happened to meet them. Auntie Chung brightens when she hears Shu Qing openly call Jiang his girlfriend, though she realizes she does not even know Jiang's name despite seeing her around. Shu Qing introduces her simply as Jiang, like ginger sprout. Auntie Chung laughs and comments that the name suits her gentle nature. After setting the rice down at her door, he remarks that Auntie Chung must have met Jiang before. However, she cannot remember such a meeting and calls for her husband to open the door. Thinking quickly, Shu Qing tries to plant a memory, saying they actually met 4 or 5 years ago when Jiang had a rounder face. Auntie Chung chuckles and blames her fading memory on age, inviting them inside for a drink. Our boy politely refuses, explaining they are heading out for lunch. As they walk away, Jiang questions why he told so many lies. Our boy explains that if she wants to live independently in this world, rather than relying completely on him, she needs to become part of people's memories. Because her real past is different from everyone else's, he intentionally tells Auntie Cheng, who is known as the neighborhood gossip, knowing she will quickly spread the story that Jiang is his girlfriend. In that way, Jiang will gradually gain a place in people's awareness. From then on, Shu Qing introduces Jiang as his girlfriend to everyone they pass. He even tries to take her hand, but fails because she keeps her hands tucked inside her sleeves. He explains that he is only doing it so others will notice her more easily. Understanding his reasoning, Jiang offers him the sleeve of her coat to hold instead. Shu Qing smiles and says it is unnecessary when no one is around. As they continue walking, the hero realizes that if he truly wants Jiang to become his girlfriend for real, the journey ahead will be long, and it will take a great deal of effort. Shu Qing takes Jiang out for hot pot, hoping for a quiet evening. As they chat on the way, he suddenly freezes. Hayozi is standing ahead, laughing with a group of friends. Our boy instinctively wants to turn around and avoid him, but it's too late. Hayozi has already spotted them. With narrowed eyes, Hayozi asks what Shu Qing is doing there, clearly suspecting he's up to something. Our boy casually replies that they're just going to eat hot pot and even invites Hayozi to join them. Hayozi declines, saying he's working, but his attention shifts to Jiang. Recognizing her as the high school cousin Shu Qing once mentioned, Hayozi begins firing math questions at her, leaving Jiang visibly confused. Before things spiral further, our hero cuts in and boldly announces that Jiang isn't his cousin, she's his girlfriend. That only deepens Hayozi's suspicion. If Jiang is his girlfriend, why did Shu Qing introduce her as his cousin before? Something is definitely off. Smirking, Shu Qing mockingly calls Hayozi Sherlock Holmes and admits there is a story behind it, but he'll explain another day because he's starving. If Hayozi insists on interrogating him now, our hero jokes that he's ready to be arrested on the spot. Hayozi finally lets them go, but not without a warning. The hero had better come clean later, or Hayozi will tell his father about his drinking and gambling habits. Shu Qing brushes it off and tells Jiang to ignore him. The two head into the restaurant, leaving Hayozi fuming. Inside, Jiang grows uneasy. She wonders if she shouldn't have come out at all. Our boy gently asks if she would rather stay cooped up at home all day. He explains that she can't learn about the modern world unless she experiences it herself. When Jiang nervously points out the police officers nearby, Shu Qing reassures her. As long as she doesn't reveal her true identity, no one will arrest her. And even if the police question her, she can simply say she's a wanderer. They'd probably help her find her family. Jiang hesitates, saying that's not what Shu Qing told her before. He smiles awkwardly and replies that times have changed. Soon the food arrives. Jiang thanks him shyly for the treat, making Shu Qing blush. He asks her to take off her hat and jacket so she can eat comfortably. Curious, he asks whether people in her era had hot pot. Jiang says she's never tried hot pot specifically, though they had similar communal meals. Our boy recalls a poem about such gatherings and recites it while adding more meat to her bowl. Jiang's eyes sparkle with gratitude as she tastes the food. Mesmerized by her expression and her beauty, Shu Qing barely touches his own meal. Jiang notices and asks why he isn't eating. He laughs and claims he's already full. Instead, he peels shrimp for her, explaining that friends should help each other. Jiang thoughtfully notes this as another modern rule. Eventually, Jiang is full. Our boy suggests they walk home so she can digest the food. He carefully helps her put her hat back on, and together they step outside. As they stroll down the road, Shu Qing points out the surroundings, enjoying the quiet moment by her side. While walking down the road, Shu Qing asks Jiang He if she knows how to walk on water. He tells her that there was once a monk who could float across water using a single reed leaf. Jiang He replies that she doesn't know how to do that, and comments that modern people are strange. Shu Qing then points at a stone and asks if she can split it in half with her bare hands. Jiang He sighs, questioning how human flesh could possibly be stronger than rock. A moment later, our boy grabs her hand and leads her toward a nearby tree. Pointing at it, he asks if she can break it. Jiang He clenches her fist and punches the tree, even after receiving a warning that the attempt is dangerous. The tree snaps. Both of them stare at it in shock before Shu Qing suddenly shouts that this counts as destruction of public property. He quickly grabs Jiang He's hand and starts running. Annoyed, Jiang He reminds him that he was the one who told her to do it. After a moment, she asks him to let go of her hand. Shu Qing releases her and walks a few steps ahead. Sighing, he tells her they are going home and that they will play some games. When they arrive home, the hero sits on the sofa to relax. Jiang He calls out to him and asks what romance means. His eyes widen instantly and he jumps to his feet. Walking over to her, he looks at the computer screen. Jiang He shows him the message she received, and the hero reads it carefully. He tells Jiang He to start preparing dinner and says he will handle the matter. After she leaves, Shu Qing sits at the computer and adds the person who messaged her to his revenge hit list. He whistles to himself, thinking that he hasn't even made his move yet, and someone is already thinking about Jiang He. Soon after, someone knocks on the door. The hero opens it and sees his father, Shu Wenbin. He immediately asks if it is rent day already. Shu Wenbin walks inside and explains that he was on his way home from work and decided to check whether the heater was functioning properly. As the landlord, he says, it is his responsibility to fix any issues. However, Shu Wenbin freezes when he notices Jiang He standing there. She politely greets him. Adjusting his glasses, he silently wonders what is going on, as this was not how he imagined things. On his way over, he had planned to lecture our boy and whip him into shape. Looking around, Shu Wenbin notices that the house is spotless. Everything is neatly arranged. He remembers that the last time he visited, the place looked like a pigsty. He can't understand how it changed so drastically. He greets Jiang He properly and repeats that he only came to check the heater. Shu Qing sighs and assures him that it is working perfectly fine. After a brief pause, Shu Wenbin says he should leave before his wife starts nagging him. Before exiting, he invites Jiang He to visit sometime. Once Shu Wenbin leaves, Jiang He tells Shu Qing that she is going back to cooking. Our boy watches her with a soft smile as she continues preparing dinner. Jiang He and and Shuqing begin to eat, and our boy asks if she has thought about the future. Jung Ho replies that she imagines the future will be just like this. Our boy chuckles and reassures her that it's perfectly fine if things stay this way. Jung Ho tells Shuqing that she won't trouble him constantly, and adds that, since they are unrelated, she feels extremely blessed to receive so much help from him. She recalls that the second miss once said no one owes anyone anything, and those who help do so out of kindness, they shouldn't be taken advantage of. Hearing this, our bro says that they could become related since both are unmarried, and meeting each other is fate. Jung Ho shakes her head. She reminds him that he is her benefactor, and that she cannot treat him otherwise. She insists that she needs to repay everything she owes him. Shuqing imagines a moment where Jung Ho offers herself to repay him. He quickly responds that he wishes for both of them to willingly be in a relationship. He yells at her, saying this is how it should have developed. He asks if offering herself in marriage is considered a way to repay a benefactor. Jung Ho firmly denies it. She says the second miss taught her that all debts should be repaid, and offering oneself for marriage is the most shameless way of all. It only makes the person dependent on the other. Shuqing imagines the second miss cutting the red thread that connects his and Jung Hee's love. He grits his teeth, struggling to control his anger. He asks her not to treat him as her benefactor, but she insists that he is, and there is no need to pity her. Jung Ho declares that she will work hard to earn her own living and not rely on anyone. Shuqing sighs, realizing that Jung Ho's view of him as her benefactor is the biggest obstacle in his attempt to make her his girlfriend. He watches her play games on the computer. Based on the power leveling rates in the game, he knows it will take her years to earn enough to repay him. He considers whether he should force her, but then remembers that she could break his neck as easily as she broke the tree. Thinking practically, Shuqing sends his cat into Jang Hee's lap, realizing that besides adjusting to modern life, she must learn to support herself. Otherwise, she will always feel insecure and never truly belong in this era. At the beginning of December, Shuqing sits in a restaurant with his friends. Haozi demands that our boy tell them where his girlfriend came from. Our hero explains that Jang Hee has no relatives nearby. Feeling pity for her, he brought her home to be his girlfriend. Another friend protests that this isn't normal procedure, but the hero argues that a couple can be together as long as both are willing. Haozi presses him, asking why Shuqing had previously said Jang Hoo was his cousin. The hero, wearing a helpless expression, explains that he was helping her hide her identity. He recounts that Jang Hoo was homeless, doing odd jobs, and had nowhere to live. If he didn't help her, she might have been sent to a shelter, and he would still have to look after her afterward. Haozi, feeling pity, agrees to believe him for now. Shuqing smiles and shoulder bumps Haozi, asking him to help Jang Ho with the ID issue they discussed earlier. Haozi gets annoyed, and another friend shouts at them to stop fooling around. Our bro continues teasing Haozi, and all three cheer with their drinks. After some time, Haozi leaves, explaining that he has work tomorrow. Shuqing and another friend see him off, thanking him for his hard work as a police officer. Our bro then sits in another car with a friend, asking if any of his family's shops have job openings that don't require an identity card. His friend tells him that if it's for his girlfriend, she just needs to give them a heads up. Shuqing admits it would be difficult, since her only verifiable history is being homeless, and having a legitimate background would help. His friend suggests jobs even a 16-year-old could do, noting that it would be ideal for her. Our boy asks if it's possible to make it appear as though Jang He has been working at one of his family's shops for the past 2 years. His friend nods and reassures him that he will figure out a way to make it happen. Later, Shuqing announces his arrival as he steps inside the home. Jang informs her that she's already eaten and left his food in the kitchen. He crashes down on the couch lazily while teasing his cat when Jang smells the alcohol from his mouth. Interrogating him about the smell of alcohol, when she accuses him of visiting a brothel as well, he jumps out of shock. After he sniffs his coat, he asks her how she reached such a conclusion, so she explains that it is due to the scent coming off of him. Out of confusion, he once again smells his coat, and this time he can also smell the floral scents coming off his coat, which makes him think that they must have gotten onto him due to sitting in the car of the playboy of all time, Zijun. Shuqing quickly defends himself, claiming he's a model citizen, and tells her that brothels and prostitution are against the law, so they are almost out of existence. Therefore, she doesn't need to worry about him wandering off or selling her off to someone else. When Jang gets surprised at the number of laws and ordinances in this world, Shuqing enlightens her about their importance by giving the example of selling off body parts in the name of legal transactions if it weren't for these laws. Shuqing cautions Jang about not being too defenseless, since even in the peaceful times, darkness still lurks around. His words throw her into deep imaginings of him selling away her body parts, and he notices it. Our bro tries to change the topic by reminding him how essential it is for her to have at least a little level of wariness, but Jiang is too lost in her scary imaginations to listen to Shuqing. The hero decides to leave her alone with her thoughts and checks the food left for him in the kitchen. He eats it happily despite not being hungry, and after washing the dishes and changing his clothes, he slumps back onto the couch. He looks over at Jiang, who is working on the computer, and finds her so adorable that he wants to hug her. Shuqing asks Jiang what she thinks about his father while sadly telling her how demanding and emotionally unavailable his father has always been. When he mentions how jealous it makes him feel to see people having good relations with their dads, Jiang turns to look at him. He, very cleverly, finally reaches the point of what he initiated the conversation for, and cries about his father never hugging him when that's all he craved his whole life. Calling it an absurd request, he asks her for a hug, and it makes Jiang confused about the situation. Noticing Jiang's expression, he brushes it off, but it makes her feel bad, so she hugs him. He squeezes her body quickly into a tight hug, catching her off guard. At first, she tries to resist him and pull herself out of the suffocating hug but slowly calms down and holds onto his shirt. She tries to relax by reminding herself that it is just for the sake of the young master's experience, and her conscience is clear. On the other hand, our bro is enjoying the scent of her hair while holding himself back from hugging her tighter. After she asks him if he is done with the hug, he pulls back while thanking her and gets up to take a shower, leaving her worried about him not being as relaxed as he looks. Jiang's practicing martial arts with a sword in the morning while our bro is secretly recording a video of her. She stops immediately when she notices him, and he also stops the recording before asking her about the significance of martial arts. She answers that it works out quite well for her and flaunts her strength. After scrolling through some articles on his phone, Shuqing gets to know the importance of martial arts and gets down on his knees, asking her to teach him too, since it would be sad if such an important tradition disappeared over time. When he enthusiastically announces to practice it wholeheartedly to excel his skills, he gets into a random position and asks her if his stance is correct, and she affirms even though it was nowhere near correct. As expected of him, just after 10 minutes, Shuqing Ching was on the ground, panting for breath on all fours. Jiang realizes how unskillful he is and pushes him to keep going instead of sitting like that. When she tries to make him understand the role of practice in martial arts in order to become a top-rate martial artist, he extends his hand forward, gesturing to her to stop since his goals have altered now after he has seen what martial arts takes. When he expresses his wish of having a strong body, she tries to motivate him to push himself to the end, so that once he is able to maintain that stance for an hour, she promises to teach him some techniques then. Xuqing excitedly asks if he would get to practice his skills in the snow once he has mastered them, which makes Jiang confused about such an absurd wish of his. As soon as the first snowfall of Zhangcheng's winter hits the ground, our bro starts his journey of learning martial arts. One day when they're outside, Jiang looks quite happy and excited to be out in the snow, which makes him notice how relaxed she has finally gotten as compared to the first time she arrived here. She skids through the snowy and slippery ground like a kid, so he leads her to their ride. While they're sitting on the backseat of the car, Jiang notices how calm and relaxed the driver is inside the car, and all he has to do is to turn the steering wheel while staying oblivious of the cold outside. Interested in the driving job, she whispers to Xuqing about her thought of becoming a driver. Our boy is quick to dismiss her thought, saying he can't teach all the necessary things to her alone, and he can't allow her to get into road accidents voluntarily. Listening to him, she realizes that our boy knows how to drive and asks his reason for not driving one, to which he simply mentions his poverty. They arrive outside Xuqing's parents' house, and while assuring her to stay calm, he reminds her of the lie about coming here from the mountains of Zhejiang in search of a job, which she needs to tell his parents later. Suddenly, the hero notices his Uncle Qin and calls him out while telling Jiang to quickly grab his hand. After she reminds herself again about her conscience being clear about holding his hand, she holds his hand. Uncle Qin notices them, and our bro quickly introduces Jiang to him. While Jiang plays with Uncle Qin's newly found puppy, Uncle Qin asks Xuqing to teach Hyozi some dating tricks as well, but he says Hyozi suits arranged dates the best. While they walk to Xuqing's parents' home, he teaches her small tips on their way. He tells her how normal holding hands is, so she doesn't need to feel awkward about it even if there's nobody. She seemed a bit perplexed over his claim, so he shifted the topic to satisfying his mother's questions. In his tips on how not to give unclear answers, he first tells her to figure out what his mother wants to hear so she can say so to make her answer sound genuine. Secondly, if she is asked about her routine, she should lie about being busy with her own things rather than mention her addiction to games. However, she gets a bit confused about what exactly it means, and he sums it up by telling her to stay in the role of his girlfriend. They enter the house, and after Xuqing introduces the two to each other, his mother tells them to take a seat while they wait for food to be ready. Her mother secretly finds Jiang beautiful, whereas the hero takes her inside and helps her take off her jacket and hat. His father comes out of his room and looks at the two of them curiously through his spectacles, so Xuqing introduces Jiang to him, reminding him how he has already met him before. His father didn't look pleased to see them together, and annoyedly asked the hero why he was looking so happy. After putting forward Jiang as his reason for happiness, he internally laughs at his father not being able to recognize a person from ancient times, despite him being a historical researcher. Zhu King tells Jiang to relax and peels an orange for her. As soon as he hands her the orange, he suddenly realizes how he has forgotten to bring something home since it is the first time he is here with his girlfriend. However, his father rudely tells him that they already have everything, so he does not need to bring over anything. His mother calls them for food, so he guides Jiang to the washroom and goes ahead to help out his mother. When the table is set, Jiang comes out of the washroom hesitantly, so his mother warmly welcomes her to the table, telling her to drop her shyness. She happily runs to the table and gets herself seated while Xuqing's mother serves her food. When Jiang looks at the food and rice on the table, she is surprised by the variety, since she has been thinking it was going to be a simple lunch. Jiang shares the tasty food his mother has cooked while his mother adores how good they look together. His father's eye, on the other side, twitches with annoyance at the sight of seeing them happy together. After a while, Xuqing's mother's adoration and his father's annoyance both turn into extreme shock as they watch Jiang munches down a second bowl of rice, which both of them combined haven't eaten. After the lunch, when our bro is helping out with the dishes, his father demands he visit him in his study later. Xuqing's mother offers some water to her, but she gets quite uncomfortable at his mother's sincere efforts to make her feel at home. She tells her not to get so formal with them and asks her to sit with her. Once the both of them have sat, his mother, while talking about their relationship, asks her where she is from. Remembering the answers our guy had taught her earlier, she quickly claims to have come from the mountains. Xuqing goes to talk to his father in the study, where he asks our boy about his future plans since he and Jiang are cohabiting. Xuqing casually assures him that it's nothing more than simply sharing a space, but his father gets angry. Angrily, his father says that he knows all about what young people think these days and asks him about his future plans once again. Xuqing thinks to himself how he and Jiang is not actually dating and asks his father not to worry about them and just forgive the rent for him. However, his father does not buy his excuses to change the topic and forces our guy to answer him. Our hero gets annoyed by his father continuously pressing him for answers, so he claims to have more expertise in this domain. This fuels the old man's anger, and he kicks Xuqing out of the study. Xuqing looks at his mother and Jiang. He is sitting together in the living room, and he knows better than to leave Jiang. He alone has to answer his mother's questions. He takes his parents' permission, and they both leave for their home after saying goodbye. As soon as they step outside, the protagonist's father immediately starts asking his wife about the girl. But, thanks to our guy's prior lesson given to Jiang, it turns out that is all useless information the woman could get out of Jiang. As Xuqing and Jiang walk out of the block, his father glares at them angrily from the window, because they somehow managed to dodge all the questions while fully enjoying the lunch. While walking out of the block, our guy carries the bag of oranges his mother gave to them. He asks her if she wants to eat something. She refuses, reasoning that she has less hunger these days. He then tells her how normal it is to have less appetite since she isn't so active these days, but she should still take care of her diet and not overeat since it can hinder her movement abilities. Jiang scaredly agrees, to which he tells her that it is fine since she loses enough calories while practicing martial arts. When he promises to buy a weighing scale for her to keep balance, she seems confused about it. He pranks her by telling her a scale is what a person is tied to and then lift it up to measure their weight. When she looks scared by the description, he chuckles and tells her that it's just a joke. Later at home, Jiang worries about getting a job to pay her debts quickly, so she asks our guy about it. Since he could not think of a suitable job for her, he tells her to keep playing games until she finally finds something that interests her, since the most important thing in life is to enjoy it. After some thought, she confesses to not having anything that interests her, and then asks about the reason for their cat hat, Winter Melon Life. After he expresses his oblivion about it, he tells how jealous he is of Winter Melon for not living under the shackles of society. When she asks the meaning of the metaphor, he teases her by saying she just would not get it and gets up to take a shower. She insists on him, annoyedly wishing to smack his face before he stops in his tracks, telling something about two types of people he hates. One he describes to be those who don't complete their sentence, and when she asks him about the second type, he walks into the washroom without answering, making her even angrier. Shuqing educates Jiang about the two kinds of dealers in games, one being the wealthy ones who can have as many resources as they want, while the other being the ones who take advantage of the communication gap, which is when one knows about something that others don't, so he buys the resources in exchange for the information. To make her understand better, he gives an example of how people in her era used to monopolize by stocking resources in exchange for information, and later selling it at high prices, making the poor have to sell anything they have. To tease her, he asks her to be his slave bride while acting like a monopolizer, so she angrily refuses him. He assures her that he's just kidding, and realizes how oblivious she's about everything right now. Considering this, he tells her to search about humanities, and tells her this is what she needs to learn. They read through the online articles about the things included in humanities, and guarantee to look for novels and movies on this topic to watch with her. She curiously asks if learning about it will finally clear the information gap between them, so he confirms, and tells her to get ready for sleep. Jiang is still lost in her thoughts about the information gap, and asks if he wanted to take advantage of it to make her his girlfriend. The question catches our guy off guard, and despite it being the truth, he calls it an accusation since she has no evidence regarding it. He urges Jiang to take a shower and then sneaks onto his computer chair as he doubts that she is up to something. After looking through her search history, he finds out many weird, doubtful questions she had searched about him and his intentions. He wonders if it is not normal for two opposite-gendered people to develop feelings even after living together. Shuqing realizes how she has been acting normal all this time while having her deep concerns. Jiang comes out of the shower, and after looking at her, he looks away with a smug smile. On being asked about it, he acts clueless and nonchalantly offers to dry her hair. She accepts his help and wonders why he still wants to end the knowledge gap between them when he should be wishing that she had never known about his secret feelings. She goes to bed while wondering if Shuqing's intentions are purely for her sake. Shuqing wakes up in the morning from his phone ringing. Upon receiving the call, his ears are blasted by his friend Hyozi's voice yelling through the phone. He asks our guy angrily about what he has told his father, Uncle Chin, so the hero says he praised the choice of name of his pet dog. Hyozi gets angrier at the hero playing dumb and directly asks him about matchmaking. Shuqing laughs when he remembers about it and teases him before hanging up. Shuqing gets out of his room, and upon being asked, he says that he's up early to strengthen his body. Considering that, she makes him get into a martial arts stance and stay in it. He asks if there isn't any quick way to gain strength, like castration or dual cultivation. She concernedly asks him if he wants to get castration, but he refuses and instead claims to want dual cultivation. She looks away embarrassingly while denying the existence of such a technique, but the blush in her cheeks gives her off, and our guy starts teasing her for that. After continuous practice, Shuqing levels up somewhat in maintaining his stance, but he still could not see any difference in his body visually. According to his fantasies, having a warrioress from the Tang dynasty should have automatically gotten him loaded with ultimate techniques, so they could fight off evil on their way to living in the wilderness. The thought of his parents finally bringing him back to reality from his wish to live in the wilderness. Later, when Shuqing is working on his laptop, Jiang is lying down beside him on the couch while reading a book. He cautions her about the risk of becoming nearsighted due to reading a book like that, and explains to her what it means since she doesn't seem to understand the word. He gets up and brings her non-prescription, rectangular framed glasses and gives them to her. He reminds her that it is the same as the ones that his father was wearing when they visited his parents' house. She carefully puts them on and asks him for assurance if she has put them on correctly. He turns on the front camera in his mobile phone and shows her how she looks. Our boy finds it perfect on her, but Jiang has a hard time getting used to its existence on her nose. He looks at her focused expression closely and starts blushing because he wants to hug her once again. Reminded of the same tactic, he brings up his father again. He asks her if Second Miss ever hugged her, so she affirms and tells him about how Second Miss would actually squeeze her tightly into a hug, especially on cold days, and used to make her feel at ease a lot. Before Shuqing can say anything, his mobile phone starts ringing. He looks at the contact name and announces that it is Zijun who is calling him. He attends the call, and after confirming if our guy is at home, Zijun tells him that he has the documents related to the employment issue that he needs to get signed by the hero, so he wants to come to Shuqing's place to get them signed. After listening to how the rich dude Zijun has already looked into his problem and even has the documents to be filled out, our boy invites him. Not so long after, the front door of our guy's house is knocked. Before he could answer the door, Jiang volunteers and runs to the door. She peeps through the peephole before opening the door, and this makes Shuqing confused. The reason Jiang makes sure to look through the peephole is because she finds it quite useful in case there is some kind of threat on the other side, so she can be prepared with her sword to defend herself. Jiang looks closely at the person, and when she recognizes him, she finally swings the door open. Zijun, who is shivering cold when he looks at Jiang, quickly turns to leave, thinking he has knocked on the wrong door. Our boy drags him inside, assuring him that it is surely his house, and asks Zijun the reason for him being so forgetful when he has already met his girlfriend Jiang before. After the clouds of confusion have cleared, Zijun slumps down on the couch beside our bro. He looks over at Jiang. He is playing a game on the computer and teases our boy in whispers, saying he just realized where Shuqing has disappeared to these days if it was not for his mistress. Changing the topic, our boy gets it confirmed if the forged work experience documents are good to go and asks Jiang to sign them. Jiang looks closely at the documents that were handed over to her by Shuqing to sign. On inquiring about them, he tells her that these documents will prove her 2 years of work experience here. In case she does not know how to read and write, our boy writes her name on his phone and shows it to her, telling her to copy it in the places her signature is required. When Zijun sees him teaching her how to do her own signatures, he asks our guy in shock if she actually is not aware of how to read and write on her own. Seeing Zijun's reaction, he realizes the need for an explanation. So while Jiang signs the documents, our guy lies to Zijun about picking her up from the streets she has been wandering around for over 10 years. When Shuqing continues to give absurd details about Jiang's appearance when he found her, Zijun refuses to believe him, whereas Jiang does her best to hold herself back from beating some sense into Shuqing. Shuqing offers Zijun to stay over for a meal and asks Jiang to cook some more food. Ziyan seems surprised about the idea of having homemade food when he had been expecting them to go out, but our guy says he wants to benefit from a girlfriend who can cook well. While they wait for food, Zijun walks over to the computer system and asks Shuqing to help him out with setting up the new PC he is about to get. After Shuqing agrees to send him help, Zijun notices the computer's default language is set to traditional Chinese. When he asks Shuqing about it, he makes up an excuse about liking it better these days, and it makes Zijun suspicious of his recent behaviors. Nonetheless, Zijun compliments our guy for having so much knowledge. Shuqing mentions to him how this is the difference between a poor person's hunger for knowledge to earn and a rich person's hunger for ease. Thus, he spends on the poor. Zijun gets up from the chair in shock and asks Shuqing if he is up to some wrong medications since it is not like him to talk like this. The protagonist also realizes that he didn't need to tell Zijun in such detail as if he were Jiang. Shuqing makes up an excuse of going through so much since the last 6 months, so Zijun asks if it is because of being jobless or if it is due to dating the girl. In response to this, the hero simply asks Wanzi if he has watched the K-drama My Love from the Star. Zijun misinterprets it and laughs at him, asking if he also has a weird professor, but Shuqing refuses and says to him that based on Zijun's IQ level, it would be useless to explain things to him. Our boy then excuses himself to check up on Jiang. Seeing her focused on the work, he couldn't help but compliment her, thinking how she looks like wife material. She angrily shoos him out of the kitchen by scaring him away with the sharp knife. After he is gone, she wonders why he came to the kitchen. Zijun seems to like the food quite a lot, and when Shuqing tells him to enjoy and eat as much as he wants, Jiang gets the sudden feeling of a housewife who cooks meals for the guests, while her husband entertains the guests. Before leaving, Zijun reminds Shuqing about his promise to help out in setting up Zijun's PC, and our guy assures him that he will do so after he's done with his matter. When our guy sees Jiang still busy at work, he tells her to rest and talks to her while doing dishes. He tells her that she needs to stop being a person from the ancient era, and needs to revise her personality according to the current era. He improvises her life trajectory to be an orphan from the Zhejiang Mountains, who later did random jobs with Zhang Cheng from the age of 16. Afterwards, she meets a nice kid named Shu Qing and they become friends and then lovers. Shu Qing helped her find her parents, but when they failed, he invited her to move in at his place. After his made-up background story is over, our guy tells her that it's the only realistic story they can have. To make people understand their reason for living together, they need to tell them that they are deeply in love. When he asks her if she has understood it, she confirms in a flustered manner. Shu Qing then tucks a strand of hair behind her ear and informs her that they will go to the officials to resolve the matter of her identity once she has completely gotten used to the modern day in life. Zhang is still stuck on the moment when he tucked her hair and angrily asks him if he was trying to flirt with him while her heartbeat quickens, making her confused. Shu Qing, however, completely denies her claim and says he was just fixing her hair since it's normal to do so as they're dating each other. She reminds him that it's just fake dating and he shouldn't take advantage of being her benefactor. To calm her down, he sits her down on the couch and sits beside her, regretting why he touched her. After giving it some thought, he decides to tell the truth and confesses that, just like the phrase, familiarity breeds fondness, he has also started to have feelings for her after cohabiting for months. When he asks if there is something wrong with liking someone, she asks him in disbelief if that is actually the truth, so he confirms he has a crush on her. She asks him to not like her, so he asks her what's wrong with that since they both are single. He uses the word licking in the context of wanting to pursue her, and that scares her even more. Jiang scoots farther from him, threatening to hit him if he licks her. She feels uncomfortable and gets up, announcing she's leaving, but stops in her tracks by getting reminded of the gratitude she owes him. Shu Qing tells her that there are no debts between them since she's taught him martial arts in return for him helping her out to adjust in the modern world. Therefore, she can leave whenever she wants. However, he asks her to teach more martial arts while he helps her find a new home. Looking at him still willing to help, she asks him the reason, so he simply states again that he likes her despite the debt she owes. He then says that she might have mutual feelings but is overlooking them since he seems ordinary to her because they are cohabiting. When he complains about her excluding him from her consideration, she refuses, and tells him that she's leaving because he wants to lick her. He tries making her understand its actual meaning, but she refuses to talk to him due to feeling off about the situation. In her room, Jiang does a self-assessment of her feelings about Shuqing and leaving his home. On the other side, our guy is in the living room, wondering if she is going to leave since she hasn't come out of her room for so long. Just as he is about to tear up about losing her, she walks out of her room, and after stealing a glance at him, she walks straight into the kitchen. Happy to see her, our guy jumps out of his seat and follows her into the kitchen, asking about her decision. While washing the oranges, she acknowledges that what he said was right, and since the debt and the feeling he has for her are two different things, he can continue to like her without crossing the boundaries. He immediately promises not to do anything like that again. She thinks about it, and mentions how it would not be so good if she ignored all the things he has done for her in the duration of half a year, which she has spent with him, and just selfishly left. Thus, she shyly avoids eye contact with him while telling him to talk about their future together, after she has cleared all the debts. Shu Qing is quick to hold onto her words and repeats them for confirmation so she confirms it. Later, when she's preparing a meal, he leans at the doorframe and keeps looking at her. On being questioned about his presence there, he says that he's confused if she now knows the difference between gratitude and like, since it would be like deceiving him if she only feels gratitude for him, and is thinking it is like. Jiang quickly refuses to have any feelings for him, and our bro realizes that she is just in denial. Therefore, when she still seems to be stuck on how to differentiate the feelings, he proposes to do a test to check whether she likes him or not. After making her promise not to retaliate on the basis of the test, he pulls her into a tight hug. When he slowly lets go of her, both of their faces are flushed, and he tells her that if her heartbeat has quickened now, it means she likes him. She shyly turns her back on him, telling him not to bother her while acting unfazed by the hug. As he leaves, he realizes that she actually likes him too, since she did not pull back from the hug and let him hold her as long as he wanted. On the other hand, Jiang is blushing intensely, and she cups her face in confusion as she now knows the difference between some mere gratitude and the feeling of like, which is tinting her face red right now. When the dinner is ready, she announces it. She makes sure not to have eye contact with Xuqing and sets up the table quietly. The hero thinks that this matter is not as important as making her learn about the modern world's culture and ethics, and the important thing is teaching her how to smile. He remembers how the only time she smiles is when she's curious about a new thing, like when she saw the snow and can't understand the various types of entertainment. He decides to take a step towards teaching her how to smile and plays a comedy movie to watch with her. While watching the movie, he notices that she is still not laughing or smiling even in the funny scenes, and realizes how hard it is to make an ancient person merge into the modern world. Jang is busy playing video games, but our guy feels sleepy, so he heads to bed first after telling her. She watched him leave and then sighed, wondering how to face him with her feelings so evident on her face. After a little while, when it is around 10:30, she gets up from the PC and sneaks into Xuqing's room, who is in deep sleep. She stays there for some time, looking at him while hovering over his face like a ghost, and then decides to leave. When they both come out of their rooms in the morning, Xuqing notices how tired she looks and asks if she didn't sleep well. She had obviously not slept a minute the whole night but lied to him, saying she slept late. After having breakfast, Xuqing takes her out to experience pretty things. They put on their coats and take a walk outside when Jiang looks down at her intertwined hands and asks if this is also one of the pretty things he mentioned to make her experience. With a sly smile he affirms, reasoning that the quickening of the heartbeat is indeed a beautiful experience. He rubs her finger on her palm to tease her and asks if she can feel anything new or different. Flustered by their proximity, she looks at him for a second before quickly pulling her hand back from his grip. He laughs and takes back her hand, saying he was only giving an example to her. In disguise of making her experience the world, Xuqing was making sure he was also giving her introductory classes on dating. They take a bus from 520th Street. When she asks him about their destination, he tries cracking a joke for her to laugh by referencing a meme, but due to her lack of knowledge about this domain, she stares at him blankly in confusion. He chuckles after looking at her reaction and assures her not to worry, and just to put her trust in him as they go around on their experience. They get down from the bus, and he quickly holds her hand again. The way Xuqing was holding her hand and guiding her around made her feel safe and comfortable despite getting treated this way for the first time. The two of them then walk to an electronics shop, and Zhang's eyes widen with surprise and start shining as she looks around at the large number of computers there. After Xuqing tells her that it is a place to buy or sell computers, he leads her to a man named Gao Bo, who is currently working on some part of the computer. Xuqing calls out his name and gets Zhang and himself seated on the chairs in front of Gao Bo. On being asked, our guy explains to Gao Bo that he wants a computer within the range of 20,000 yuan with a flashy case. While Xuqing writes down all of his requirements for the computer he wants to get assembled, Zhang keeps looking around with a mix of awkwardness and curiosity. When our guy is done writing down everything, he hands it to Gao Bo, emphasizing wanting to get the computer put together as early as possible. After our hero instructs him to deliver the computer to the person whose number he has written on the paper, he gets up to leave. Gao Bo asks him why he's leaving so soon, so our guy replies that he is taking his girlfriend around. Xuqing instructs Zhang to remember where they are right now and tells her that the place is called Jiangcheng Square. He patiently explains the directions they took to get here, pointing out a few landmarks along the way, just in case she needs to navigate back on her own. The hero also instructs her about the place where she used to work about 2 years ago, mentioning how she was selling alcohol at a small booth set up nearby during festival seasons, creating a fake story about her. It feels strange to him now, seeing her like this compared to the past he barely knows. He eventually asks if she would be able to make her way by herself now. Zhang assures him with a firm nod that she knows the routes they took and won't get lost. As they are about to leave, Jang notices a small shop nearby and curiously asks if they can go inside. Zhu Qing quickly stops her and lightly taps her forehead, telling her not to get curious about every little place since wandering around like that can easily waste time. Zhang pouts in response but decides not to argue. After walking a bit farther, our bro glances at her and asks whether she's hungry. When she admits that she is, he immediately brings her to a barbecue buffet he had been considering earlier. Once they sit down, Jiang casually remarks that she actually prefers hot pot buffets, since the food can be left simmering without needing constant attention like grilled meat. Xuqing laughs and agrees that her reasoning makes sense, finding her practical thinking amusing. He tells her to relax and just focus on eating until she's satisfied. Xuqing carefully grills the meat, making sure every piece is cooked just right. While doing so, he tells her that sharing warm food together feels a lot like holding hands, something simple yet meaningful. He adds that a good meal isn't just about filling the stomach, but also about feeling satisfied mentally. Jane listens seriously, but then mischievously asks him to bring her some cake for dessert. Xuqing agrees and soon returns with 2 small cakes, one for her and one for himself. Zhang takes a bite and quietly wonders to herself, so this is what mental satisfaction feels like. She doesn't say the thought out loud, but a faint smile appears on her face. After some time, our bro tells her about a small game the restaurant is hosting. If they manage to finish all the food on their plates, they can win a prize. He asks if she wants to try, thinking that no girl, even one who lived thousands of years ago, could resist a plush toy. Xuqing expects her to be excited. Zhang looks over the available prizes and ends up choosing a soft bear simply because its color reminds her of the winter melons she used to eat. When they leave the restaurant, Zhang asks what the point of the bear is. Our guy chuckles and says she can hug it when she sleeps, and when she does, she should think about him. Zhang immediately threatens to rip the bear in half if he keeps saying such embarrassing things, which quickly shuts him up. With most of their date plan finished, food and some window shopping, only the movie remains. The boy tells her that the theater is a bit far, so they should walk there to help digest the food and save some money. Zhang agrees without any hesitation, which surprises him. He jokingly says that most girls would act shy, stomp their feet, and refuse to walk, wanting to be treated like princesses instead. When Zhang looks genuinely puzzled, Xuqing exaggerates the behavior, pouting, stomping, and whining in a high-pitched voice to demonstrate. Zhang stares at him blankly, completely unable to understand why anyone would act that way. Seeing her confused expression, Xuqing laughs so hard that his stomach begins to hurt. Then he mischievously asks if she would like to try acting coy as well. In response, Jang lifts the bear again and threatens to tear it apart if he keeps insisting. Our guy immediately raises his hands in surrender and backs off, thinking that maybe her straightforward nature was better after all. When they arrive at the movie theater, Jang asks why they can't simply watch movies at home. Xuqing explains that it feels different because they are on a date, and watching a film in a theater creates a completely different atmosphere compared to sitting at home. He points out that whenever they watch movies at home, she treats them too seriously, almost as if she is studying or completing a mission. According to him, movies are meant to be relaxing, not something to analyze like a task. He tells her that inside the theater they will sit quietly in the dark and simply enjoy the film. Our boy reminds her not to make noise, and if she wants to do something else, she should quietly leave the theater first so she does not disturb anyone. After explaining all that, he suddenly asks in a serious tone whether he can hold her hand while they watch. Jang stares at him in confusion, wondering why he would want to do that. In her mind, her hands are rough and unattractive. She recalls the story of Dung Tuzi, who loves his wife even though she is not beautiful and even has 4 children with her. Thinking about it, Jang concludes that our guy must be like Dung Tuzi. She firmly warns him not to ask that question again, which startles our guy a little. He wonders how someone so young can be so fierce. Jang then suggests that he should quickly improve his martial arts so that they can properly spar with each other one day. Before she can refuse again, our guy quickly grabs her hand and pulls her toward the theater entrance. Once inside, he introduces her to popcorn and buys a large bucket for them to share. As the movie begins, Jang stares seriously at the large screen. When our guy tries to hold her hand again, she immediately pulls it away. He remembers how they have held hands before, and cannot help noticing that she now seems determined to avoid it. Meanwhile, Jang is thinking about how rough her hands are and how unpleasant they must feel to touch. She glances at Xuqing and suddenly imagines him asking her to have children with him. Embarrassed by her own strange imagination, she quickly shakes her head. Xuqing notices the odd expression on her face and wonders what she could possibly be thinking about to make such a face. After the movie ends, they slowly walk out of the theater. Jang suddenly asks why he likes holding her hand so much. The hero does not know how to answer and awkwardly looks away. Jang then stretches out her hand and tells him to hold it properly this time. Xuqing senses that she must have gone through some kind of internal struggle before saying that. He carefully takes her hand, feeling quietly thankful inside. Smiling, he calls her his little warrioress and asks if she likes the movie. Jang nods and says it is good. As they walk, our guy tells her that watching movies can actually help improve her thinking. He explains that films can broaden her horizons and help her build what he calls the 3 modern views: her worldview, her values, and her outlook on life. He says it will be a slow process, but he will guide her step by step. Then, half joking, he admits that he might trick her a little along the way and asks her not to hit him when she eventually realizes it. Jang looks at him thoughtfully, considering his words. Unsure how to respond, she decides to remain silent for now. Xuqing wonders if Jang has noticed that she has become a bit empty-headed lately. When she questions him, he explains what he means. When they first met, she was like a wild kitten with its fur standing on end, ready to draw her sword and show her fangs at the slightest provocation. In the months that followed, she began drawing her sword less often, though she still kept her guard up. On the surface she appeared calm, but she remained cautious and would quietly verify things behind the scenes. However, recently, ever since the day he told her he liked her, she has become much more gullible, believing almost everything he says. Xuqing jokes that if he really wanted to, he could easily trick her into kissing him without much effort. Jang immediately tightens her grip on his hand, wondering what exactly went wrong and why she has started acting like that. Our boy calmly explains that it is normal for girls in love to behave foolishly sometimes, especially when it is their first time experiencing those feelings. Jang shouts that she is not in love at all. She is simply enjoying the beauty of the world, while simultaneously crushing his hand in her grip. She finally releases him, and our guy admits that he will not rush her to figure out her feelings. He even suggests that perhaps the reason she is acting this way is not because she likes him, but because she has grown dependent on him, much like she once depended on her second miss. Jang quietly admits that he might be right. Xuqing then tells her she should learn how to distinguish between gratitude and genuine feelings towards someone. Otherwise, if she keeps being so naive, he worries that he might not be able to resist taking advantage of that innocence to trick her. Jang grows flustered when he leans closer, and casually admits that he is falling more and more in love with her. She thinks about how he is practically giving her advance warning before trying to trick her. Xuqing confesses again that it is simply because he likes her. Jang smiles faintly at his sincere words, and the two of them board the bus together. She asks about his hand, wondering if it still hurts. Our guy jokes that she should try using less strength next time. Hearing that, Jang quietly notes that he is already talking about a next time. When they arrive home, Xuqing opens the door and is greeted by Winter Melon. He kneels down and asks if the cat is asking for food. After playing with it for a moment, he gives it something to eat while thinking about how Jiang still seems completely clueless about anything related to romance. In fact, she seems to understand it about as well as he did when he was in 5th grade. Remembering the awkward times when he rejected girls in the past, he cannot help feeling slightly traumatized by those memories. He soon starts forming a plan. If Jiang is going to understand romance better, he will probably need help from old romance stories. He stays up all night editing things and eventually begins thinking about dinner. Xuqing knocks on Jiang's door. When she opens it, she asks why he is there. The hero wonders if she has been sleeping the whole time, and she admits that she did sleep for a bit. Our boy checks her temperature and notices that she looks slightly feverish, but the thermometer shows that her temperature is normal. Jiang insists that she is fine and says that she will make dinner now. The hero suddenly realizes that Jiang is a girl and that she will be sick for a few days every month. He quickly pours her a cup of water, urges her to rest, and cooks 2 packs of noodles himself. He even adds garlic, thinking happily that she is the best since she eats both garlic and onions. Our hero soon receives a call from his friend, who excitedly tells him that Xuqing's friend is amazing and that the computer is finally done. He just tried using it and says it is even better than his previous one, smooth and incredibly fast. Meanwhile, Jiang sits quietly searching on a website about the difference between the feelings of liking someone and dependency, her brows furrowed in deep confusion. After a couple of snowfalls, the coldest part of winter arrives. Xuqing's dad asks his wife to carefully probe our guy and find out whether he has already run out of money. He remarks that it is still not too late for their son to find a proper job. Meanwhile, the mother is distracted by another concern entirely. She keeps thinking about the girl and how she still hasn't managed to get close to her. Later, our Guy and Jiang arrive at the house carrying many things with them, their hands full of groceries and gifts. His mother warmly welcomes them inside. Shuqing curiously asks his mom what she is making, and proudly tells her that Jiang cooks amazing food and could even help her in the kitchen. However, his mother politely declines the offer. Watching his son boast like that irritates our Guy's father, who feels that he is being arrogant. The hero and Jiang sit down on the sofa to watch TV. Shuqing's father quietly observes them for a while before suddenly asking Jiang what she does for a living. Our boy had already warned Jiang that they would not be able to avoid such questions, and told her that if his parents asked anything, she should simply repeat what he had taught her. Jiang follows his instructions perfectly. She calmly explains that through the use of integrated circuits and microprocessors, she connects to online services through a modem and performs high-speed information exchanges with other users on the online service platform. Although Shuqing's father does not actually understand anything she says, he pretends that he does and compliments her anyway, thinking that it sounds professional enough. The hero quickly agrees and adds that the work is extremely difficult and mentally exhausting. Still curious, his father continues probing and asks what she mainly does during her work. Jiang calmly replies that she uses a set of number and letter keycaps to coordinate the X and Y positions of the on-screen cursor in order to initiate a sequence of interactions with other users. This explanation impresses our Guy's father even more. He thinks Jiang seems extremely capable and concludes that our Guy must have used up all his luck in life to find such a competent girlfriend. However, he still cannot resist lecturing his son. He tells Shuqing that he should join a proper company, hinting that making videos is not a reliable career. According to him, Shuqing's videos might be enough to feed one person for now, but they will never be enough to sustain him for the rest of his life. Shuqing immediately asks why his work has to sustain him for his entire life. His father then asks what he actually plans to do in the future. Our Guy confidently declares that he will grow his work into a large and powerful business. He says he will open an office, establish a company, and eventually get it listed on the stock market. By that time, he proudly claims he will be the CEO of a listed company, and his father will be the father of a CEO. Their family will become wealthy in this generation and earn the respect of everyone around them. His father becomes furious upon hearing this and angrily curses at him, asking if he thinks his father is a fool. He even threatens to beat him, but suddenly stops halfway through his sentence when he notices Jiang sitting nearby. He quickly restrains himself, thinking that family matters should stay within the family and should not be displayed in front of outsiders. Shuqing calmly argues that everyone has their own fate and asks why his father cannot understand that. He then remembers that his mother once took him to have his fortune told. An old man read his fate and wrote several things down on a piece of parchment. Our boy retrieves the parchment and reads it aloud. It says that he is destined to resist becoming an official, that he enjoys having fun, that he is fair-minded yet aggressive, full of energy, and compassionate toward those weaker than himself. It also says that he possesses the temperament of a tiger. After reading it, our Guy firmly tells his father that this is simply his fate, and that no matter what happens, he cannot work in a company. Shuqing's father questions why he even bothered taking a picture of the fortune slip. Our Guy explains that he wants to keep it so he can later have his girlfriend's fortune told as well, since she believes in such things. Hearing this, his father bursts into laughter, saying that fortune-telling is something only fools believe in, yet Shuqing still takes it seriously. The hero shoots back that the fortune-teller only wrote favorable things about him because he nearly turned into a hooligan when he was younger. His father grows irritated and insists that it was only because he, as the boy's father, kept him under strict control that our Guy did not go astray. He immediately argues back, saying that every teenager goes through a rebellious phase, and it was not solely because of his father's discipline. The argument escalates until the father and son stand face to face, glaring at each other intensely. Before things can get worse, Shuqing's mother sharply orders them to stop fighting. She quietly pulls her husband aside and reminds him not to cause a scene in front of Jiang. With an annoyed huff, the father stands up and storms out of the room. Turning back to Jiang, the mother reassures her that the two of them are simply bickering and that she should not take it seriously. She invites Jiang to sit down and get ready for dinner before leaving Shuqing and Jiang alone. The moment his mother disappears, our Guy turns to Jiang with a grin and suddenly pushes a peeled orange into her mouth. He praises her performance earlier, saying she handled his father's questions like a professional. Jiang shyly agrees while he continues feeding her orange slices one after another out of boredom. After a moment, Shuqing grabs her hand and studies it carefully. He wonders how hands that appear so ordinary at first glance could possess such frightening strength. He cannot help but question whether that power truly comes from her own body or from something else. Jiang becomes embarrassed again when she notices his fascination with her hands and silently wonders why he finds staring at her palms so interesting. Suddenly, Jiang grabs his hand in return and declares that she will examine his hands as well. She observes that his hands are noticeably larger than hers and that his fingernails are short, clean, and neatly trimmed. Shuqing casually asks if she knows how to read palms. At once, Jiang lets go of his hand and denies it, saying she does not know anything about palmistry and that he should not even ask such a thing. Later, after dinner, our bro approaches his mother and asks whether he can bring Jiang over during the New Year celebrations. His mother wonders if Jiang will not be going back to her own home. The hero honestly explains that Jiang has no family and would otherwise spend the New Year alone. His mother pauses briefly, making sure that he is being serious. After a short silence, she tells him that he can bring Jiang over without any problem. She then teasingly asks whether he has enough money to take care of a girlfriend. The boy proudly puffs out his chest and declares that he definitely has enough. Feeling satisfied, he begins carrying the dishes to the table. When dinner is finished, Shuqing and Jiang say goodbye to his parents and prepare to leave. However, just as they are about to step out, a potato suddenly drops out of Jiang's pocket. His parents immediately notice it and ask why she is carrying a potato in her pocket. Thinking quickly, Shuqing makes up an excuse. He explains that Jiang does not have an affinity with earth elements, so she needs to carry a potato as a kind of talisman. They chose a potato instead of dirt because it is more portable. Without hesitation, he picks the potato up and slips it back into Jiang's pocket, carefully hiding the real reason, that the potato was actually being used to track her. Shuqing's mother laughs at the explanation and jokes that she will cook more potato dishes for Jiang next time, since she must really enjoy potatoes. Hearing this, Jiang politely bows and thanks her for her kindness. His mother warmly reassures her, saying that she was just as shy when she first met Shuqing's grandmother, so there is no need for Jiang to feel embarrassed. As Shuqing and Jiang finally leave, his mother watches them walk away. In her heart, she feels that the two of them look very compatible together. She quietly hopes that they will not face disagreements in the the future, and that they can continue living happily side by side. As they start walking, Jiang asks the meaning of like, to which Xuqing explains that if she wants someone to be all hers, she will want to get closer to that person. Like when she wants to buy a delicious cake, she has to spend money. But Jiang shows her concern that if she can't afford it, then our boy tells her that in that case, she will have to work hard to earn money and give it her all in order to get her likely things. He further adds that wanting something to make it hers without making an effort doesn't count as liking. He continues that he doesn't want to deceive her because he likes her and offers to leave if she doesn't feel the same way. He'll respect her choice. It will be considered licking you by giving his all without wanting to make her his. Suddenly he hesitates and clears that he doesn't mean something odd by saying the word licking. This doesn't seem simple as he says to Jiang. She feels tricked by this sentence. She wonders if he doesn't want her to be his, then why he would touch her hands. Xuqing smirks and adds that being willingly tricked by someone is sometimes considered as liking, at which Jiang shouts, clearing that she doesn't have feelings for him. Our guy smiles intentionally and says he is talking generally. He doesn't mention anything about her liking him, at which Jiang blushes and wonders if she likes when he blows dry her hair, helps grill meat for her, cook noodles for her, or she likes her hand to be held. A minute later, she asks about love, which makes our guy wonders if she is enlightened all of a sudden, as she is asking questions like these recently. Then he answers that when the hearts of two people become one, and they spend time to understand each other, it's called love. Jiang asks about his feelings, to which Xuqing offers her a kiss to be able to understand his feelings. Jiang trembles, saying she doesn't believe him, as her face gets all red. Later, they left to get home. Upon reaching home, Xuqing decides to finish his video edits before heading to bed. Jiang sits beside him and asks if he ever thought about what if someday she goes back. Clueless, our boy replies that she will be able to make a name in history and become successful as long as she is able to protect her achievements. Jiang clears that she is talking about him, to which our guy replies, referring to liking someone as an irrational thing, and her going back doesn't change his feelings. He smirks and asks if there is something between him and her able to go back. Jiang blushes. He suggests enjoying the moment rather than thinking of some conditions. She is in front of him, at least for now. Jiang wonders if she is being tricked or coerced. Our hero mentions they are in a state of ambiguity as long as she doesn't hit him, and hands her a bear, suggesting to hit it if she wants. Jiang says that she doesn't believe him and her previous self would have definitely hit him. Xuqing offers that she can hit or pinch him if she doesn't like his advances. He won't do it. But Jiang refuses, at which our hero declares that it could be feelings of liking, or else she would be sick of him. This is the part of his plan, and he accepts that he tries to get close to her because he likes her and wants to show off his good parts in order to gain her recognition, which proves that he will treat her well. Jiang nervously calls him shameless and dung tuzi. Just then she hits him in the stomach and leaves with a red face. The following day, Jiang offers to teach Xuqing a martial art after he mentions wanting to improve his physical strength. However, she trains him with such intensity that our boy begins to suspect she might be taking the chance to get revenge for the other day. Feeling uneasy, he tries to decline the training, but Jiang insists that once he learns the technique, he might finally be able to land a hit on her instead of constantly being on the receiving end. Xuqing laughs and says he would never hit her, though deep inside he knows that even after learning the martial art, he would probably still be the one getting beaten. To demonstrate, Jiang performs one of her techniques called the Tang Fist, which is built around 3 key points and 6 parts of the body, focusing mainly on palm-based strikes. As she launches a punch toward him, Xuqing immediately drops to his knees and begs her to postpone the training until tomorrow, claiming that his chest still hurts. Jiang agrees and heads off to prepare breakfast. While working, Jiang starts thinking that if Xuqing ever surpasses her martial arts skills, it would mean he truly has talent in this field. If that ever happens, he might stop fearing her completely, since he could simply overpower her and make her do whatever he wants. Meanwhile, Xuqing is still lost in his own thoughts when Jiang suddenly appears beside him, startling him and reminding him not to slack off and to keep working hard. Later, before leaving the house, Xuqing tells Jiang not to open the door for strangers and to call him if anything happens. Since he expects to return later than usual, he quickly grabs her hand and gives it a squeeze before rushing out the door. The sudden gesture leaves Jiang blushing, though she also feels slightly annoyed. After some time, Xuqing arrives at the house of his friend Zijun to remind him about their upcoming class reunion. Zijun had completely forgotten about it and asked our guy to come inside while he changed his clothes. The hero hesitates, half expecting to walk into some inappropriate scene, but Zijun quickly explains that he recently broke up with his girlfriend. He even asks Xuqing if he did not see the posts about it. Once Zijun finishes getting ready, the two of them head out to meet their former classmates. During the trip, Zijun complains about how his girlfriend suddenly dumped him without any clear reason, describing the whole relationship as a complete mess. Our boy then casually asks about his car, since he came specifically hoping to get a ride. Zijun awkwardly admits that he cannot afford it anymore after getting into a fight with his father and losing financial support. Slightly annoyed, our guy suggests that they simply take the train instead. While riding the train, Zijun suddenly notices a girl carrying a yellow handbag that looks strangely familiar. Moments later, the girl angrily calls out to him, confirming that she is actually one of his ex-girlfriends. Nervous, Zijun tries to ease the tension by speaking sweetly to her. When he notices several paintbrushes in her bag, he recalls that she used to enjoy painting. Instead of being impressed, she responds with heavy sarcasm. Trying to avoid further awkwardness, Zijun quickly suggests they not dwell on the past and asks how she has been lately. She calmly replies that she has been doing well, eating properly and staying healthy. She then looks at him and comments that he, on the other hand, does not seem to be in very good condition these days. Zygon awkwardly agrees with her observation. Watching this exchange makes our guy feel strangely lonely. Even though the two claim to have broken up, the emotions in their eyes still linger, making them look more like a couple than strangers. Seeing this makes Xuqing suddenly think about Jiang waiting at home. Without thinking too much, he pulls out his phone and sends her a message confessing his feelings. Jiang gets a notification of a message as he opens the chat. It's Xuqing's text, at which she gets annoyed over his nonsense stuff, but blushes as well. She also finds his profile picture irritating as him. Completely ignoring the main text, she asked him if he also wants her to wash his clothes, to which our guy agrees. As she checks his room to find his clothes, she sees her slippers that she wore when she first arrived. She wonders if Xuqing not only likes her hands but also her slippers. Back there, our boy is blushing and lost in his thoughts. Zian asks him to catch the classmates first, and he'll join in the afternoon as he has something urgent to look at. Later, when Xuqing joins the mates, they ask for Zijun as they were supposed to come together. Our boy mentions that he ran into his ex-girlfriend, so he'll probably be late, at which one of his classmates sarcastically comments that peasants like them won't be able to understand understand rich man's world. Then he asks Shu Qing about his busy schedule as they haven't hung out in a while. The hero explains how he has been so busy recently and doesn't get the time to relax as it's the end of the year. On this, one of the mates mentions how he worked overtime and had to crawl his way to hang with them, at which the other one mocks him by asking him to show the performance of how he crawls. After a while, Shu Qing grabs a drink and stands alone at the corner as he gets bored and misses little Jiang. At the time of the dinner, a classmate notices a change in Shu Qing's self and asks about it, to which he says that he has been so tired recently, so it might be the reason. He offers our guy to join them at karaoke so he can cheer up, but he politely refuses, mentioning that he is drunk and he has to get sober up a little. As the mate leaves, our guy wonders why he liked these gatherings in the past. He wonders if he is influenced by Jiang and changes his old life into new. As the gathering gets over, suddenly the hero receives a call from Zijun. As he picks up the call, Zijun cries out loud and begs to save him. Half an hour later, Shu Qing reaches Zijun. As he knocks on the door, Zijun shows up in a towel only, crying. Shu Qing questions if he has been blackmailed by his ex-girlfriend. Zijun explains how he gets tricked by his girlfriend when he follows her here, and she insists him to take a shower. As he got out after a shower, she was left with all his clothes. Our boy mocks him, asking if that's all, which makes Zijun annoyed. He calls her ex-girlfriend evil and shameless. After that, Zijun suggests heading to the karaoke together, but Shu Qing calmly refuses to go, as from the past half a year he didn't come out much, but Zijun calls, declares him drunk, and suggests he go so he can get well. Our bro again refuses to go and asks to just have meals with the close ones occasionally. He don't feel like partying anymore and want to stay grounded. Our bro keeps lying on the hotel bed and tells Zijun to go and enjoy the karaoke without him since he wants to relax in peace. Zijun informs him that he can stay in the hotel room while he recovers from the alcohol till afternoon and leaves. After Zijun leaves, Shu Qing thinks about this non-partying life he has started for the person he is living together with. He thinks about how he has been planning ways to convince Jiang to marry him, but he should also know that marriage is not something that simple. Our guy arrives home with his legs wobbly from being drunk and slumps his body over Jiang. She manages to take him inside while he does drunk talks. By the time she realizes how drunk he is, he tilts her chin up and starts flirting with her, so she pushes him off onto the couch. She pinches her nose and asks him how drunk he is, but he refuses and says he had very little alcohol. The hero puts a bag of pork ribs, which he bought for her, and tells her it'll be tasty after stewing them. She happily picks it up, deciding to stew them the next day. When she notices him still sitting on the couch, she asks him why he isn't going to sleep in his room, so he says he will go after a while. Later, when Jiang is using the computer, she comes across something named The Golden Lotus, a mature movie, on the computer and asks him about it. He lunges towards the computer from the couch and immediately deletes it. When she asks the reason for his actions, he makes up a lie saying it's related to reincarnation, which would be so much for her to watch right now since her knowledge is still low. Shu Qing can't believe how Jiang learned to check the download history and asked him why he deleted it if he could just forbid her from watching it. He replies that he has just hidden it for now and sighs at how narrowly he dodged the bullet. After a while, Jiang finds him asleep on the couch and puts a blanket over him. She looks at him closely until suddenly, she is hit by the flashbacks of him getting close to her in order to flirt. She immediately pulls herself back from him and runs away to prepare dinner as a distraction from her flustered self. Quite later, Shu Qing finally wakes up from his deep sleep on the couch with a heavy head. Jiang is watching some movie on the computer while having her dinner and tells him that she has prepared porridge for him instead, since she suspected he would have a hangover. He smiles to himself at the fact that she deeply cares about him in secret, like putting a blanket over him and preparing porridge for him. Shu Qing gets up from the couch and notices that Jiang is watching one of the movies he had selected for her, and tells him the context about it somewhat resembling her era. When he mentions things changing over time, she wonders if Second Miss's words have also become outdated over the course of time. When Jiang has left the computer to take a shower before bed, Shu Qing sneaks up onto the chair to check out her search history once again, since he feels a bit off about her once again. However, to his surprise, when he clicks on the search engine, he finds out that her search history has been cleared. Jiang comes out of the washroom after taking a shower with a towel over her head. Our boy can't help but have his eyes follow her as she walks from the bathroom door to the dining table across the room behind him. Intoxicated by her beauty, he tilts his head backward to look at her and says he'd be involved in a crime if he wasn't afraid of getting killed by her. Jiang asks him what he'd have done to her if she was defenseless when they first met, so he answers that he'd have handed her over to the security, thinking she was a cosplaying Chunabu. She asks him if he would not have committed a crime, and it makes him shocked at the fact that she thought of him like that. While Jiang dries her hair with the help of a hairdryer, Shu Qing breaks the silence by questioning her about her feelings for him now. She turns off the hairdryer, and after a pause, she claims not to know it. Getting a slightly different answer than he had expected, he turns around to look at her and asks if this lifestyle suits her better than the previous one. When she claims to like this lifestyle better, he tells her how he finds the world quite exciting, and she will get it too when she is turned into a modern person like him. He tells her how he feels so ordinary after comparing himself to others, and this makes an awkward silence between them. When she doesn't say anything, he asks her if she doesn't have anything to say. He then tells her how basic and ordinary the life they are living together is, so if he manages to somehow pursue her and get married to her by his charms, he would be selfishly destroying the future opportunities awaiting her in the future. She looks at him and asks him why he feels so bad about being ordinary, because if it wasn't for his help, she would not even be ordinary. So when she asks him the reason for saying all this, he confesses that the thought of them being together or married frightens him and makes him confused, because it feels like he should be more thoughtful of his actions instead of mindlessly following his wishes. He internally wonders if he should be slow about his advances or pursue her with all of his tricks. Thinking about it, he gets an idea to get closer to her. He tells her dramatically how his chest hurts at the place where she bumped her head, suspecting if it is some internal injury. Too innocent to understand his tricks, when he asks her to rub his chest to soothe the pain, she asks him if it actually hurts that bad. He affirms, over-exaggerating about her strength, so she walks over to him and rubs his chest after sitting beside him. Shu Qing feels so happy and talks about the saying that all encounters in life are a long overdue reunion, so if she were actually defenseless at the time when they met, the outcomes would be extremely different from how they are now. She suddenly asks if that means he'd stop tricking him, and that word annoys him, so he tells her to remove that word from her mind. Zhu King thinks how the whole day he was only thinking of ways to marry her and convincing his parents in case of any unfortunate scenarios, but all she could worry about was him tricking her. He decides to keep her close for now, but when he tries to pull her towards himself, she won't budge due to having having a firm sitting position as a martial artist. Shuqing can't help but feel embarrassed, so he excuses himself instead and goes for a shower. Jiang's cheeks flushed as she debated whether she should have let him pull her closer. On the flip side, in the shower our boy thinks to himself that maybe he is now just a little far from it, or else she would not have given him such a hint. Stepping out of the shower, he spots Jiang using the PC even when it's already past 10, but she assures him that she will be sleeping after looking into something. As he figures that since the mood had already changed, he might as well do something productive. Skyscrapers weren't built out of thin air, they rose from tons of layers of hard work. So, settling onto the sofa with his laptop, he decides to take the chance to write a review of Farewell My Concubine and even polish his film critique skills. Seeing him work, Jiang gets intrigued, approaches him, and interrogates him about his work. Shuqing is so distracted with her being so close that he still manages to explain to her that it makes him earn money. Yet when she shows interest in doing it too, he completely denies it since she hasn't studied modern education. He even mocks her with his serious expressions, explaining that observing something and expressing it are two different things, just like how she likes him but cannot bring herself to say it out loud, which annoys her, and she neglects the fact that she might actually like him. Changing the topic, he questions her reviews on Farewell My Concubine. She is unsure, suggesting that times have changed. Amused, he declares sarcastically that it's now time for her to get a lesson from Teacher Shu. He explains that some believe films have expanded the human lifespan by deepening their perspectives on life. He points out that whether in opera or real life, the protagonist is suffering from love, and appreciating that requires seeing beyond the surface. Since she couldn't fully grasp the character, she isn't really connecting with the film or its actual meaning, and that's why she needs to read and watch more to understand the deepness behind the movie or the character. She is listening to him carefully, but obviously Shuqing can't really hold on to a serious conversation and wants to express his feelings towards her, so in his teasing, playful tone, he asks if she enjoys looking into books, but when she is unsure of her answer, with a grin, he challenges her to guess who enjoys looking at her. This confuses her. Before she could comprehend, without hesitating, Shuqing demands a hug, and when she says nothing, he hugs her immediately, whispering into her ear that he will always be greedy for her and promising to become a gentleman for her in order to support a family, and then he goes to bed, leaving her cheeks flushed with shyness. The next morning, Shuqing is looking into his savings, the ones he has been doing since his university days, 40,000 yuan, as he has been thinking about settling down after Jiang has entered his life. After liquidating a large portion of his stock investments and avoiding the bear market with minimal losses, he reflects on his earnings. He estimates that his uploaded videos can make around 4,000 to 6,000 yuan, but the income is unstable. His film reviews aren't getting him money either, as he's still building an audience. Realizing the need for progress, he decides to speed up his work and attract more attention, aiming for more views, likes, and engagement. He can relate to the old man's advice, not wanting to live a mediocre life, and if things go this way, he should search for a job. His thoughts are interrupted when Jiang informs him about food being ready, but at the same time she looks at all the cards and is now interested to know what these are, so Shuqing explains about the cards being there to store money, so he links his account with hers. After some time, both Jiang and Shuqing are ready to go out for a walk, but Melon starts being clingy, so they end up taking him out with them too. Our hero could see the decorations being up. It's almost New Year, and since it's Jiang's first time, our guy decides to make it a special and memorable one for her. However, just then, Melon angrily seats himself on the ground, thinking that our guy is about to abandon it, since he picked it up from a nearby trash can. He assures him, while patting him, that he won't do it, and they didn't go by that lane. After that, while holding hands and talking about random stuff, they wander around, but just then, they see children playing around. Jiang can't help but think how peaceful all this is, though Qing recognizes one of the kids, Auntie Cheng's granddaughter, Shi Yanhan. As soon as Shi Yanhan sees our boy, she quickly runs towards him and hugs him. The hero even makes her greet Jiang and Melon. Then, Jiang gives Melon to Shi Yanhan, while she and her friends play with it. Shuqing and Jiang sit at the corner, and he explains to her how his neighborhood is pretty nice and kind. He acknowledges the fact that Aunt Cheng's a gossip queen, but at the same time, whenever he was locked out of his house in his childhood, she looked out for him to take him back to his home. He further elaborates he moved to this old apartment after getting admission to college, but he moved to a new house back then. Nostalgia is hitting him hard. This area is filled with his childhood memories. However, Jiang knows Shuqing made her greet that little girl because of some reason, so our guy confronts her rather than beating around the bush that he wants her to get to know more people, otherwise, she'll be a loner. During the conversation, Yan Yan suddenly runs up to them and asks if Jiang is Shuqing's girlfriend, surprising him with how much she knows. Amused, our guy playfully turns the question back on her, yet she becomes embarrassed and shyly explains that a girlfriend just means a female friend. This makes Qing grin, though he assures her that she can come by more to play with Melon if she wants, and even with Jiang He. As the kid leaves, our guy changes the topic, revealing that he is a hand freak, meaning he likes hands a lot, but this confuses Jiang because he has been obsessed with them from the start. But deep down, our guy knows he has limited permission, and if not, he would have shown her what kind of a pervert he really is. Later on, at home, Jiang trains our guy in martial arts, explaining that Tang Fist focuses on empty-handed combat, speed, and targeting vital points to end a fight in one strike. Shuqing is frustrated, not wanting her to demonstrate it since he hasn't learned it, but sighs, realizing he couldn't escape martial arts after all. While they are training, they hear a knock at the door. Upon opening the gate, he spots Yanhan with her homework. She wants to play with Melon. She greets Jian and immediately goes to Melon, who is sleeping. After waking it up, she is playing with it. Although the hero sees that she hasn't started her homework yet, he gives her the option to do it with Melon. Meanwhile, the little girl is doing her homework, and Chang is editing on his laptop. His gaze shifts to Jiang, who is staring at Yanhan, so he suggests she take a look at Yanhan's language work, due to the fact that she should be able to recognize the words inside it, and might even solve some questions. Yet she has already completed most of her questions, but some left are explained by Xu Qiang to her. Looking at him explaining to Yanhan, Jiang gets a reminder of the accountant in the village who taught her how to read, but obviously our bro is way more knowledgeable than that old man. However, it is already late, so Qing offers Yanhan to have dinner before leaving. After having dinner, Qing tells Jiang to send her home, which is just upstairs. Though the little girl insists on going alone, Qing makes Jiang go with her. At the apartment door, as soon as Aunt Chung opens the door, Jiang freezes, but when she sees Chung being nice and friendly to her granddaughter, advising her to thank Jiang, she feels a little ease. Aunt Chung even advises her granddaughter to complete her homework with our bro more often in order to hang out with her. After getting back to her apartment, our guy has showered and suggests she take a shower and sleep quickly, as they will go out tomorrow to buy New Year's items. In that case, she is quickly leaving for a shower but stops when Ching asks her if she wants food, as he is making some. So even after having dinner, they end up having supper too. Even after eating, Jiang still feels a bit hungry, but Shu Qing teases her about turning fat like melon if she keeps eating at night. He jokes about checking her stomach to see if she's full, and though she pretends she isn't, her belly indicates otherwise. Ching playfully insists on checking himself and going to sleep. He reminds her not to sneak into his room to do freaky stuff to him since a full belly leads to impulsive desires, making her cheeks heat up because of embarrassment. The next day, both Jiang and Ching go out to buy New Year's items. That is when the hero greets Uncle Zhao, who is smoking. Before they leave, our guy advises Zhao to stay away from smoking, but that old man is already close to dying, and only cigarettes are keeping him alive. While hanging out, the hero glances at girls who are in skirts, and glances at Jiang, who is in thick leggings, so he gives her the option to try them out, but Jiang prefers these because they are warm, not understanding how these girls don't feel cold. However, taking her hand, he informs her to hurry up. They have a lot to do today. Since it's New Year's, firstly, he wants her to change her hair a bit. At the salon, he meets the barber, informing him about getting their hair done. Upon seating herself, she is nervous, not knowing what to do or say, so she shows her urgency to our boy to let her have a haircut like his mom's, but he quickly denies, guiding the barber according to himself. After her haircut, it is all thinned out, and her fringes are neat too. Ching can't help but grin while looking at her because she looks prettier now. Now, they are heading out to a mall to buy her some new clothes and shoes, since he wants her to wear a new outfit from top to bottom on New Year's Day. As they head out, they run into a dog, which looks pretty angry, so our guy suggests staying away from it and going around it by crossing the road, but Jiang isn't afraid of it. It is like a small fry in front of her, so she steps forward and scares the dog away with her killing intent. However, Jiang doesn't find it killing intent because, according to her, the dog sensed that it can't win from her. Simultaneously, he warns her to not ever think about killing or fighting off people or animals, no matter what, and he is letting it go this time, but it won't happen again, and he confirms from her if she is reminiscing about the blood-filled days from before, but Jiang finds all of this peaceful, and she would never want to fight with others if everything in her life and surroundings is stable. Then, they head out to the mall. Pressing forward after shopping, they got back home, exhausted, but at the same time, Jiang's face lit up to see all the stuff they had bought. The hero can see it on her face, how happy she is, but advises her to stop looking for that time and help him get some glue to put couplets around, as not putting up these couplets during the new year doesn't make people think that it is actually New Year's, since it is a tradition that families paste these, and if not, then it doesn't feel like a festival. After pasting those, Ching demands the feedback, but Jiang finds them shorter than the others she has seen, which makes our guy shocked because he wasn't expecting her to compare the couplets. Although as soon as she admits she prefers the longer one, a smirk forms on his face, and he confidently claims that makes him the best. After finishing with the couplets, our guy's face lights up at the sight of Auntie Cheng outside their home. Delighted, he asks her to take a photo of him and Jiang in front of the door, which is framed by the festive red paper. Happily, he quickly grabs Jiang's hand and poses for the picture. Meanwhile, Jiang stands stiff, and her expressions are unsure as the camera clicks. After clicking and glancing at the picture, Auntie Chung comes closer and wonders aloud if they're ushering in the new year here. When our guy agrees in response, she chuckles at the thought, ushering in the new year while already living together under one roof? They will definitely be getting married very soon. Chuckling, she heads out with Yanhan, leaving those two alone. Inside the apartment, Ching puts the fish on the stove for cooking, and then both of them take a sigh of relief, especially our hero because he is very tired. He glances at their photo for a moment from before, then turns to see Jiang. He is sitting beside him, quietly eating some nuts. Noticing this, he leans in and demands to have some too, while blushing. Confused, she reaches to give him one. He suddenly opens his mouth, expecting her to feed him, but instead of feeding him properly, she tosses the nut straight into his mouth, shocking him. However, he shows her the picture too. Jiang quickly notices his wicked smile in the picture, but then the hero makes her notice the seriousness on her face too, though he decides to put on some filters on the picture to make it look vintage. Not having any idea about filters, Jiang looks at our guy with confused expressions. At the same time, our guy texted his family group about bringing Jiang to their house and letting his mom teach how to make dumplings. Afterwards, at his parents' place while making dumplings, out of curiosity, Ching's mom interrogates her about what they generally eat at home, so Jiang innocently reveals that they have porridge or noodles in the morning while she makes some quick food for lunch and dinner. She even mentions that they have supper at times too. This shocks the hero's mother, as her son never woke up till afternoon but now even wakes up for breakfast as well, even having 3 to 4 meals a day, but then she glances over at the beautiful girl her son has, making her realize that maybe living with a girl changes a boy. In the other room, Ching and his dad are munching on some snacks, and that is when they hear a knock. Upon opening the door, our guy spots Hyozi, who has bought some goodies for his friend's dad, since at his home they couldn't finish those. Hyozi is shocked to see his friend, yet our guy acts clingy with his friend. In the meantime, his dad is frustrated to see his son's friend getting benefits from working while his son doesn't even work, so ignoring them, he walks away to sit on his sofa. The hero brings up the girl Hyozi met through matchmaking, curious about how things are with her, but it probably didn't go well since Hyozi brushes it off quickly, telling him to change the subject for now and assuring him to explain everything later. Their conversation is interrupted when Ching's mom thanks him for bringing all the stuff and offers him to stay for dinner as she made dumplings. Hyozi begins to deny, but as soon as he notices Jiang making dumplings, he grabs our guy, annoyed by the fact that he is way too capable since Hyozi's girl wasn't even genuine, and they forced things out, but at the same time, his friend's girlfriend is making food at his parents' place. Though he then begins to leave, which makes our guy shocked because he expected his friend to investigate more, but what is there to even investigate when a girl is making dumplings in his home? However, before leaving, he instructs our guy to spend some time with his dad. Hyozi won't be home at New Year's because of his assigned duty somewhere else. Later on at night, At first Jiang is a little hesitant to eat. It is her first time trying out dumplings, but when Qing's mom assures her to eat up, she starts eating instantly. She finds the girl pretty pitiful, but at the same time genuine too. She is quite happy that she ate so much food, but at the same time, the dad's reaction is quite the opposite. He frowns, thinking if his son actually brought his girl to their house so that she could have that much food for free. After arriving back at their apartment, our guy is happy that Jiang has finally learned how to make dumplings, though Jiang needs a little more practice to be perfect at making it evenly. Sitting on the sofa, being relaxed, he explains to her that in the north, eating dumplings on New Year's is a must, just like sticking couplets on the walls. He explains, it's like how people eat mooncakes during the Mid-Autumn Festival and rice dumplings during the Dragon Boat Festival. If they don't have dumplings for the new year, it just feels weird. It's not only the time they live in, but also where they live that shapes how they see or differ things. Though Jiang finds it fishy, thinking there is more to it, knowing he gives off lectures and speeches just to trick her into hugging or holding his hand, so him not asking her to do it is kind of shocking and suspicious for her. Ignoring that feeling, she goes to use her computer, yet our guy can feel her being weird, assuming that she might have been in shock to see him being that much knowledgeable. Seeing her busy on her computer, he goes for a shower. Jiang is checking different websites, and that is when she encounters a video of two people kissing. She turns crimson red, shivering with embarrassment. Upon getting out of the shower, our guy noticed her acting super weird, but still told her to shower. Jiang stutters, informing him about showering later. The hero could see the tint of red on her cheeks, but doesn't understand what is wrong. He looks into her computer and finds her looking at the new, confused if that made her blush or something. Not digging deeper into it, he works for some time and then heads to his room to sleep. As he slams his door shut, Jiang can't help but feel this void inside her. He didn't even touch her hands before going to sleep. Instantly, the door of his room opens again, and he wants to know if she won't shower at this time too since it is too late. After he gets to know that she will wash her hair, he waits for her so that he can blow dry it like always. As soon as she gets out of the shower, he blow dries her hair. Noticing her being quieter than usual, he interrogates the reason behind it, assuming that she might have been upset about him not blow drying her hair earlier, assuring her to just say it without hesitating because if she won't let him, then obviously he will not get the hint. She can't help but think of beating that teddy bear because she is so pissed at him, yet it is obviously not the reason, so she stays quiet, thinking that he will eventually trick her into something, so there is no need to make all that happen right now or to confront the reason. The next morning, Jiang is making fish while looking at its recipe on her phone. When our guy walks to her, she expresses how modern she feels about herself, and is quite impressed about hiding her true self. Even his family yesterday didn't get the hint about her difference. This statement makes Qing a little suspicious because hiding her true self, what is that supposed to mean? He wonders if she is still planning to run away, although his thoughts are interrupted when he sees her being all red while blushing and revealing that she likes being with his family and loves when the four of them are together. Qing has literally removed all the old stuff and replaced it with the new things they both bought earlier, and he is pretty impressed by himself. He glances over at Jiang, who is on her computer, thinking that it is like she has been reincarnated or is a newborn since it is her first New Year's ever. However, he then suddenly remembered one of her statements from last night about feeling modern, curious about her search history because he would have figured out what she meant, but now she is smart enough to remove it. He approaches her, and that is when she innocently points out the person on her screen, wanting to know what that is. Like a child, the hero explains to her that he is streaming to earn money. It is like him playing a game and people watching him play it. Finding it interesting, she reveals wanting to do it too, but when Qing denies because of her identity still being sensitive, she confronts her about her research, explaining that her research tells her that she can purchase a fake identity from remote places. However, our guy isn't in the agreement for anything illegal and suggests she obtain an actual identity card. Though she has no idea if there is really a way to get a proper one, our guy assures her that a solution will naturally occur once she knows how to properly live in this world. He then goes over to the sofa. While playing with Melon, he realizes that Jiang has actually improved. Before, she always listened, being confused, but now she is actually discussing her problems, which shows her character development. Later on that evening, Jiang has decided to make some dumplings. Seeing her busy, he decides to look into her search history, assuming that maybe she has forgotten to delete it, but instead she has put a fake alarm to alert him that she already knows that he peeks at her search history. This makes him utterly astonished, and with shocking expressions, he goes into the kitchen again to help her. He suggests she season the ingredients, and he will mix them all. Seeing him help her, Jiang just wishes that this type of life continues without any pause. On New Year's Eve, as instructed by Hyozi, our guy meets Uncle Chin. He is looking forward to seeing our guy and his girlfriend arrive at the annual dinner. That being said, he even gives him an idea of a separate mini hot pot gathering too, so Chin quickly agrees, but at the same time advises them to leave quickly because his parents are waiting for them. As they leave, our guy notices Jiang's eyes shine while seeing Uncle Chin's pet, realizing she likes dogs. But according to her, raising a dog as big as Uncle Chin's requires a lot of food and attention, and she is quite satisfied that they have Melon with them. The hero agrees, but at the same time he realizes that she called Melon hers too, which makes him giggle in happiness. Back at his parents' place, Qing's focus shifts to the fruits that Hyozi bought earlier, so he immediately opens the box, and it turns out that there are passion fruits in it. In that case, he quickly cuts the fruit and offers all three of them. When they eat those, their expressions change, making him realize that they are pretty bad, so he decides not to have them all. But when he offers them more, they look at him angrily, and now he has to finish those off on his own as they can go to waste. Regret washes over his face, and he curses himself for opening that box in the first place. At his parents' place, both Qing and Jiang have New Year's Eve dinner with his parents. His father makes prayers for a new and better year since a lot changed this year, and even our guy grew up a lot. He is referring to his son having a girlfriend now, while our guy and Jiang stare at each other quietly. After the prayers, their glasses clink to celebrate New Year's Eve. While having dinner, Qing's mom is telling Jiang about his childhood embarrassing stories, which makes him so embarrassed. But at the same time, Jiang listens listens to those stories quietly while grinning, and notices our guy being all shy because of his foolishness. After dinner, while Jiang and Qing's mom are cleaning up the dishes, Qing's dad suspiciously calls him to his room and hands him a blue envelope. He advises his son to keep it safe and open it after going back home. It isn't money, because money is given in red envelopes during New Year's for luck. After some time they leave. On the way back home, our guy decides to visit Uncle Qin. In that case, he assures Jiang to be more casual and speak her heart out in front of him since he would forget everything after some drinks. She doesn't respond, which makes our guy wonder why she is being so slow at grasping stuff out of nowhere. Jiang, on the other hand, is flustered, her cheeks heating up with a deep blush. Though his attention shifts to the box his father gave him earlier, and it turns out to be a condom, this makes Qing embarrassed and shy at the same time because they haven't done anything except for holding hands, when Jiang out of curiosity wanted to know what those are, so our guy lies that these are balloons of no use. Later on, after arriving at Uncle Qin's place, they all greet, and just then, our guy suggests Uncle find a partner for himself as Hyozi is always busy with his duties. This makes his uncle laugh, but at the same time, Uncle Qin notices Jian being quiet, so he jokes about her and our guy getting married as they are even celebrating New Year's together and questions her about her whereabouts, and with Qing's telepathy, she shyly tells him that she is from Zhejiang. They all then keep talking about different stuff, and that is when Hyozi's dating life topic is brought up. Jiang is quietly looking at the television, where wishes of the new year are being announced. She can't help but feel something is not right. On their way back home, our guy teases Jiang about the gap between her and modern people. Confused, she asks him to explain, but instead, he grabs her hand and intertwines his fingers with hers, telling her to figure it out herself. She doesn't really give anything a thought. Instead, she blushes, acknowledging the fact that she loves a life like this, always wanting to rely on him. After getting back home, our guy is casually watching the television. He is happy about catching the tail end of the New Year's special show and even reminds Jian to wear her new clothes tomorrow. It's going to be the first day of the new year. At the same time, Jiang is sitting there uneasy. Her mind is racing with tons of thoughts. She is not understanding what to do with this guy beside her, though she quickly stands up and goes to the kitchen. The hero is all confused, not understanding what is up with her lately and why she goes to the kitchen. But suddenly Jiang comes out of the kitchen with cooking wine. She has drunk all of it. Jiang grabs her wrist, making her understand not to drink, but rather than focusing on her lecture, she is more concerned if they still have a clear conscience. Annoyed, he clarifies that it is very clear. However, in the blink of an eye, he's on the sofa, and she's on top of him. She pins him down, without any hesitation, while the countdown for the new year begins on the television. As everyone on TV wishes Happy New Year, she kisses him. This feeling of being pressed down by her is frustrating for our guy. He realizes how helpless he is that he can't even play along with her. After kissing him, she repeats her question of whether they now have a clear conscience, and obviously now he denies it since he was pinned down. Though he always thought that guys would be taking advantage of drunk girls, for him, it was the opposite. Jiang then leaves him and then goes inside her room, bringing her slippers to him in order to express to him that he is important to her. She even offers to teach him how to punch. Confused, he suggests she rest, as learning how to punch can wait. Jiang pauses for a moment but then leaves. Therefore Qing takes a sigh of relief but is still too confused, not understanding how to clear the mess inside his head. Instantly Jiang peeks out of her room again. Our guy is again freaked out, suggesting she leave because if something more happens between them while she is drunk, she will beat him to death. But instead she reveals with a touch of a hint on her cheeks that he hasn't touched her hands today, and when he does, she quickly goes to her bed. Qing is stunned, too shocked to see this side of her, doubting that she would try to leave tomorrow because of shame, so he locks all the doors and windows. The next morning, the first day of the new year, Jiang seems to be in a really good mood while wearing her new clothes. On the flip side, Qing secretly watches her from his room, finding her being normal more weird. Gathering all his courage, he approaches her and questions her if she remembers what happened last night. The question makes her blush, but she still manages to tell him that they no longer have a clear conscience. Ignoring that, he spots her dressed in her new dress and realizes that he went to bed like that and didn't even shower since yesterday. In that case, he decides to shower first and continue this conversation in a bit. 20 minutes later, they both are sitting on the sofa, and Qing questions her on a few things, like how she held him down, suddenly got drunk, and kissed him. He wants to know the reason behind all these questions. Hesitantly, she admits that she wants to rely on him. This makes him more confused, and he remembers about her bringing her shoes to him, so he asks the reason behind it too. It turns out that she has a misunderstanding about him having a thing for shoes, assuring him that it isn't an illness. This makes him realize that she has been reading weird stuff on the internet and doubts him, but he clarifies that it was because those shoes were the ones she wore when she came to his home for the first time, so he thought to keep them as a memory or an antique and sell them later on. However, she instructs him not to sell it, and he agrees, and reassures her one last time about not having anything for shoes. He then jumps up to the next topic while rubbing his bruised hand from earlier because of being pinned down. She said about relying on him, so he questions her about whether relying on him means pushing him against the sofa and kissing him. Jiang narrows her face. Her face turns crimson red, and she declares that they don't have a clear conscience after a kiss, and in that case, she is his girlfriend now. Hearing that, Qing also blushes and now can't help but demand a hug from his girlfriend. As he extends his arm, she slides near him, and they finally hug. The actual hug that Qing always wanted. While hugging her, he acknowledges the fact that his thinking about relationships is quite different from hers. Jiang doesn't really put a deep thought into it because what they have right is what she wants forever, and Qing agrees to her. But at the same time, cupping her face, he confronts that he wants a modern. Jiang has his wife, not someone confused who will be having children just for a stable life. He even hopes that she learns how to smile, and when she hears that, she tries to smile forcefully, which is totally weird. He acknowledges the fact that she has a pretty smile, but she doesn't have to force it. She just has to smile more often. The smile she has when she sees snow, when she eats cake or hot pot. The genuine smile that she actually has. He agrees that she is doing much better compared to the time she first arrived, but even right now, she is able to smile. But it is just her raising the corners of her mouth according to the current mood. This makes Jiang realize that is the reason her Uncle Qin didn't talk to her that much last night. Without lying, he admits that it is right, and it is obviously fine fine because she definitely needs time to understand and grasp things. After all, she is from over 1,000 years ago. Her mental state still needs time to grow, and in that case, he promises to wait for her no matter what happens. He then demands a kiss from her, and without hesitating, she kisses her cheeks. That being done, he makes her understand not to push him forcefully down like earlier. She just has to say what she wants, and she will eventually get it. And if that is a kiss, then it is a lot better. Hearing that, she apologizes for her behavior yesterday, and this is how it turns out to be an actual Happy New Year for Ching after all.